This guy just got out of the shower and is enjoying a super chill view of the city clouds. Suddenly, a monster pops up out of nowhere, slamming its face against the glass to give him a massive jump scare. Smelling a tasty meal, it calls over its monster buddies to break in and make a mukbang out of him. But just as they scramble inside, he slaps them into absolute oblivion. Even the giant bug monster is no match. He lands every punch on its massive body. They thought he was just a weak human, an easy target. But surprise, he is actually the peerless spear god who fought on battlefields for 20 long years. Using nothing but his own raw strength, he casually took the head of the otherworldly demon king. Think you are an elite hunter? Please. None of them could block a single devastating punch from him. Talk about terrible luck for the monster squad. He was just trying to retire and they delivered themselves right to his doorstep. Pretty wild, right? Meanwhile, on a burning battlefield under a smoky sky, a sphinx monster shouts in pure shock. You are strong, human. But your allies? They are already dead on their feet. Looking at his heavily injured and exhausted teammates, our hero Hyeonseok remains completely calm as he replies. Really, you do not look much better yourself, he mocks. Its pride shattered, the furious beast roars at his insolence and unleashes a barrage of deadly strikes right at him. The enemy threatens him wildly, saying if he does not submit, it will tear him to pieces. It proudly declares this land is a kingdom built by its own claws. Through a painful shower of energy, Hyeonseok grits his teeth and grips his spear with both hands. Determined to end this endless war once and for all, he roars out, "It is game over for you." Instantly, a blinding flash of light erupts as he activates his ultimate skill, Paradoxical Flame, transforming the entire battlefield into a raging sea of fire. Amid giant pillars of fire, Hyeonseok charges forward at supersonic speed. His heavy clashes shake the very earth, leaving massive craters in his wake. The red-eyed monster does not back down, swinging its razor-sharp claws in a wild counterattack. Blown back by a massive impact, Hyeonseok grits his teeth as fatigue finally begins to take a toll. Sensing his weakness, the monster mocks him, claiming that weak attack could not even leave a scratch. Finding his footing, he just smirks and asks if it really thinks he is weak. Gripping his spear tightly, he channels his entire spiritual energy, making the weapon glow with a blinding light. Hyeonseok declares that this power is more than enough to shatter its pride. A massive, fiery pillar of crimson energy erupts, striking the enemy directly and shattering its golden crown into pieces. The beast collapses, gasping in utter shock. How could a mere human possibly be this unbelievably tough? Hyeonseok coldly reminds the beast that he already told it he does not belong to this world. Even as it dies, the stubborn enemy claims that its body will return to the earth and resurrect one day. But its expression quickly turns into absolute terror as it realizes its body cannot regenerate, asking if it is being completely erased. He calmly explains that the black flames consuming it are from his special skill, Paradoxical Flame. Unlike normal fire that needs oxygen, this flame burns abstract concepts like ego, reason, and memories as fuel. Your centuries of resurrection end today because the thing burning is your very existence. Talk about cheating only to get completely shut down. Realizing its end is near, the beast laughs bitterly in intense pain. Even if I disappear, you will never be remembered as a true savior, because those people you call allies are actually just waiting for you to die right here. To the shock of his enemy, Hyeonseok simply replies that he knows. Instantly, the saintess standing behind them cries out in a panic, telling the hero not to believe the monster. But Hyeonseok already saw right through them. He knew the woman who claimed to love and seduce him daily actually hated him to the bone just because he was an outsider. Her sweet words were just a trap to make him hesitate during the purge after the expedition. He turns to look at her with a cold, piercing glare, asking if he was wrong. He does not stop there. He immediately exposes the knight who took a royal treasure from the cowardly emperor to assassinate him the moment the monster fell. Seeing all their dark secrets laid bare, the trembling knight stammers in absolute horror, asking how he could possibly know that. Hyeonseok then calls out the party mage, a mad scientist obsessed with human experimentation who hated him simply because he opposed their brutal slavery. A whole year ago. That's exactly when he already figured out their plot to murder him on the spot. The monster gasps in disbelief, wondering why a hero with enough strength to destroy a world that betrayed him would not just do it. Looking into the empty distance with a heavily scarred face, he simply replies, "If I do that, who will take me back home?" Our enemy is stunned by such a simple motive. You want to go home? His memories flash back 20 years to 2005 when he was just an ordinary 30-year-old office worker. Until a being claiming to be a goddess appeared, summoning him to another world with a desperate plea. "Oh chosen hero, please save this world of ours from the monsters." It sounded like a grand fantasy novel about an ordinary guy succeeding in a new world. But here is the catch. The place he actually landed was a living nightmare, filled with non-stop screams for help. Though he tried everything to get back, he realized his only exit was to slay every last monster, just like the goddess commanded. For 20 long years, he trained and fought relentlessly to grow stronger. One day, he carried an injured child back to a village, but instead of a warm welcome, the cold guards blocked him for acting without orders. Despite his desperate pleas to let them in to save a life, they just mocked him, saying saving the kid was a waste of medicine and to let it go. This brutal world is cruel enough to completely abandon the wounded rather than heal them. But even worse is the unbelievably primitive medical care and poor hygiene of this backward medieval setting. He could only watch in absolute horror as doctors casually sawed off a patient's leg over a simple minor infection. All because every single healer had been deployed to the war front. Just then, some priest showed up, aggressively questioning how he managed to save the child from monsters. But something far more terrifying was waiting for them. The cruel priests declared the child survived only because a demon possessed its body, and they would purify it themselves. Watching innocent people being burned alive in the background, he thought with bitter resentment about these disgusting locals who had absolutely no concept of human rights. He decided to throw away his cheap kindness. After 20 years of suffering in this painful world, he finally defeated the beast and saved the day. Standing on the ruined battlefield, he sighed in exhaustion. It is finally over, but right away, his allies point their swords at him. The knight reveals his true color, breathing a sigh of relief that he knows the truth, and declaring he cannot let him leave alive. Facing this shameless betrayal, he coldly replies that he really hates this world. Even though he is heavily wounded, the overwhelming aura radiating from him keeps the trembling knight from stepping forward. The knight bitterly realizes they created a monster just to slay another monster. All that plotting only to have it backfire completely on them. Talk about pure, well-deserved karma. With nothing left to lose, Hyeonseok roars toward the sky, demanding the goddess keep her promise now that his job is done. A blinding pillar of light descends from above, forcing the traitors to look up in awe. She appears with a gentle smile to praise him, saying he worked hard and managed to defeat the monster through his endless efforts. He points his finger at her, reminding her of their old deal. He asks if she still remembers her promise to return him to Earth with all his experiences, memories, and soul completely intact once the monster fell. Our goddess gently smiles and asks if he truly detests this world, despite possessing enough raw power to threaten even her. She warns him that all his achievements as the hero Hyeonseok will mean absolutely nothing if he leaves. Hyeonseok laughs in disbelief, telling her to drop the act because he knows she is just relieved he is finally leaving as they agreed. The goddess does not deny it, coldly saying this world does not need another monster anyway. She gives him a heavy look, asking if he will really have no regrets about making this choice. Without a second of hesitation, Hyeonseok declares his only desire is to return to his old world. He drops his weapon, letting his spear clatter onto the dry, barren ground. With the goddess's approval, a quiet wave of relief washes over him as he finally escapes this cursed otherworld. Leaving his scarred hands behind, a blinding pillar of light wraps around the hero. She warns him that his old body is gone, so she will put him into a new one. When he asks whose body it is, she only says the owner's fate was brutal, but she trusts he will survive. For Hyeonseok, no matter how brutal the future gets, it is a price he will gladly pay to return home. After all, nothing could be worse than the literal hell he endured for 20 years. The hero's figure fades completely into the blinding light. Just like that, the scene shifts to Earth in 2025. Inside a cramped tiny room, a young man suddenly snaps his eyes open. Dazed, he wonders if he has actually made it back. The soul of the great hero Hyeonseok has officially merged into the body of an ordinary civilian named Hyeonseok. Sitting up, he grits his teeth thinking of the traitors back in the other world, relieved he never has to see them again. Stepping up to a mirror, he stares shocked at his unfamiliar, incredibly young face. Touching his face, he tells himself that from now on he is Hyeonseok. He splashes his face with cold tap water, screaming in pure joy that it is clean, unpolluted water. To him this is real magic, and those otherworld wizards can go straight to hell. He gets even more hyped over the gas stove fire at the push of a button, without having to chop wood and build a damn campfire anymore. Suddenly, a familiar aroma hits him. Staring at the food box on the table, he realizes it is the one thing he missed most. Don't tell me this is fried chicken. Unable to resist, he snatches a golden, crispy piece and takes a massive bite. The explosive flavor instantly brings him to tears. It's so good he can't stop crying. Yes, this is what real food tastes like. Slumped on the floor, he eats and weeps, completely overwhelmed by the simple, everyday flavors he lost for 20 long years. Looking out at the glittering city skyline, he tells himself that he can finally live a normal life. But then he freezes as the current date sinks in. What? It is already 2025. Has he really been gone for that long? It turns out time in the other world matched Earth exactly, but he quickly brushes the shock aside since it doesn't matter anymore. He makes up his mind no matter how hard adjusting is, it won't be anywhere near as horrifying as the hell he survived over there. Hyeonseok bathes in the warm, instant stream from the shower head without having to wait at all. Cool air from the air conditioner fills the room, giving him the ultimate sense of comfort. Looking at the blue sky through his high-rise window, he lets out a sigh of relief. This is absolute paradise, so refreshing. He starts planning his new life in 2025, even looking forward to playing StarCraft for fun. But out of nowhere, a creepy dark shadow with a twisted grin smashes its face against the glass window, scaring him half to death. Panic sets in as he frantically wonders what on earth is going on. But seriously, look at this. Right then, the building speakers blare, shattering the silence with a warning that an erosion rift has opened right inside the complex. Chanok stammers in utter shock, demanding to know what a damn erosion rift even is. Meanwhile, the speaker repeatedly orders all residents to evacuate immediately to the underground shelter. He absolutely cannot believe this sudden reality, his mind racing with questions about what on earth happened to his home planet during his 20 years away. Worse, his room is now surrounded by creepy, monkey-like beasts wearing bizarre masks. The window glass begins to crack under the pressure. It is only a matter of time before they smash their way inside, forcing him to sprint for his life into the dark emergency exit. The aggressive monsters hot on his heels shake the entire stairwell with their massive weight. As he runs, he angrily asks himself what kind of freaks these things are. A whole pack of crazed beasts chases him down like shadows in the night. He screams in frustration at how horribly his world has changed. Where did his beautiful Earth go? How did it turn into a complete monster nest? Spotting a gap as they pass, he quickly slips through a shattered window to escape. Finally losing the bloodthirsty pack, he leans against the wall, gasping, relieved to have shattered them off. Suddenly, he freezes upon seeing a little boy holding a stick, standing all alone in the hallway. Realizing it is a human, Chanok anxiously tells him to get to the shelter because it is way too dangerous. But the kid calmly asks him, "Hey mister, did you see where the monster ran off to?" Chanok just stands there, completely speechless, wondering what on earth he just heard. The boy casually announces he is going to hunt it down, asking if Chanok wants to tag along. Shocked, Chanok asks what he just said, only for the kid to reveal Earth has been like this for 13 years. Chanok grits his teeth, cursing under his breath. Looks like he just became an accidental babysitter. Since the kid absolutely refuses to go to the shelter and leaving him behind is impossible, he has to tag along with this little troublemaker. From the boy's explanation, he learns that these erosion rifts act as portals for the monsters. No one knows why they form, or when and where they will suddenly tear open. Chanok bitterly realizes he just escaped one hell, only to plunge straight into another. He screams in silent rage, thinking this is way too unfair and cursing that damn goddess. When the kid asks why he is clueless, he awkwardly lies about living in America. But the boy instantly shuts him down with bizarre gossip about the American president getting impeached for secretly sending his daughter to South Korea, leaving him completely speechless. To change the subject, he asks the kid who his absolute favorite hunter is. Right on cue, the boy hypes her up, rambling about how she belongs to the Janabi Guild, ranks 10th in the world, and wields a massive, cool sword. Chanok falls deep into thought. He never expected humans on Earth to be fighting monsters just like the hellhole he literally just escaped from. Just as the boy pulls out his phone to show him a video, Chanok quickly moves in and covers his mouth. Sensing imminent danger, he mutters a quiet curse as a pack of masked monsters lurks right around the corner. Relying on his battle-hardened instincts, he quickly sizes them up, 6 of them, plus one more makes a full pack. Even though he can tell this new body possesses above-average strength, and he is totally used to taking on hordes of enemies alone, having a trembling little kid right behind him makes things highly complicated. Chanok knows if he abandons him, the boy stands no chance. He silently wonders where all that big talk about hunting monsters from earlier went. Lacking any decent weapon, he struggles to come up with a solid plan until he suddenly notices a familiar, raw energy flowing right through the air. Shocked, he wonders if this is actually mana. Once he confirms it is identical to the energy from the other world, he makes his decision. These monsters picked the absolute wrong guy to mess with. Time to witness greatness. An agonizing shriek echoes through the hall as Chanok unleashes a devastating attack, engulfing the beast in furious flames. Although his 20 years of accumulated mana is completely gone, the raw mana lingering in the Earth's atmosphere is enough for him to ignite the paradox flame etched deep into his soul. Staring at the blue flame dancing on his hand, he notes that while the current firepower is a bit disappointing, it is more than enough to end them. As the beast drops in thick black smoke, the boy is left completely starstruck, gasping that he is so cool. The kid happily admits he was a bit doubtful at first, since Chanok knew absolutely nothing about the current world, but he never expected him to possess such a ridiculously cool skill. Suddenly remembering something, the boy excitedly mentions a YouTube video about the importance of double-tapping monsters, before abruptly rushing toward the corpse. Chanok yells in sheer panic to stop him, but it is already too late. He knows exactly how devastating the paradox flame is and warns the kid to stay back until the target is completely wiped out. But right then the beast rises again, refusing to die. Emerging from the thick black smoke, the hideous beast looms directly in front of the terrified kid. Hyeonseok leaps forward just in time to shield him. Even with his hand badly cut and bleeding, he calmly tells the boy that he does not know what YouTube is, but the kid should probably stop watching it. Looks like our hero is no fan of YouTube, guys. He asks to borrow the wooden stick from the boy so he can keep fighting. Grabbing the weapon from the trembling kid, Hyeonseok stands tall as a horde of monsters rushes him from all sides. His gaze turns razor-sharp. With one powerful sweeping swing of the simple stick, he completely obliterates the entire pack in a split second. Talk about a complete cheat code. Seeing this mind-blowing display of power, the kid stands there with his jaw dropped, utterly speechless. Then he lets out an excited scream. "Wow, mister, are you secretly a high-level hunter?" Standing amidst the carnage, Hyeonseok catches his breath. He finds it absolutely ridiculous that the moment he returns to Earth, he has to smell this disgusting blood again. He gnashes his teeth in pure frustration. He went through absolute hell in that other world just to get some rest, yet this reality is no different from the nightmare he escaped. Once they are safe, the two quickly head toward the shelter where hundreds of worried citizens are waiting. Listening to the boy grumble about being called a kid instead of an elementary schooler, Hyeonseok simply walks on in silence. The moment they step into the shelter, a wealthy-looking woman rushes over to hug the boy, calling out for Hyeonsong. She desperately thanks Hyeonseok for protecting her reckless son. Noticing the expensive designer clothes and earrings on the woman, Hyeonseok realizes the truth. The kid is loaded, covered in luxury brands from head to toe. Suddenly, a series of massive tremors shakes the entire shelter, leaving everyone staring at each other in panic. A giant fist punches clean through the reinforced concrete wall, followed by a colossal monster with razor-sharp teeth and a sickeningly long tongue. Panic explodes in the crowd as the shelter wall collapses completely, and let me tell you, things are about to get ugly. As terrified people trample each other to escape, Hyeonseok stands completely still, staring at their new enemy. Sensing the extreme danger, Hyeonsong panics and tells him they need to run, but Hyeonseok remains silent, lost in thought. He quietly wonders why finding a peaceful life has to be this incredibly hard. A sudden sting from his wound makes him wince as he stares down at his scarred, bloody hands. He calls out to the kid, prompting a grumpy reply that he already told him not to call him that. Looking at the boy, Hyeonseok asks if he is rich. Then why on earth is he trying to become a hunter? Should he not just hide in a safe place and enjoy his comfortable life? Hyeonsong lowers his head, his voice dropping as he explains that he lost his dad to a monster when a rift opened inside their safest shelter. The kid painfully realized there is no safe haven left on this planet. Even though he is still weak and terrified right now, Hyeonsong is determined to become the strongest hunter and wipe out every last monster. He shouts with absolute resolve about saving the world. Looking at the fierce determination on the little kid's face, Hyeonseok lets out a soft smile. You will definitely make a great hunter, kid, but you will not be the one saving this world. Right then, his worried mother drags him away, but Hyeonsong struggles to look back, shouting that the mister is still left behind. Suddenly, a loud explosion rocks the entire shelter. Hyeonsong screams out in pure terror, but through the rising smoke and debris, Hyeonseok uses just one hand to incinerate the massive monster into ash, his body overflowing with brilliant purple energy. He coldly declares that when it comes to saving the world, they should leave it to the professionals. Once just an ordinary guy in the 21st century, Hyeonseok got summoned to another world and fought monsters for 20 long years before finding his way back to Earth. But before he could even enjoy his freedom, a corrosion rift appeared. Luckily, he survived using his past combat experience and even promised that kid he would save the world. But in reality, he is currently doing absolutely nothing. Sitting in front of his computer with the exhausted look, he chews candy while completely locked into a video game. As the victory screen flashes, he mutters that it was an easy win, cracking open a cold soda to celebrate. He suddenly recalls his grand declaration to the crowd about how someone who saved the world once could easily do it again. But thinking back, who actually cares about that? His desire to save humanity did not stand a single chance against the sweet temptations of modern life. We are talking about endless video games, delicious food he could only dream of in that wasteland, and a world where everything is just one simple tap away. Besides, other professional hunters are already handling the world-saving business. But as he pulls out his phone to order some takeout, he completely freezes at his bank account notification. He screams in terror, wondering how he already blew through his entire severance package. The measly balance of 3,201 hits him like a freezing bucket of water. The original owner of this body, Hyeonseok, was a simple delivery worker before his company went bankrupt due to the ongoing corrosion rifts. Now that his absolute final bit of cash is gone, he clutches his hair in total despair. He tried searching for a new job, but finding a normal workplace during these chaotic times is practically impossible. With rifts constantly opening, most businesses are on the verge of ruin, which explains his struggle. He wonders how he is going to survive in this modern world when literally nobody is hiring new staff anymore. Right then, a hunter job recruitment pops up on his screen. His eyes linger on the ad as a confident smirk appears. Trust me, with his extreme combat experience, this is his literal specialty. Shortly after, he arrives at the Hunter Association, located inside a massive, glamorous skyscraper. The atmosphere is packed with energy as an excited guy shouts that his life is finally about to change for the better. But the other applicants seem way more relaxed. They claim the selection exam has become a total formality nowadays, where demonstrating just one unique skill gets you recruited on the spot. Standing amidst the crowding applicants, he watches them coldly, realizing they all look exactly the same. In the eyes of a former world-saving hero like Hyeonseok, this entire crowd is nothing but small fry. Out of the chaotic crowd, a woman with long black hair walks past with immense pride. The applicant gasps, his eyes widening in shock as he recognizes a truly legendary figure. What on earth is going on? Is that Lee Seola? Whispers immediately erupt about the top 10 hunter in the world from the prestigious Janabi Guild. Nobody can believe their own eyes. She is supposed to be deployed at the front lines clearing rifts, yet here she is, personally scouting new recruits. Inside the monitoring room, the board reviews the profile of Hyeonseok, an elite academy graduate skilled in lightning manipulation and swordsmanship, as one member snickers. He mocks her ability as a glorified phone charger, but another member immediately snaps back, reminding him that she is a hunter candidate, not a portable generator. A man with glasses remains skeptical, arguing that actual combat inside rifts is far more brutal than anything they teach you in those academy classes. He insists that regardless of how well she did at school, surviving against real monsters is a completely different story. Meanwhile, Lee Seola simply chews her candy and responds with total indifference. Maybe or maybe not. As memories of rookies slaughtered by monsters flash in her mind, Lee Seola quietly notes that training and real survival are worlds apart, and Hyeonsseok will need plenty of time to adjust. Suddenly, an announcement cuts her off. With the first match officially beginning, Lee Seola smirks to herself. She has a job to do and expects these candidates to actually show her some real worth if they wanted to get recruited. Suddenly, the announcer gasps, calling the next candidate rather interesting. The crowd breaks into shocked whispers as an unknown guy steps onto the stage, with people wondering how an untrained amateur thinks he can be a hunter. An unranked amateur with zero formal training standing on this stage is completely unprecedented. Surrounded by doubting gazes, the announcer loudly introduces him as the candidate named Hyeonseok. Stepping out in a simple tracksuit, he still feels a bit awkward, telling himself he is not quite used to this new name yet. The match starts under strict rules, with personal weapons banned and life-threatening injuries absolutely forbidden. Standing opposite his opponent, Chank grips his issued wooden sword tightly. He is completely ready for his first real battle in this modern world. A true hero about to dominate top-tier experts with nothing but trash gear. Now that he has decided to become a hunter, Chank tells himself that the first order of business is saving this rapidly collapsing world. But just as importantly, he wants a comfortable life. Eating well and wearing nice clothes. To actually pull that off, he needs to secure a pretty amazing result in this tournament. His opponent, a pretty arrogant blonde guy, sneers with pure contempt at the arrival of some random amateur. The referee loudly orders them both to take their positions, waving his hand to officially declare the start of the match. Instantly, the blonde guy charges forward with a blazing fire spear. He mockingly asks how his opponent does not even know how to gather mana. Arrogantly, he tells Chank to consider losing to him an absolute honor, boasting that he is the Academy's undefeated spearmaster. Facing the aggressive assault, Chank keeps a perfectly calm face, coldly analyzing every single opening in his enemy's stance. A powerful thrust slams down but hits only empty air, leaving the blonde guy completely shocked. He stammers out, "Wait, he was just standing there. Where did he go?" Right then, Chank appears directly behind him with a cold smirk. "Hey, your spear technique is way too sloppy," Chank says. Before the guy can react, he delivers a devastating barehanded strike that leaves his opponent completely helpless. The heavy impact completely distorts the arrogant hunter's face before he crashes to the floor. Honestly, I have to laugh here because Chank just stands there totally stunned, wondering if he even got a proper warm-up yet. He thought using bare fists would prevent serious injury, expecting the guy to at least hold his own. He never imagined the opponent's skills would be so shockingly pathetic. He cannot help but wonder if this is truly the average level of hunters in this world. Meanwhile, Hyeonsseok watches the match with deep suspicion, intensely questioning who this mysterious young man could actually be. Her colleague nearby points out that his file lists him as a basic delivery company employee, with almost zero mana registered in his body. He figures the display of strength was just pure luck, but Sang-ae quickly shoves a candy into his hand to shut him up. While her coworker gets the hint to keep quiet, Sang-ae is already lost in a much more terrifying theory. No, is he purposely holding back his mana down in the arena? Chank scratches his head in mild annoyance. He tells himself that even though it is a bit troublesome, he must wrap up these fights quickly to prove his value. Watching his trembling opponent desperately ask how he could possibly do that, Chank slowly saunters over. He prepares another heavy strike while offering a rather sarcastic piece of reassurance. "Don't worry, as long as you're breathing you can try again, just go to sleep for now." A loud crash echoes as the opponent collapses completely, eyes rolled back, totally defeated. The announcer's voice booms across the stadium, declaring Chank as the winner. Up in the stands, the judges and spectators are left completely stunned, murmuring in disbelief at this unbelievable outcome. Hyeonsseok narrows her eyes, intensely tracking his every move as if trying to dissect his hidden secrets. While the crowd is busy debating, Song-ae decides she must take action first to test Chank's true power with her own eyes. When her colleague asks where she is going, she simply responds coldly, "I need to see the association president." As the subsequent rounds play out, the results remain exactly the same. Chank easily drops opponent after opponent with lightning-fast hits, thinking to himself, too weak. Even for rookie hunters, aren't they just way too weak? No matter how many matches he fights, everyone who steps up is on the same low level. He cannot help but wonder, does this academy teach martial arts or just fancy dance moves? Chang sighs in sheer disappointment, wondering if there is even a single decent opponent in this entire crowd. Just then, a sudden buzz ripples through the spectators as they admire someone gorgeous who is finally stepping up. The speakers blare, introducing the finalist Hyeonseok, who steps out carrying a sword at her hip and sporting a very stylish short gray haircut. She is heavily expected to end the mystery rookie's win streak. Now we can finally see Chang's interest getting piqued here as he notes her high mana level, but Sang-ae just responds with a pretty cold sneer. Yet you have absolutely zero mana, she tells him. Your luck just ran out, so get ready to vanish. Chang silently mocks her, wondering if these cliché lines are actually part of the Hunter Academy's official curriculum. No special skills. That is her guess since he only fights barehanded, but she warns him she won't go easy. She grips her sword hilt as her eyes spark with intense blue electricity. Chang can only offer a wry smile, thinking to himself that he actually does have special skills. He is just avoiding them so she does not get seriously hurt. Ready. Sang-ae instantly drops into position. The moment the battle starts, she draws her sword with blinding speed, forcing Chang to focus intensely just to track her swift movements. A blinding burst of energy envelops the arena, but Sang-ae suddenly freezes as her blade cuts through empty air. High above her, Chang is masterfully flipping upside down, dodging her lethal strike by a mere hair's breadth. Acrobatics? To dodge like that? Sang-ae is totally shocked, staring in complete disbelief. How did he actually evade her lightning strike with just a single jump? Mid-flip, Shank calmly analyzes his opponent's technique. Pretty interesting. He notes. By running an electrical current through her scabbard and blade, she turned them into magnets, creating a strike that works almost like a railgun. Touchdown. Landing lightly, he casually remarks that her skill is easily the best he has seen all day, but she has completely missed the most critical detail. Facing a bewildered Sang-ae, he points out her fatal flaw: she was so obsessed with raw speed that she completely botched the timing. To make her sword even faster, Sang-ae set up a magnetic rail right in midair. Chang silently observes that no matter how fast or powerful an attack is, absolutely nobody is foolish enough to get hit by a strike when its trajectory is completely visible beforehand. Her move was read perfectly. She grinds her teeth in rage. Don't get cocky, she snaps. I can still wipe you out without any fancy tricks. Instantly, she erupts with a surge of spiritual energy, charging forward with terrifying speed. Shanks easily sidesteps her wild slash, casually asking if she is actually some kind of idiot. I already dodged your fastest attack, so there is no way this slower one is landing, he says. Realizing she is completely outmatched, Sang-ae desperately squeezes out her mana, eyes glowing with intense pressure. Chonk realizes she is overexerting herself, forcing out every single drop of remaining mana. He silently worries that if she keeps pushing this hard, her body will end up completely ruined. Just as Sang-ae prepares her next move, Chonk closes the distance and coldly tells her that while her performance was pretty cool, it ends right here. He immediately drives a heavy punch into her stomach, forcing her to gasp in pure pain. Giving her no room to recover, Chang unleashes a devastating combination of heavy blows. Han Sang-ae is left entirely defenseless, her eyes rolling back as she collapses to the floor, her face completely covered in bruises. Han Sang-ae crashes heavily to the arena floor, leaving the entire stadium in utter shock. The crowd breaks into a frantic buzz, unable to believe the top student of the academy was defeated so brutally. Shank walks away calmly, reflecting that while Sang-ae had much better skills than the others, her quick defeat proves she relied too heavily on mana, while completely neglecting her basic physical conditioning. A soft groan. He turns back in surprise, wondering if she actually wants to keep on fighting. But Han Sang-ae only weakly raises her left hand to surrender. Chance cannot help but chuckle, noting she gave up the moment he suggested it, calling her pretty obedient. Suddenly, the announcer's speakers blare out, breaking the silence. Attention, the match schedule has been changed. The host suddenly asks Hyeonseok to take a quick rest, which makes him super confused because he thought everything was already over. Then, a shocking announcement drops out of nowhere. In just a few minutes, our winner Hyeonseok and a professional hunter will go head-to-head in a special exhibition match. This surprise event was ordered by the association president himself, sending the crowd into absolute madness. Watching the crowd go absolutely wild on the screens, he silently wonders if that mysterious woman from earlier has personally stepped up to put his abilities to the test. Right at that moment, a massive greatsword slams heavily into the ground. Lee Seul steps out with absolute confidence, offering a quick apology for her sudden entrance but claiming this is the only way to truly verify his strength. She boldly introduces herself as Lee Seul from the Janabi Guild. Looking straight into his eyes, she remarks that this stage seems far too small for someone with Hyeonseok's talent. She throws down a direct challenge, giving him the option to back out if this feels too sudden. Hyeonseok instantly feels an overwhelming pressure radiating from this world rank 10 hunter, a real professional with an incredibly calm presence. Even though he knows his current body will struggle against an opponent like her, he still flashes a highly excited smile and accepts the challenge without a single second of hesitation. Lee Seul catches the burning fire in Hyeonseok's eyes and realizes he is more than ready for this. For him, if he has to fight anyway, this is the absolute best chance to push his value to the peak and prove his worth. Let's see if he can boost his own value a bit more. Now watch the battle explodes with devastating clashes, leaving the entire arena staring in absolute shock. Meanwhile, the commentators are sweating bullets from pure heart-pounding excitement. Under the suffocating pressure of her giant sword, Hyeonseok grits his teeth to hold his ground, wondering what on earth this girl eats to be stronger than a literal monster. As the clash drags on, her powerful swings put him in a tough spot. Yet despite her calm expression, she secretly notices her own speed has dropped significantly compared to the start. On the other side, Hyeonseok is reaching his absolute limit, gasping for air and completely drenched in sweat. He bitterly realizes it's not that she has no openings, but his current body is just too weak to exploit them. Seeing that her opponent is clearly exhausted, Lee Seol calmly steps forward. She praises his incredible endurance, admitting she expected him to last maybe 5 minutes, not hold on for 30 straight. But now it looks like he has finally reached his absolute limit. To wrap up this dragging fight, she leaps high into the air, swinging her giant greatsword while promising to finish things gently by sending him straight to the hospital. Pushed to the absolute brink with the surrounding mana completely drained, Hyeonseok lets out a highly decisive breath. He really did not want to reveal his trump card so early, but this desperate situation forces him to unleash his true power. Lee Seol freezes in shock as her full power strike completely misses the mark, unable to believe he actually managed to dodge that devastating slash. Staring at Hyeonseok standing amid columns of eerie, dark purple fire, she gasps in disbelief, wondering what that purple stuff even is. The Paradox Flame is the exact signature technique he used for 20 years in the other world, his most trusted power. Unlike ordinary fire, this flame does not burn physical matter, which is why his clothes remain completely untouched. Instead, it uses abstract concepts designated by him as fuel to keep burning. At his current energy level, he cannot yet burn concepts with high ignition points like ego, memories, or human reason. So the concept he chooses to burn right now is his own fatigue. Watching his speed suddenly skyrocket, Lee Seol is completely stunned, wondering how he got so fast right before a massive collision occurs. She is shocked to realize he is fully recovered in a split second. As their attacks clash, Lee Seol clearly feels the mana concentration in the air fluctuating wildly in a way that makes no sense. She wonders what is going on since the arena settings remain completely unchanged. The mechanism itself is simple, acting just like normal fire, releasing heat when burning physical matter. The Paradox Flame also releases mana as it burns abstract concepts. He uses his mana to spark the fire, and that fire burns his fatigue to generate even more mana. Talk about a literal cheat code who can even fight against that? It is an endless loop keeping him at peak condition, meaning his real specialty is a war of attrition. After a heavy impact shatters the ground, Lee Seol gets highly annoyed and snaps, asking if he plans to keep clinging to her like a leech. Standing in the ruins looking utterly battered, Hyeonseok just smiles and casually replies that he can still keep going. He looks straight at the world rank 10 hunter and provocatively asks if she has a thing for persistent guys like him. Facing his cheeky provocation, Lee Seol coldly shoots back that she absolutely detests that type of person. Besides, his Paradox Flame has a harsh, unforgiving rule. Once a tree burns down, only ashes remain, and ashes can never be burned a second time. Similarly, this mystical fire always leaves a residue behind, and once everything is completely burned down to dust, that is the exact moment it finally goes out. After 4 hours and 17 minutes of grueling combat, Hyeonseok finally hits his limit. Lee Seol rests her massive sword on her shoulder, looking down at her floored opponent and asking if he wants to keep going. Hyeonseok can only beg desperately for mercy, muttering that grinding video games is way easier than fighting a monster like her. The speakers boom throughout the entire arena, announcing that since contestant Hyeonseok has officially forfeited, the final victory goes to Lee Seol. Amid the absolute shock of the crowd, she calmly pulls a lollipop out of her pocket, leaving nearby hunters utterly stunned. Approaching Hyeonseok, she hands him the lollipop with a warm smile, telling him it is a reward for his hard work and mentioning she left her business card inside. Taking the card that reads Lee Seol, partner hunter for Team 3 of the Janabi Guild, Hyeonseok is still a bit hazy on her true identity. Before walking away, she winks playfully and promises to discuss the details later. She tells him to give her a call as the hunter selection exam officially closes with an announcement calling our winner, Hyeonseok, to the stage for his reward. He thoughtfully wonders if Janabi is a hunter agency before casually biting down on his lollipop. Holding his brand new smartphone, he is absolutely amazed by how incredibly fast technology has developed since he was gone. His hunter license is right inside the phone. Back in his day, they just handed him a useless piece of scrap paper. This smartphone is packed with features, from hunter forums and gear shops to monster trading and military satellite comms. While he is deeply engrossed in exploring, a deep, gruff voice suddenly calls out to him from behind, asking if he is Hyeonseok. Standing before him is a massive giant of a man with a fierce face and tattoos covering his arms, though he flashes a surprisingly friendly smile. He remarks that Hyeonseok looks much better in person than on camera. Looking at his towering height of over 2 meters, Hyeonseok asks warily, He confirms it but asks who the man is. Not making him wait, the giant hands over a card identifying himself as Yeon from the Taebaek Guild, cutting straight to the point. He keeps it brief, inviting Hyeonseok to join his team at Taebaek, promising that under his personal training, the kid will shine. Talk about a high-end sales pitch. Observing the giant's confident expression, Hyeonseok silently notes that this guy does not seem to be lying. However, since he already has another meeting lined up, he knows he cannot give a definite answer right away. He tactfully replies that he needs to think about it before making a decision. Yeon bursts out laughing, asking if Hyeonseok honestly thinks he would force an answer out of him right here. Yet the giant suddenly places a massive hand on Hyeonseok's shoulder, leaning in close with a menacing glare. He warns him to think carefully, mentioning that occupational accidents are very hard to avoid, before walking away with that chilling threat. Watching his retreating back, Chance silently decides to cross the Taebaek Guild off his list entirely. Immediately after, he dials the world rank 10 hunter, and Lee Sul quickly picks up on the other end. Hyeonseok doesn't beat around the bush, calling her directly to ask where they should meet. Si-yoon tells him she's waiting at a cafe called Yogurt on the second floor of the association building, instructing him to get over there right away. Heading to the cafe, Hyeonseok secretly wonders about its bizarre name, but the moment he steps inside, the staff gives him a warm welcome, and he spots Si-yoon already sitting there with a massive glass of sweet dessert waiting for him. She cheerfully invites him to sit. Noticing his expression, she asks if something happened. Hyeonseok casually mentions a massive guy just tried to recruit him. From his description, Si-yoon immediately recognizes the recruiter as Seon Hyun from the notorious TBCH guild. She explains that once that beast locks onto a target, other guilds back off. Hyeonseok smirks, asking if that cowardice applies to her own guild, Janabi, as well. But instead of getting defensive, Si-yoon casually scoops some ice cream and brushes it off, saying she has absolutely no intention of recruiting him anyway. That totally catches Hyeonseok off guard, leaving him completely stunned. She suggests he try being a freelance hunter instead of joining a guild. Seeing him interested in staying independent, she adds that Seon Hyun probably only wanted him as a junior member anyway. Hyeonseok looks blankly at her, asking if Junior is some new brand of bubble tea. It suddenly clicks for Esioon that this guy never attended the academy and is completely clueless about basic hunter terms. She explains that guild hunters are split into 3 tiers: junior, intermediate, and partner. The junior and intermediate hunters are basically just regular salaried employees working under team leaders, who are the actual partner-level hunters. Partner hunters, on the other hand, own actual shares in the guild. Instead of a basic salary, they get a direct cut of the net profits. Hyeonseok realizes this sounds like a multi-level marketing scheme, and get this, Yoon casually admits the very first guild founder actually used that exact business model. She drops a major tip: he doesn't need to climb the ranks slowly. If he is strong enough, he can jump straight to partner status. Hyeonseok nods, realizing that if he makes a big enough name for himself, top guilds will beg him to join. Si-yoon giggles while sliding another piece of candy his way, making him seriously wonder why she is so obsessed with feeding him sweets. But she frankly points out that without connections or a solid track record, getting lucrative jobs is impossible. Then she drops a tempting offer: she will hook him up with a prime gig absolutely free of charge. Chewing his candy, Hyeonseok asks suspiciously why she is being so helpful. Si smoothly admits she is just investing early in a high-potential stock, warning him not to disappoint her. That is when he realized she is definitely collecting favors. She slides a file folder over, leaving the final choice to him. It is a request from Incheon City regarding Gadong Island, which became an eroded zone 2 years ago after a failed mission to close a massive rift. His job is not to clear the old rift, but to patrol the island and eliminate any new rifts that pop up. The mission starts in 1 month, offering 5 million upfront and 15 million more upon completion. Holding the files, Hyeonseok frowns, thinking this payout seems pretty low for a job that could easily get him killed. Esioon just gives a playful, sly smile, telling him that if he wants better pay, he needs to get strong and famous. Do that, and money will practically fall into his pockets without him even trying. She looks him dead in the eyes and asks for his decision. With absolute resolve, Hyeonseok agrees to the job. Later, inside a luxury car speeding through the city, Si-yoon is already reporting her new find to her boss. Hearing about Hyeonseok, the boss is highly skeptical, asking if this guy is actually any good and what his deal is. Si-yoon calmly replies that he is just an ordinary citizen who cleared a weapon-only tournament barehanded. When the boss calls that merely decent, she instantly objects, saying decent is a massive understatement since the kid actually managed to survive against her for 4 whole hours. Brushing off any doubts that she held back, Si-yoon asserts she is a veteran hunter with 10 years of experience, surviving some of the absolute worst hellholes imaginable. She should have played with him like a toy, making a 4-hour clash utterly impossible. She adds with awe that even if she were reborn, she highly doubts she would ever witness another absolute monster like him. The boss still feels uneasy. Even with her high praise, doesn't a mission on Godong Island require real practical combat experience for any hunter involved? He worries that despite Hyeonseok's raw talent, teaming him up with veteran hunters will lead to disaster. To calm him down, Siyun assures him she has already paired him with someone incredibly reliable. Seeing how thoroughly she prepared, the boss relents. He trusts her as the brilliant brain behind Janabi's operations, but he is still curious about the young kid's ultimate ceiling. Curious about what the kid could become if he reaches her level, Se-yoon just smiles, delivering a chilling answer. She tells him straight he might not like this, but if Hyeonseok reaches her level, he could easily take down the boss himself. Meanwhile, a month prior, a delivery worker struggles to haul a massive package to apartment 156. Gasping for breath, the courier grumbles about how ridiculously heavy the box is. Staring at the massive package on his table, which is taller than he is, Hyeonseok wonders if they sent him the Monkey King's legendary staff. Pop goes the lock, revealing a cold, sleek spear with incredibly intricate mechanical details hidden inside. Picking up his new weapon, Hyeonseok smiles with satisfaction. Next, he pulls out a vial of glowing green liquid, identifying it as high-grade elixir. This special potion contains highly concentrated mana used by hunters during emergencies. Normally, a hunter absorbs atmospheric mana, stores it deep inside their physical body, and releases it whenever needed. It is like drinking filtered water. However, Hyeonseok's mana control is completely unique. He completely skips the storage phase, drawing and spending mana directly from the ambient air around him. The perk is obvious zero limits, since the raw mana around him is infinite. Plus, this constant flow naturally expands and strengthens his internal mana pathways over time, unlocking devastating amounts of power. His only downside is that until his pathways grow wider, his output is restricted, making it hard to execute high-damage burst attacks on the fly. Since time is ticking, he figures storing a small backup supply beforehand is his best bet. Pop goes the cap as Hyeonseok prepares to spend the next month training with it to reach his goal. 1 month flies by, and we are now on Gadong Island in Incheon. Amidst a loud, excited crowd of hunters waiting around, Hyeonseok pulls out his phone to complete the mandatory check-in. The staff scans the tablet and confirms his placement in Squad 8. Now get ready, because he is about to step into a crowd of nervous hunters buzzing about their pay and the upcoming nightmare. Suddenly, a familiar voice calls his name, catching him off guard. He turns to see Sang-ah rocking a neat short gray hairstyle instead of her usual long dark hair. She explains her previously wild electric hair was just bad static electricity. Since they got placed in the exact same squad, she suggests they watch each other's backs. Facing his guarded look, Sang-ah frankly admits she just wants to shadow him and steal some of his insane fighting moves. She even jokes about her jaw dropping from pure shock. But Hyeonseok takes it literally, asking with genuine worry if her shoulder has a chronic dislocation issue. She just sighs, telling him to mind his own business. Man, she still has zero sense of humor. Right on cue, a manager wearing glasses gathers Squad 8 to kick off their main briefing, explaining key terminologies so first-timers like Hyeonseok don't feel completely lost. He explains rifts are ranked from Class 3 to Class 1, with Class 1 being absolute suicide. The very first rift to spawn in an area is dubbed Alpha, currently sitting inside a creepy, dark church up north. Even though it is currently unclassified, rifts naturally grow stronger over time, so everyone receives strict orders to stay far away from that zone. Squad 8's main job is patrolling and closing any new rifts to keep this island safe. But as their ship docks at Geod Island, the other hunters start shivering. They can already feel a chilling energy in the air, cold enough to freeze the blood in their veins. Hyeonseok just stands there, totally unbothered, thinking they are overreacting to a normal day on the job. Under the watchful eyes of the offshore control room, the squad finally steps onto the ruined, desolate island. Comms crackle with a quick wish of good luck, alongside a strict warning to call immediately if things go south. Their initial plan is to scout the 2 main target zones over the course of a week. Hyeonseok calmly pulls up the digital map on his phone and suggests setting up their base at Wajisa Temple for easier tactical movement. But the other arrogant hunters immediately start sneering at his idea. "Who the hell are you?" they bark. "We have never seen your face before. A green rookie trying to play boss?" They aggressively demand to know why they have to choose that old temple instead of better locations. Hyeonseok keeps his cool. He explains that the temple gives them a clear line of sight over the whole area and Jeodonmyeong. Plus, the ancient structure is sturdy, even monsters would struggle to break through. Despite his solid reasoning, the hunters keep complaining. "There are plenty of places to stay around here," they grumble. "What if we get surrounded after climbing all the way up that mountain?" Hyeonseok can only sigh at their stupidity. "We are not fighting thousands of enemies," he tells them, "so how could we possibly get trapped there?" One of them snarls in pure contempt, shouting that he will never take orders from an inexperienced brat. Staring at the stubborn fools in front of him, Hyeonseok sighs. Some people just defy all logic, no matter the world. Done wasting his breath, he bluntly tells them to get lost and stop dragging him down. With that, Hyeonseok immediately bolts into the deep forest to start his mission alone. He figured only Sang-ah would follow, but he is surprised to find someone else keeping pace right behind them at incredible speed. He glances at the brown-haired young man, sensing his mana is actually a bit higher than Sang-ah's. Hyeonseok asks the guy if his name is Min-jae, curious about why he decided to follow them. Min-jae calmly replies that he was worried about 2 rookies venturing out alone, so he tagged along to provide some backup. Honestly, we can only smirk along with Hyeonseok. He thanks him for the concern, thinking at least one person in this squad is actually decent. But as they move, Hyeonseok suddenly freezes, his eyes turning razor sharp as he senses something off. Raising a hand to stop the confused group, he quietly warns them to wait. "Shh, look down there," he whispers. "The monsters are having a feast." Min-jae cautiously peeks over a boulder and completely freezes in horror at the gruesome scene ahead. Down in the brush, a massive pack of hideous gray beasts with razor-sharp teeth are crowded together. Min-jae turns pale and stammers that they should take a detour, since there are easily at least 50 of them. But Hyeonseok remains eerily calm. He tells him to stay cool and asks Min-jae what his signature skill is. Min-jae asks in disbelief if he actually wants to fight, but Hyeonseok coldly responds that it is only natural for hunters to kill monsters. Then he demands to know his skill one more time. Shaken by that intense gaze, Min-jae confesses he uses fire magic, specifically fireballs. Hyeonseok immediately orders him to strike first on his signal. Min-jae looks at Sang-ah for help, only to realize she is fully on board with this insane plan too. He frantically protests, asking if 3 of them against 50 monsters is some kind of suicide mission. Besides, he adds, "Did you not just say this was your very first job?" He suggests radioing for backup, but Hyeonseok shuts it down, saying they will never make it in time. While Hyeonseok's small group is near Wajisa Temple, the other hunters are still searching all the way back by the coast. He explains that calling for help now is too risky because there is no guarantee they will show up, and if the pack scatters while they wait, the monsters will become a massive threat to everyone else. Min-jae silently admits Hyeonseok is right. Remembering the argument with those arrogant hunters earlier, they probably would not rush to save them anyway. Hyeonseok insists they have to handle this ourselves, and the key is a surprise strike. Wasting no time, he uses the tip of his blade to draw a quick battle plan right on the dirt. "Min-jae, you blast the center with your fireball while I block the flanks," he commands. Sang-ah simply watches, amazed by how detailed and prepared his tactics are for every single outcome. Min-jae is stunned, wondering who this guy really is to have the battle instincts of a veteran who has fought 10,000 wars. The monsters still linger, completely unaware of the doom about to strike. Following the plan, Min-jae summons his courage and steps out, hands blazing. A massive fireball crashes right into the center of the pack, triggering a violent explosion. Caught completely off guard, the beasts shriek in agony as the blazing flames swallow them whole. The roast on Geodon Island has officially started. Amidst the chaotic clash, Min-jae shouts out that he needs some time to prep his next fireball attack. Hyeonseok nods, understanding the limitation. "Got it," he calls back. "Fire as soon as you are ready." Min-jae quickly confirms that he is on it. Hyeonseok immediately plunges into the enemy fray, keeping combat efficiency as his top priority. He knows that to survive this, a clear division of labor is absolutely vital. He swings his spear, slicing through the charging beasts. He vows to handle every single threat in their path, keeping them far away from Min-jae until that next fireball is fully charged. Despite his incredible strength, Hyeonseok is realistic enough to know he cannot block this massive horde all by himself. That is why teamwork and keeping their roles straight is so crucial right now. Sang-ah leaps in to support them, drawing her sword with lightning speed. She focuses all her spiritual energy to make sure absolutely no monsters slip past her defensive perimeter. From the rear, Min-jae channels everything into his burning palms and shouts out that he is finally ready. Hyeonseok instantly ducks out of the way, telling him to let it fly. A massive sphere of fire shoots forth, unleashing a deafening blast that swallows the remaining beasts in a raging inferno. Just when we think the battle is won, Hyeonseok starts to praise them, but his words die in his throat as a chilling reality suddenly hits him. Standing right behind him, Min-jae is aiming a strange device directly at his head with cold, intense eyes. But then the guy just smiles, asking Hyeonseok if he could step aside for a second. Hyeonseok lets out a breath of relief, realizing it is not a weapon meant for him. Talk about a mini heart attack, he thinks, nearly believing his new ally was betraying him. Turns out, Min-jae is just tagging the beast carcasses with a chip. Intrigued, Hyeonseok asks if those are tracking microchips. Min-jae explains that once the area is clear, some scrap collectors he contracted will come by to harvest the monster remains. Talk about a side hustle, since when did hunters double as junk dealers? Since monster parts are incredibly bulky and heavy, hunters cannot easily carry them out, so these chips help the buyers locate them. After evaluating and selling the loot, the profit is split with the hunter after a small commission. Hyeonseok seems skeptical about the trust factor, but Min-jae assures him that finding a reliable partner is everything. Packing up, Min-jae cannot stop praising him. "Seriously, Hyeonseok, you are incredible," he says, admitting he never dreamed 3 people could wipe out 50 beasts like that. Right as they relax, a massive monster drops from above. Hyeonseok reacts instantly, shoving Min-jae out of harm's way before asking if he is okay. Min-jae looks up in absolute shock, muttering, "What on earth is that thing?" A towering creature with jagged teeth and a grotesque smile looms over them, and Hyeonseok narrows his eyes, identifying it as a powerful insect-type beast. It is a muscular fiend boasting blood-red wings and a presence that completely dwarfs the small fry they just fought. Hyeonseok grits his teeth, tension rising. Damn it, is this the pack leader of those monsters they just killed? The beast unleashes a deafening roar, signaling the start of another brutal fight for survival. Sensing mana from the monster that totally eclipsed the previous weaklings, Chano coldly gives his order. He will handle this, they must not interfere, leaving Min-jae and Sang-ah hesitating. Min-jae suggests a pincer movement to buy time, but Chanok snaps. Cut the crap and get back. Do they really want to go home in body bags? He figures fighting solo is way better, just him and his spear facing the beast. Chanok is confident because he can finally unleash his paradox flames without worrying about hurting his allies. He looks the monster dead in the eye. Come get some, he boldly taunts, before a massive explosion suddenly rocks the entire surrounding area. Sang-ah frantically asks if they should jump in since he looks in danger, but Min-jae quickly stops her. He realizes Chanok has not actually taken a single hit yet, not one. Sang-ah watches in shock, realizing he is dodging and counterattacking against strikes she would struggle to evade. Strangely, every time his spear connects, mysterious black flames flare up. She notices that as the fire intensifies, the monster is starting to slow down quite a bit. Although he seemed to struggle at first, Chanok is now fully dominating the fight with a smug smirk, playing with his prey. Sang-ah cannot believe a mere rookie can fight like this. This is just hacking. Chanok delivers a devastating overhead smash, pinning the beast into the rubble. He grips his spear, channels his power, and launches it into the air for his final move. Watch this. Chanok suddenly tosses his weapon away, leaving Min-jae to scream in pure terror if he plans to fight barehanded. The monster lunges like the wind, leaving Min-jae shouting in despair. Yet facing those razor-sharp teeth closing in, Chanok remains completely expressionless and stone cold. Before the beast can even touch him, his spear descends. Boom! It skewers the monster, pinning it helplessly to the ground. Looking at his dying foe, Chanok notes that it can somehow still move even after having its power burned away. He decides to finish it off while Min-jae and Sang stand frozen, utterly stunned. Min-jae cannot believe his eyes and stammers that this is impossible. The hunter seemed so overwhelmed just a second ago, yet this monster went down this easily. What on earth just happened? Chanok retrieves his weapon and calls out to them, asking if it is normal for such a strong beast to appear on Godong Island. Shaking, Min-jae explains that since this creature is not even the rift core, its presence means this is at least a level 3 erosion zone. Chano quietly recalls that these erosion rifts have 4 stages. During the briefing, they said this alpha rift was unclassified. Min-jae notes grimly, if that is true, then it looks like the alpha rift on Godong Island has already spiked to level 3. Sang-ah protests in shock since the briefing info was totally different, but Chano cuts her off, telling her to think realistically. If it is not level 3, there is absolutely no other way to explain the appearance of that monster just now, Chanok says. Min-jae panics completely, yelling out for them to wait because the difference between unclassified and level 3 is like night and day. If that is true, then the number of hunters who make it back alive will be practically 0. In this dire crisis, Min-jae desperately begs, pleading with Chanok to go and save the other hunters. Saying that with his skills, even a level 3 threat is nothing, Chano coldly cuts him off. No thanks, he says. I am not running a charity. Blunt reply leaves Min-jae stunned, asking why, but Chanok remains completely indifferent. He asks how he could possibly save every hunter on this island when he has his own limits, stating that if he cannot do something, he will not promise it. Their mission is to find and destroy the rifts, not play hero. Besides, in this line of work, you cannot expect everyone to make it home alive. Sang-ah stares at him, her eyes filled with disapproval. She asks him if he was in their shoes, would he not feel resentful and beg to be saved? Chanok turns to look her dead in the eye, throwing back a highly sarcastic response. So naturally, he should feel pity and rush to save them. He explains he is not saying this out of a lack of empathy, but because of cold, hard reality, where some deaths in this harsh world are just completely unavoidable. When facing that kind of death, it does not matter what you think or feel, you are still going to die. He seriously warns his teammates not to let desperate situations sway their judgment. As night falls at the ancient temple, Chanok sweeps the area and reports the building is secure, with absolutely no trace of any other corrupted creatures nearby. Hearing this, Min-jae lets out a sigh of relief. When asked if he spots anything outside, Chanok gazes into the distance and replies that it is too dark to see much of anything. But judging by the flashlight beams, he can pinpoint where the other hunters are. Even so, he secretly worries that using such obvious light sources will only turn those people into sitting ducks for the monsters. While weaklings are easy enough to handle, if another high-tier monster shows up, things will quickly get incredibly ugly. Thinking back to the beast they just fought, Chanok decides to broadcast a direct warning message to all active hunters. Identifying himself as Chan-ok of Team 8, he warns them that given the monster's power, the Alpha Rift has likely reached level 3. Flashlights are dangerous right now, so he advises everyone to turn them off immediately. Sang-ah wonders if destroying the rift core will make this entire erosion zone vanish. Chan-ok confirms that without energy flowing from the source, every single corrupted creature in the area will completely turn to dust. An idea pops into his head, and he mutters that he should just smash the monster's nest, finish the job, and go to sleep. Leaving Sanga and Minjae to rest, Chanok slips away after setting up an alarm device. He figures the warning device will alert his team of approaching threats, letting him handle his own business and return quickly. Speeding through the dark forest, Chan-O feels quite lucky that he memorized the Alpha Rift's exact coordinates during their briefing. Just when we think everything is going smoothly, a sudden terrible premonition hits him hard, and a low growl echoes right behind his back. Chan-O clicks his tongue, realizing he spoke too soon. Looking at the beast blocking his path, he mutters if it is really you again, as the dark violet energy of his paradox flame begins to surge in his hand. Confronting a massive wolf-like beast with glowing eyes, Chan-O coldly notes that he has never seen this particular face before, standing his ground as the giant creature bares its razor-sharp claws. Back at the Godong Island Hunter Association control room, the atmosphere has descended into absolute chaos. Rapid keyboard clatter echoes alongside terrified reports pouring in from all sides. Operators desperately report they have lost signals from several Team 5 hunters who are feared dead. Things get even worse as the monsters begin moving in organized packs, and Team 3 confirms yet another tragic casualty. The manager roars in complete despair, cursing and demanding to know what the hell is happening to a rift that was supposed to be completely unclassified. He immediately orders the emergency communication tower activated to request backup from all nearby hunters. Amid the growing chaos, a staff member suddenly screams out that some crazy guy is running straight towards certain death. Stunned manager orders them to stop him immediately but freezes upon learning it is Chan-Ok from Team 8. After all, Chan-Ok was the very first person to identify and confirm the rift's level upgrade. Recognizing this as their best hope to understand the situation, the manager orders them to establish a connection with Chan-Ok's device to verify his survival. He believes that if anyone has answers right now, it can only be Chan-Ok the moment they connect. Chan-Ok is busy dodging lightning-fast lunges from the giant beast, yelling into his communicator at those idiots. How could they call this rift unclassified when the beast is way faster than he anticipated? He fumes at the association's gross negligence, which has forced ordinary hunters to face certain death. He even threw out a threat, warning them that if anyone reported false info again, he would carve their face up. Despite the heavy insult, the staff could only sigh in relief, realizing Chan-Seo was actually still alive in that brutal war zone. In reality, though, things are way harder than they look. Chan-Seo quickly realizes his paradox flame, in its current state, just does not have enough juice to put this beast down right away. He normally wears down tough bosses with his purple flames first, before striking with his spear, but this giant thing will not even budge. Turns out, draining massive amounts of mana to kill that giant bat earlier today left his reserves completely dry. With his power severely crippled, Chan-Seo knows there is no way he can leave Godong Island just yet. He is forced to hunt for another spot on the island to recharge his mana and keep fighting. Suddenly, his eyes lock onto a new target. Look at this bold move. He spots a deep blue rift cutting through the dark forest and charges straight for it, coldly warning the monster to run fast and not make him wait. His face hardens with absolute killer intent as he dives straight into the center of the rift. Back at headquarters, pure panic erupts when his tracking signal suddenly goes completely dark. A panicked staff member reports that Chan-Seo just entered the Alpha Corruption Rift. The manager stands frozen, grinding his teeth in utter helplessness at such a reckless move. Stepping inside, Chan-Seo is pretty surprised by how clean the place actually is. Looking around the desolate wasteland, he wonders how massive the top ranks must be if a low-tier unclassified zone is already this vast. Suddenly, a massive purple wolf monster steps out of the shadows right behind him. As the beast opens its jaws and howls with rage, he calmly tightens his grip on his spear. He knows that one of the biggest flaws of the paradox flame is how it spreads to every living thing nearby except himself, completely ignoring whether they are friend or foe. A dark purple pillar of fire engulfs his weapon. Because of this, if the flame ever rages completely out of his control, the entire ability becomes useless. But when he is fighting completely alone, that downside disappears. Chan-Seo smoothly dodges the monster's leap, letting his dark purple flames latch onto the beast's flesh and slowly eat it alive. Now comes the best part. The mana stolen from his enemy begins flowing through every inch of his flesh and bones. The process actively expands and strengthens his mana pathways, making him feel the raw power growth. Feeling the hot surge of new energy inside him, he realizes that absorbing mana directly like this is way more effective than he expected. Meanwhile, the wolf monster can only howl in despair before being reduced to ash. Suddenly, a brilliant green magic circle appears in the dark sky, sending heavy tremors through the entire dimension. Chan-Seo smirks as he figures out the enemy's real plan. So this is what you were setting up, huh? In an instant, a swarm of massive, bait-winged gargoyles crash down to the ground, completely surrounding him. Turns out the wolf called in reinforcements just in time. Staring down the massive crowd, Chan-Seo coldly mutters that they might have the numbers, but weaklings are still just easy prey to him. A massive blast of dark purple energy erupts from his body, creating a violent shockwave that sweeps away every single monster in the blink of an eye. Feeling the power surging through his muscles, he notes he is already far stronger than before, even if he has not reached his otherworldly peak yet. His sharp gaze scans the ruined battlefield looking for his real target. Where is the core of this corruption rift hiding? According to Kim Min-jae, it should be the most heavily corrupted creature in this entire dimension. As he ponders this, a deep, raspy voice suddenly whispers right by his ear, making him freeze in his tracks. Look at that creepy thing. A bizarre shadow with lifeless white eyes towers right behind him, releasing a crushing pressure that freezes the very air. This is definitely the core. Chanseo realizes this enemy was incredibly patient, waiting until his paradox flame died down before finally showing itself. Looking at this bat-eared creature holding itself like a true master swordsman, he is actually quite impressed. Oh, so you can speak human? How about speaking your last words? He immediately senses that the power tier of this rift core is on an entirely different level compared to those weaklings from earlier. The monster growls with pure deadly intent, declaring that Chanseo is going to die, totally unfazed. He grips his spear and gets into stance, calculating that, with his current strength, a swift 4-hit combo should finish this. Instantly, Chanseo lunges forward at blinding speed. He unleashes a barrage of powerful rapid thrusts, forcing the creature to step back and desperately defend itself with its blade. Metal clashes violently again and again as sparks fly. With cold sharp eyes, Chanseo quietly activates his skilled dual orbit spear. A bright green energy instantly explodes, slamming into the monster with devastating force. He explains to himself that a green trajectory is created along his path of attack, mimicking that first strike and repeating it flawlessly 4 more times. At its core, it is just a simple technique of 4 consecutive thrusts. But what happens if that green trajectory attacks just a split second slower? It creates a highly lethal 2-stage spear rotation that is nearly impossible to dodge. Caught completely off guard by the delay, the monster cannot react in time. Facing a double-pronged attack with a built-in delay, the monster is caught totally off guard and forced onto the defense. Seeing his enemy fumble and lose focus, Chanseo coldly delivers a final line. It is game over. Go back to where you came from. 4 brilliant points of light lock onto the target, triggering a chain of violent explosions that shake the entire area. The beast collapses as its body begins dissolving into a hazy green flame. Watching the collapse, Chanseo confesses he expected it to just vanish cleanly. But once the monster is fully gone, he spots a strange object on the ground glowing with a mysterious blue light. Picking it up with curiosity, he wonders what it is, looking like a small box. But the moment he slides the lid open, absolute shock washes over his face. Could this be? Meanwhile, back at the command center, things are looking absolutely catastrophic as the corruption zone keeps rapidly spreading from the center of Gadong Island. The manager screams in pure despair, urging the staff to reposition the hunters to avoid casualties, but bad news just keeps piling up as Squad 9's signal completely vanishes. To make matters worse, reinforcement hunters run into unexpected monster hordes, making it impossible to reach the island due to massive energy interference. The manager stands frozen in front of the screens, his face filled with defeat as he mutters they are completely doomed and should probably start writing their resignation letters. He bitterly realizes that without a miracle, he can only watch as all their hunters get wiped out. Suddenly, an employee yells out that a message has just come in from Chanseo inside the Alpha Rift. Leaving everyone in absolute shock, a clear system-wide announcement is broadcasted. The Alpha Corruption Rift on Godong Island has been successfully cleared. The rift signal vanishes completely, confirming the threat is gone. Not only that, but all the corrupted monsters attacking the other hunters are simultaneously destroyed. The manager stares at the screen, unable to believe his own eyes. This is a miracle, but how is it even possible? Meanwhile, silence finally returns to the battlefield. Chanseo sits back casually, leaning against his spear as he looks up at the starry night sky with a soft sigh. He whispers that the air is so fresh here. Elsewhere, Hyeonseok swings her sword repeatedly, creating brilliant blue electrical slashes to push back the monster swarm surrounding her. Her hands tremble with exhaustion, and blood dripping from her facial wounds begins blurring her vision. She worries as the monster horde keeps growing while Chanseo is still completely unreachable. Standing beside her, a terrified Kim Min-jae begs for help, crying out that they are about to become monster food. Watching a massive wave of dark beasts pour from the forest, Hyeonseok knows he is at his limit, and she does not know how long she can hold on either, with a deep wound on her leg bleeding constantly. Suddenly, a hideous beast roars, lunging straight toward Hyeonseok with its razor-sharp claws bare. She tried to react and fight back, but her legs completely collapsed from exhaustion, leaving her unable to even stand. With death staring her in the face, Kim Min-chi could only scream out in total, helpless despair. "Sang, watch out!" Right as the beasts were about to tear them apart, a massive sweep wiped the field clean, vaporizing them instantly. The two just stared around in utter shock, wondering how their enemies vanished so bizarrely right before their eyes. Back at the hunter camp on Godong Island, Chanseo walks calmly through the tents, packed with wounded fighters, muttering to himself that those monsters must have gone absolutely wild while he was busy destroying the core of the rift. Word quickly spreads that Chanseo cleared a level 3 rift all by himself, leaving the other hunters completely stunned. Wait, Chanseo did that? You mean he seriously cleared that level 3 erosion rift on his own? While everyone stares in disbelief, Chan-sik strolls out of the deep woods with his azure spear resting on his shoulder. Seeing him, Kim Min-chi quickly waves him over, calling out that he is finally back. She admits she was terrified when she got his text, asking how he could even think about taking on an entire erosion rift completely solo. To keep up appearances, Chan-sik puts on a deadpan, serious face, claiming he did it to protect his fellow hunters, saying it was not his body but his righteous heart that forced him to act. Deep down, he smugly tells himself that PR management is a crucial skill, even though Hansa is staring at him with pure suspicion. While resting in the camp, Chan-suk regrets not heading out earlier before sunset when, suddenly, a man dressed in a sharp business suit approaches him. Asking if he is indeed Hunter Chan-suk, he introduces himself as Jong Tai, the branch manager for North Gyeonggi and Incheon under the Korea Operations Corporation, saying it is a pleasure to meet him. Jong Tae cuts straight to the chase, explaining that the mayor is eager to meet the legendary rookie hero. Soon after, under a heavy downpour, Chan-suk arrives at the mayor's office building. He quietly mocks the bossy habits of the powerful old men in this world. Walking under his umbrella, Chan-suk starts doing the math. Get this, his contract never mentioned any bonus cash for clearing a level 3 rift. Since he is here, he figures he might as well renegotiate for a much fairer price. Greeting him in the lobby is Lippin, the communications officer, who welcomes him with a warm, friendly smile. Introducing himself as Lippin, he leads Chan-suk inside, explaining that the mayor has been eagerly waiting for this meeting ever since receiving the shocking reports from Skodong Island earlier this morning. Turns out the mayor is a huge fan. Lippin reveals the mayor even cleared his entire morning schedule just to see him, but Chan-suk keeps it humble, replying that they could have met later since he did not do anything that impressive. He immediately fires back, insisting that a rookie hunter single-handedly destroying a level 3 rift is completely unprecedented, not since the era of the very first hunter who held the title of the Great Pioneer. Hearing that, Chan-sik silently notes that the Pioneer guy was the real monster, since he himself had a pretty rough time clearing it. The office doors swing open and Lippin loudly announces his arrival. The mayor of Incheon, Park Gyeon, welcomes him with a warm smile, thanking him for making the long trip and apologizing for calling him out in such terrible, rainy weather. Mayor Park Shion politely invites Chan-suk to take a seat, ordering Officer Lippin to go brew some coffee. Staring at the steaming cup of coffee on the table, the mayor showers him with praise. Calling him the nation's sweep superstar, he says the country owes him a massive debt of gratitude. He admits Godong Island had been a thorn in their side for ages, but a tight budget kept them from hiring expensive hunter guilds. Mayor Park Ji-on sighs with relief that the massive threat was neutralized for basically pennies, and he is even more shocked to learn this was only Chan-seok's very first official mission. Unbelievable. He suddenly stands up, excitedly declaring it is wild that the first step of such an extraordinary hunter started right here in Incheon, making him incredibly proud as the city's mayor. Park Ji-on goes on and on about South Korea being the safest country on Earth, bragging that Incheon plays a key role in that thanks to its amazing airport infrastructure and free economic zone projects. He boasts about world-class international cities like Songdo and Cheongna, which constantly attract tons of wealthy foreign investors with massive amounts of capital. Chan-sik just silently sips his coffee, wondering if this old guy forgot his meds because he talks like an absolute radio. Wrapping up his speech, the mayor tightly shakes his hand, promising to support his hunter career to the absolute fullest. After the meeting, Chan-suk sits in a luxury car speeding through the pouring rain. Out of nowhere, the driver strikes up a conversation, asking about his real motivation for becoming a hunter. Chan-suk looks out the window, calmly giving a blunt analogy. He says if a toilet gets clogged and starts spewing filth everywhere, someone has to be brave enough to jump into the mess and clear the pipes. The answer leaves the driver stunned for a second before he thoughtfully agrees. He predicts that with this kind of talent, Chan-suk will soon skyrocket to fame, getting flooded with commercial offers and primetime TV appearances. Seeing that the driver is worried he might get blinded by the spotlight, Chan-suk just gives a faint smile. The driver admits he has seen far too many promising hunters completely lose themselves to fame and easy cash. He explains that while Korea is currently the last safe haven on Earth, even this place is starting to be heavily corrupted by the pure power of money. Looking in the rearview mirror, he insists Chan-suk's feat is unbelievable. Seriously, we'd all look up to him as a beacon of hope after a carry like that. The driver watches him through the mirror with eyes full of expectation, trusting he will stay a symbol of hope. Hearing this, Chan-suk finds it pretty amusing, wondering what kind of game they are trying to play. Are they planning to turn him into a walking billboard? Back in the office, looking at Mayor Park Ji-on's overly eager face, he realizes the man is not even bothering to hide his shady political agenda anymore. Deal resolve. To someone who survived 20 years of brutal hardships and endless betrayal in another world, these cheap political mind games are not going to shake his will one bit. Chan-suk coldly speaks up, noting that if the mayor is offering this much support, there must be a favor expected in return, like helping a mayor with tanking approval ratings secure a re-election. Hitting the nail right on the head, the mayor is left utterly speechless. He awkwardly stammers, asking how he figured it out, admitting he is indeed desperately starved for votes right now. Our main character casually replies that a quick search on his phone showed his term is ending and his re-election campaign is struggling. Desperate, Mayor Park Gi-yeon tries to save face by reminding him that he was the one who approved a rookie for the mission. Clearly, he sees right through the old man's scheme. The mayor wants to frame him as a star talent discovered by Park Gi-yeon himself to boost his own public image. He silently despises the politician's desperate attempt to ride his coattails. Park Gi-yeon goes on bragging about his corporate connections, pitching a deal that the contract for their current coffee brand model is about to expire. It could easily replace her face with Hunter Hyeonseok. He excitedly hypes up this bright future, but Hyeonseok slams his coffee cup down, coldly cutting him off, asking the mayor if he really thinks his power is that cheap. Leaving Mayor Park Gi-yeon completely dumbfounded, he declares that the world needs a fresh face to shatter this gloomy atmosphere. Hyeonseok confidently states that as long as a talent like him stays a hunter, everything the mayor is promising will naturally fall into his lap anyway. Caught red-handed, the panicked mayor desperately tries to bribe him with easy, high-paying, safe missions. Boring. Hyeonseok coldly brushes it off as an incredibly dull offer, turning to walk away while throwing a parting jab, saying the coffee model is in luck since he has no interest in stealing her gig. Stepping back out into the pouring rain, Hyeonseok leaves the stunned mayor behind, having completely wrecked his perfect political pawn. Meanwhile, in a dark, creepy corner under a bridge, a mysterious cloaked figure is listening to a report from a minion. He mutters that he understands, noting that the experiment on Godong Island was a total failure. A bald thug trembles on his knees, bowing deeply while begging for forgiveness. The figure coldly replies that what is done cannot be undone, but the desperate henchman quickly speaks up, offering a piece of good news to make amends. He holds out his phone, showing a video of Hyeonseok during the licensing exam. Watching those black flames burn on the screen alongside praises of his absolutely insane power, a cloaked figure quietly mutters Chanok's name. A sly, dark smile creeps across his face as he speaks. He is pretty amazing, is he not? The first day of every month is always the moment the entire nation looks forward to. From ordinary citizens on the streets and kids at home to even the worst criminals, everyone is glued to their phones tracking the September 2025 Hunter rankings. Normally, these ranks barely ever change, serving as nothing more than casual entertainment, but this time, things are completely different. Even hunters recovering in hospitals gasp in pure excitement. It is finally here, and people are more hyped for this drama than a text from their crush. At the association headquarters, a staff member respectfully delivers the news, "Sir, here are the global hunter rankings for September." Chairman Mun takes the report silently, his face locked in deep thought. Meanwhile, out in the snowy mountains, Lee Seo cannot help but wonder if that guy made the cut. Chanok, now wearing a sleek suit, casually scrolls through his phone and tells himself that no matter how much they show off, only the top 10 actually matter. The star-studded list gradually reveals itself. 10th place goes to Lee Se, who just finished setting up camp under brutal freezing conditions. 5th place goes to the cold and sharp Kim Chae-hyun. 3rd is Choi Yo-ryum, blazing in red flames, and 2nd is the powerful Kang Seok, and then an absolute shockwave hits the official #1 spot in the world belongs to Chanok. Chanok stands stunned by this unbelievable result. An employee walks up to him to break the trance. "We are all done here. Go get some fresh air." He excitedly offers his congratulations. "Hey, I saw your name. Congrats to Chanok for making the rankings in absolute record time." Normally, a veteran hunter solo clearing a rank 3 crack is nothing special and gets completely ignored by the hunter community. Wait for it for a brand new rookie who just joined. This is an absolutely earth-shattering miracle. A rookie pulling off a miracle right at launch sends the media into a complete frenzy, and they instantly swarm him for interviews. Facing a barrage of cameras, Chanok gets bombarded with rapid-fire questions about his old job and whether he really cleared that entire crack completely alone. Feeling like some kid on a cheesy television genius search show, he coldly announces that he will only be taking one single final question. When a reporter presses him about his mindset and pledge of dedication as a hunter, Chanok stares straight into the camera with a freezing, sharp look. "Forget those empty words about doing my best." He firmly declares, "Talk less. Let the results do the talking." Right after that, we cut to a helicopter soaring high up in the sky. Below them lies a wasteland of ruins. What was once the bustling Gonsal prison is now nothing but a deep, dark sinkhole. The chairman sitting directly opposite him explains that this is the harsh, tragic reality for nations worldwide, as most governments completely lost their ability to govern once the erosion cracks began appearing. He proudly boasts that South Korea alone, however, has risen as a global powerhouse, not only successfully protecting its territory, but also securing massive, unprecedented leaps in advanced technology. The helicopter they are riding in is proof of that progress. It runs entirely on mana and is completely soundproof from the outside world. Chanok thoughtfully asks, "Are those other countries vanishing off the map entirely?" He receives a silent nod confirming that multiple capital cities have completely disappeared. The chairman invites him to take a much closer look at the 8 Great Cracks, the official list of the 8 most dangerous erosion zones on Earth, with Gonsol Prison being one of them. Gonsol Prison suddenly manifested 13 years ago, rapidly expanding outward from the city center in a massive circle without any warning signs. Those who initially managed to survive were also quickly wiped out as the surrounding space completely transformed into an active erosion zone. In just a few short days, an entire bustling city vanished without making a single sound. The chairman looks down at the barren wasteland below, noting that while the world map has not changed much, the power of central governments has actually been severely gutted from within. Deciding he has heard enough about the erosion zones, Chanuk speaks up coldly. It is great to learn about things I did not know, but what does calling me here have to do with that? Chairman Moon quietly reveals that a few days ago, Song-hyun from the Taebaek Guild came to see him, absolutely furious because Chanuk had refused to join. Chanuk instantly recalls the menacing face of that giant who had threatened him earlier. The chairman adds that the giant abruptly demanded to know Chanuk's whereabouts, which catches him off guard. He explains that while he did not share any personal info, the Taebaek Guild lives by the law of the jungle, and they will absolutely try to force him into submission. Chanuk clicks his tongue in annoyance. He knows all too well that with his current level, taking that monster head-on with sheer brute force is going to be incredibly tough. Seeing that Chanuk wants to act alone instead of being tied down by guilds, Chairman Mun suggests the best way to keep Taebaek at bay is to raise his own status by taking on critical missions offered directly by the association. Chanuk silently realizes this old man has an agenda of his own and definitely will not help for free. Addressing his suspicion, the chairman coldly asserts that the only thing Chanuk needs to remember is who reached out to help him right now. With that, he slides over a mission file. Chanuk thinks it over. This is not a bad deal, as running missions directly for the association president will help him build a massive reputation incredibly fast. Cutting straight to the point, Chanuk asks what exactly do I need to do. Chairman Mun tasks him with escorting a cargo ship from Busan to Nanning, explaining that delivering daily necessities is extremely difficult these days because of the erosion zones. But as he looks at the cargo list, he sees Rolex watches, high-end ceramics, ginseng wine, and luxury cars. Chanuk sarcastically asks if the definition of daily necessities has changed during the 20 years he was gone. The chairman casually replies that for some people, they really are essential, while looking quite surprised by that 20-year timeline Chanuk just accidentally let slip. Chanuk still cannot fathom why these ridiculous luxuries are necessary in a country where the central government has completely collapsed. Chairman Mun explains that even though countries are falling apart due to the cracks, international politics still exist, and these goods are necessary to grease the wheels of diplomacy. Realizing he is being dragged into dirty power games, Chanuk immediately unbuckles his seatbelt and flatly refuses the mission, ignoring the panicked chairman who tries to hold him back, insisting how seriously the Korean government treats this matter. Chanuk refuses to budge. He coldly declares politics is a game for old men. I only care about clearing monsters. Chairman Mun looks at Chanuk with a heavily patronizing, lecturing expression. Hunter Chanuk. Perhaps this might sound rude, but you are just a rookie hunter who only recently debuted, and it seems all this excessive public attention has already turned into poison for you. Without letting the old man finish, Chanuk casually sweeps his hand and flings the entire mission file right out the helicopter door. Watching the papers detailing the luxury goods scatter in mid-air, the chairman screams in absolute horror. Can you believe this guy? He simply fires back, take this pile of scrap paper and make yourself a paper airplane. Leaving the chairman in utter shock, Chanuk launches himself out of the helicopter, free-falling through the open sky. A massive boom echoes as his body slams violently into the water, kicking up a giant wave in the middle of the vast ocean. Looking down from the helicopter, the stunned chairman can only gawk in disbelief and heavily sigh. Kids these days, honestly. Meanwhile, at Incheon Port during sunset, a dockworker sipping his coffee suddenly notices the water bubbling like crazy. A strong hand suddenly reaches out, gripping the edge of the pier, and Chanuk hauls himself out of the water, completely drenched and gasping for breath. He thinks to himself, I honestly thought I was a goner, but that is what they get for trying to threaten me. The worker standing nearby is left utterly frozen in shock before kindly asking after seeing his absolute mess of a state. I have no clue what just went down, but you must have had a rough time. Chanuk nods slightly and responds, yeah, appreciate it, man. Standing right in the middle of these massive shipping containers, he makes a firm choice. He has to build up his own strength, and fast. He tells himself to go after the hardest, most brutal requests, first to quickly become a real heavy hitter in this world. That is the only way he can stop people like Seon Hyun or President Moon from pulling his strings. Chanuk scrolls through his phone for his next challenge and stops, completely satisfied. A rescue mission on Tsushima Island. Looks pretty promising. It is a support request to track down kidnapped victims on Tsushima Island, with a danger rating estimated at a level 2 erosion rift. After tapping accept, he sits in silence watching the brilliant sunset over the horizon and lets out a soft sigh of relief. Chanuk quietly tells himself that his schedule is about to get pretty packed. Right in the middle of lobster season, fishermen from neighboring islands set sail together, but this time the ocean felt strangely dead. The erosion beasts nesting on Tsushima Island suddenly showed up out of nowhere. They hunted and dragged the fishermen away like prey. According to a lucky survivor who managed to escape, those captured fishers are somehow still alive. The goal is simple: head to Tsushima, rescue the hostages, and completely wipe out the erosion rift there. Shinnok quietly reads the details on his phone and realizes this is what he is signing up for. With a payout of 55 million for a level 2 rift, he does the math. If he handles this alone, he keeps every single cent. Money is truth, even heroes have bills to pay. That is definitely a pretty decent stack of cash. Plus, if he pulls this off, he gets a legendary heroic story and massive fame. It is absolutely a challenge worth taking on. But get this, the raw power gap between these rift levels is actually beyond insane. While a level 3 threat barely has the destructive power of a tank, a level 2 beast is literally a walking natural disaster. And as for level 1, an entire nation has to deploy its full military force just to deal with a single creature. Sure, his Paradox Flame helped him breeze through level 3, but handling a level 2 rift is still a pretty massive question mark. To eliminate all risky variables, he realizes he needs a truly useful partner. Top-tier hunters never look at requests posted by regular citizens. Just as he hits a wall, a familiar face flashes through his mind. Ah, there is someone. If it is her, she is perfect. Right on the deck of the boat sailing toward Tsushima Island, Sanga slowly walks over to him and calls out, "Chanok, how much longer? I am seriously turning into dried fish from this seasickness." Shinnok casually pulls out his phone to check and replies, "Probably about an hour." Sang-A warns him to use this time to recover his strength, because this upcoming battle will be way more brutal than their last one. Noticing his distracted look, she pushes, "Hey, are you even listening to me?" Suddenly, her gaze locks onto the armor on his shoulder, and she squeals with pure excitement. "Shinnok, is that the limited edition Iron Sarah shoulder guard? Look at that sleek custom finish. Did you have to grind your entire life just to afford this piece?" Annoyed by her sudden clinginess, Shinnok just sighs and asks if she always talks this much. He casually reveals it was actually a gift from the junk dealer he signed a contract with. Hearing that, Sang-A pouts with deep jealousy because her own sponsor never gives her anything that cool. Chanok smirks and teases, "Of course they do not, kiddo, because their expectations are completely different. I am a rising star who cleared a level 3 rift completely solo, while you are just a rookie with a fancy academy title. If you think that is unfair, go get stronger and more famous." Talk about brutal honesty. Those sharp words make Sang-A quietly remember a phone call from a few days ago when she asked him with deep doubt, "So, do you really need a teammate?" Back then, she was pretty terrified because they almost died in that level 3 rift, and now they are jumping straight into a dangerous level 2. But he suddenly asked a question that cut deep. "Don't you want to become stronger?" He brought up her own words about wanting to learn from those who are stronger. Chanok made a firm promise, "If you still feel that way, I can guarantee you one thing. If you let me train you, you will get many times stronger than you are right now." Sanga stared at Chanok with pure determination, secretly deciding she would grow stronger at all costs, even if she had to walk through hell. And just like that, the radar starts screaming. Here is where the real action begins. Right out of the heavy fog, 5 ancient ships slowly drift into view, looking incredibly creepy. Since they need to rescue the hostages quietly, Chanok starts planning his approach, only to watch in sheer shock as Sang-A casually walks right onto the water. Seeing him freeze, she smirks playfully at him. "Don't tell me you can't do this," she teases. Sanga giggles as this top-tier hunter is forced to piggyback on her just to cross the sea. Imagine being a super elite hunter who cannot even walk on water. Absolutely hilarious. After giving her a quick smack on the head, a embarrassed Chanok tells her to be careful because water is splashing everywhere. He reluctantly admits that he still has not unlocked the water walking skill yet. As they close in on the fleet, Chanok tells Sang-A to clear the nearest ship. He explains that he feels a massive, highly dangerous mana surge coming from deep behind them, so he needs to head inside first. Sanga nods quickly and sneaks onto the deck of the target ship, but she immediately freezes in her tracks, spotting a mysterious silhouette standing quietly in the dark, eerie mist. Shinnok coldly warns her to look closer. Those creepy movements do not belong to a living human. They are dealing with bloodthirsty, undead ghouls. Landing incredibly softly right beside her, he whispers a gentle warning. If she keeps dropping down so hard, her knees will blow out long before she beats the enemy. Right in front of them, a massive pack of hideous zombies wanders the deck. Chanok estimates these guys are just bottom-tier level 2 threats, warning Sang-A that making a big scene right now will only pull a lot of unnecessary heat. But Sang-A does not even listen, straight up spamming her skills to blast the undead. Watching her unleash a blinding burst of blue lightning, Shinnok immediately yells, "Sang-A, stop wasting your mana like crazy. Do you want to blow us up?" He warns her that if she keeps this up, she will run out of juice when the real fight has barely started. Against weak trash like this, he points out that a much smaller amount of energy is more than enough. Looking straight into her highly ambitious eyes, he promises to show her exactly how to get way stronger than she is today. But Sangae keeps recklessly charging ahead, forcing Chanok to growl in frustration because she still has no idea how to control her output. He repeatedly demands she dial down her mana consumption to preserve her stamina for the long fight. Sudden, painful memories of a cold and dark childhood flash in her mind. This pushes her to make a silent, desperate vow that she will never let herself live as a weakling ever again. She has to get stronger at all costs to take control of her own destiny. But right in the heat of battle, Chanok's loud shout snaps her back to reality, warning her of a monster lunging straight at her face. Sangae's eyes burn with fierce determination, without showing even a single trace of fear in the face of death. For the sole purpose of becoming stronger, she is absolutely ready to dive headfirst into hell itself. The final skeletal monster is completely destroyed, shattered beneath Sangae's blade. She stands there breathing heavily, her face covered in blood and grime, but her eyes remain sharp as she asks, "Is that it? I was just getting warmed up here." Right then, Chanok shows up on the edge of the deck, raising his hand with total confidence. "I have already cleared out every single one of the remaining ships." She quietly thanks him for those incredibly helpful pointers, admitting she actually learned a lot from them. Busy planting tracking chips on the dead beast corpses, Chanok casually replies, "Do not sweat it. This world is pretty much packed with idiots who refuse to learn even if you spoon-feed them." Sangha quietly notes that this is actually the first time anyone has ever given her real advice. Seeing Chanok ask in surprise if she did not have any seniors or friends to guide her at the academy, she coldly replies that since she learned everything way too fast, everyone just found her annoying. Hyeonseok smirks, asking if she really thinks she can surpass him just by taking his advice. Sangha looks him dead in the eye with absolute conviction. "I have never met a master I did not surpass." Hyeonseok's jaw drops at her sheer arrogance, but he instantly shuts her down. "Do not count on it," he snaps. "That is never happening with me, so do not even hold your breath. I am going to make you look up to me for the rest of your life." That cocky declaration has Sang-ah gritting her teeth in pure frustration. Honestly, hearing that would drive anyone insane. After clearing out the ship, they head back to the docks. The security team salutes, promising to hold the line on the island and wishing them luck. Hyeonseok just gives a calm nod. He tells them to keep up the good work before heading deeper inland. According to survivor reports, hostages are trapped inside a shrine. Sang-ah points out there are two local spots, Gajin and Atajumi. Judging by the map, Hyeonseok targets Gajin Shrine first, since they can reach it on foot in a few hours. But a sudden dark gut feeling makes him pause and furrow his brow. Getting there is the easy part, but hauling 15 people back through a war zone is pure hell. With 15 hostages to protect, any injuries will make a safe return nearly impossible. To make matters worse, a chill runs down Hyeonseok's spine as he senses a dark, suffocating mana lurking in the thick fog. If they want to escape the corrosion beasts with the survivors in one piece, they are going to need some wheels. Spotting an old pickup truck, he turns to Sang-ah and asks if she can drive. She claims she is an expert, so they hit the road. But oh man, this is where the nightmare begins. She drives like an absolute maniac, and Hyeonseok is literally screaming for his life. He yells at her to use the brakes, but she fires right back, telling him to drive if he is so unhappy. Remembering his license has been gathering dust for 20 years in another dimension, he reluctantly climbs onto the roof. Honestly, he would rather risk a crash than get behind the wheel. Armed with his spear, he braces himself, knowing he is far better at killing monsters than driving. The truck tears down the road, dragging a massive horde of screeching beasts right behind them. Hyeonseok focuses, unleashing lethal, lightning-fast thrusts to crush any monster that dares to leap at them. After double-checking the rope holding him down, he feels a sudden spike of killer intent. He roars out a warning to watch the left as a pack prepares to ambush them. Beasts erupt from the bushes, diving straight for the side of the truck. Gritting her teeth, Sang-ah tells him to leave it to her, violently whipping the steering wheel to face them down. He realizes she is about to do something completely unhinged and tries to stop her, but it is too late. The truck rams right through, scattering the horde like absolute bowling pins. Sang-ah laughs like a psycho, telling the beasts to get lost. She is driving like a straight-up action star, leaving a speechless Hyeonseok wondering if he should have risked driving after all. Pickup bounces wildly up the endless stone steps leading to the hidden temple. Right on their tail, hundreds of shrieking monsters chase them down like a massive, terrifying wave of death. Spotting the shrine gate, Hyeonseok yells at her to drive inside. Sang-ah asks if she should just run over the remaining horde, but he leaps off the moving vehicle the very second it screeches to a halt. Telling her he is taking the lead, he hits the ground running. Dark purple energy from his paradox flame instantly wraps around his body. He stares down the chasing horde with a chilling glare. He unleashes the paradox flame with a clever twist. Instead of attacking the monsters directly, he decides to simply burn away the physical concept of friction on the stone stairs. While Hyeonseok halts the massive swarm down below, Sang-ah searches the upper grounds. She quickly finds the terrified hostages, bound in ropes, and rushes over to help. Asking if they are alright, she introduces herself as a hunter from the association. But instead of being relieved, the lead hostage panics completely, breaking out into hysterical tears. A highly confused Sang-ah waves her hands, trying to explain she is there to save them, but the man's terrified screams only echo louder through the dark halls. Desperate, the man screams at her to run. Before she can even process the warning, a colossal, dark shadow looms directly over her from behind, blocking out the light. A massive ancient samurai monster stands there, dripping with toxic green spiritual energy and pure bloodlust. Just as its giant blade swings down to cleave her in two, Hyeonseok intercepts. His eyes flare with that familiar, devastating purple-black aura as he faces the beast head-on. He barks an order to get the survivors out, leaving this overgrown toy to him. Gritting his teeth under the crushing pressure, he channels his mana to block the massive blade slamming down. Just as the creature roars, preparing to crush him, a deafening engine roar echoes from right behind them. Sang-ah has gunned the truck straight into the boss, pinning the giant samurai against a solid stone wall. She screams for it to go meet its ancestors as it gets crushed in a cloud of debris. With the heavily damaged truck now billowing thick smoke, a completely deadpan Hyeonseok looks at her. He makes it extremely clear that she is officially banned from driving on the way back. He literally demands a pinky swear right then and there. A deeply annoyed Sang-ah just snaps at him to shut up and get in the truck. Once she confirms all the hostages are loaded, her face suddenly pales. She screams for Hyeonseok to look ahead and his eyes lock onto the path with sudden tension. Look at this out of the pitch-black woods. Dozens of glowing red eyes stare back. A horribly mutilated undead beast crawls forward, proving this nightmare is far from over. It actually survived getting flattened by a truck. He turns to Sang-ah, demanding she hand over her sword. She shrieks in absolute disbelief, asking him if he has lost his mind. For a swordsman, giving up your blade is a massive insult, but as the ghouls swarm them from all sides, Hyeonseok coldly asks her if her pride matters more than actual human lives. Stung by his harsh reality check, Sang-ah hesitates for a second before throwing her precious blade directly to him. Hyeonseok snatches it mid-air, spear still locked in his other hand. His gaze drops to the glowing device strapped to his wrist, annoyed he has to deploy this ace card so soon. Flashback to a few days ago, deep inside that dangerous Grade 3 rift. Buried in the rubble, he uncovered a weird mechanical gauntlet glowing purple, a device that literally drains mana like crazy. The moment he slipped it on, he knew it was special as it started aggressively absorbing raw mana right out of the air. It is normally just basic gear to top up a hunter's energy, but in his hands it is lethal. Based on its charge, he only has a tight 5-minute window of use. But inside those 5 minutes, he is powerful enough to wipe out anything. He leaps high into the air, dual-wielding spear and sword as he drops right into the undead sea. Monster limbs rain down as he shreds through them like butter. Watch Sang-ah's jaw drop as she whispers in utter shock at him, slaughtering a whole horde alone. Hyeonseok yells at her to punch the gas and head straight for the harbor without looking back. She grits her teeth, flooring the smoking truck with the survivors toward Hataku port. She thought escaping the temple was the hard part, but the nightmare is just getting started. Screaming ghouls pour out from the dark like a flood, swarming the vehicle from every single side. With the engine sputtering and thick black smoke filling the cabin, she screams that the truck is dead. Time to get out and fight, because this ride is officially over. But Hyeonseok immediately cuts her off with a sharp command to just drive. Terrified by the monsters hot on their heels, Sang-ah has no choice but to floor the gas pedal and charge straight ahead. Then something bizarre happens. The car suddenly glows with a bright blue spiritual energy. Sang-ah watches in absolute disbelief as the rampaging monsters are slammed stopped by an invisible wall, unable to take even a single step forward. Staring at the snarling undead trapped behind that mysterious barrier, Sang-ah wonders if something is protecting this zone. That is when her eyes lock onto a glowing golden magic circle radiating brightly on a nearby wall. Hyeonseok casually explains that it is a protective geometric array. Seeing her look completely lost at the strange concept, he simply tells her it is a basic warding technique used to repel monsters. When she presses him on where he learned it, Hyeonseok coldly shrugs it off. Stop asking questions. Otherworldly knowledge is way too much for you to digest. Feeling pretty smug, he notes his skills are getting sharper by the day. Curious, Sang-ah asks if this array can keep every kind of monster away. His expression turns heavy as he admits he wishes that were the case, but the brutal reality is it is completely useless against the truly powerful ones. Right on cue, that samurai armored beast from before easily tears right through the barrier. Its blood-red eyes glow with malice as it looms closer and closer. It growls in broken, murderous tones sacrifice. Must protect. Must protect. Sang-ah shivers under the sheer pressure of its killing intent, wondering if she is actually witnessing the legendary mind-eye technique in action. Hyeonseok notices the sudden chill in the air too, though he is not the least bit threatened by it. Meanwhile, Sang-ah is sweating bullets, thinking about the sixth sense required to predict an enemy attacks a level even masters struggle to reach. Seeing how nervous Sang-ah is, Hyeonseok calmly tells her there is no need to be scared. He coldly scoffs mind-eye is a total scam, so do not waste your energy believing in that trash. He tells her to watch closely because he is about to show her how to handle these things. The samurai beast roars in a frenzy, channeling every ounce of its strength into its blade for a devastating strike. Sang-ah panics as she watches him step forward completely unprotected. What is he doing? Why is he going out there alone? Is this guy trying to get himself killed? Hyeonseok casually explains that the mind eye is just combat data built up over countless battles, a sort of conditioned reflex. Since it reacts unconsciously to hostility or fear, all you need to do is unleash your own killing intent to throw them into absolute chaos. Sanga stands frozen in shock as he casually tosses around ultimate realms like Mind Eye, Mind Blade, or Oneness with Heaven. As the samurai monster swings its sword, Hyeonseok delivers a single, decisive sweep of his spear. A massive burst of brilliant blue energy erupts, instantly grinding the enemy into nothing but dust. He casually turns his back on the carnage, muttering that they really are nothing special. To Hyeonseok, all these high and mighty concepts of mind eyes and mind blades are just fancy parlor tricks used to show off. And he has earned the right to say it, having paid a heavy, bloody price to break free of that trap in the other world. Sanga just stands there, silently staring at his retreating back. She is utterly stunned by his ridiculous level of power, forcing her to question what she has actually accomplished on this journey. Honestly, Hyeonseok has completely shattered every expectation she ever had about true strength. Gripping her sword hilt, she realizes she cannot keep playing around if she wants to survive. Look at her step up right here. She looks at Hyeonseok and boldly says, "I have a favor to ask." Her eyes burn with determination as she makes her final pitch. "Please train me seriously." Hyeonseok looks at her, completely baffled. "Wait, have I been doing this for free? Or do you want a 24/7 private tutor?" But a few casual tips and demonstrations are not enough for Sanga anymore. She craves real, brutal guidance. Knowing how incredibly weak she is compared to him, she is desperate to grow stronger as fast as possible. Seeing her desperation, Hyeonseok quietly asks for her real motive. Sanga's eyes turn dark with pure hatred as she reveals she wants to personally crush the Sedai Club. That is one of the 8 deadliest corruption rifts on Earth, the monster that swallowed the entire Himalayas in the blink of an eye. Hyeonseok points out that is a massive target and asks if she is driven by revenge. Sanga confirms it is indeed vengeance for her family. She hands him a metallic card, making it clear that she is obviously not asking him to help her for free. Taking the card, Hyeonseok reads the name Case White Group aloud. Sanga reveals it is her family conglomerate, worth over 257 trillion. Despite being a wealthy heiress, she walked away from her grandfather's massive inheritance war. Hyeonseok immediately gets it. If she achieves legendary hunter status, she will just be dragged right back into that power struggle. He asks her straight up what she wants, and she does not hesitate. "Make me the absolute best," she demands. "And in return, I will supply you with top-tier elixirs that money cannot buy on the open market." Sanga assumes Hyeonseok wants power just as badly, and these will help him reach his dream realm. Hyeonseok just stays silent. He thinks to himself that Sanga would never believe he actually reached that dream realm a long, long time ago. Memories of a hero in a sea of flames flash by, reminding him the only reason he seeks strength is to restore the world to what it once was. He grabs her hand and coldly tells her to keep her fancy medicines, because he is already at the peak. He tells Sanga that preparing those things is more than enough for now. What is actually important right now is getting this vehicle and the hostages to a medical center immediately. After evaluating the 7 patients, the doctor pens down his notes. He warns them that due to severe malnutrition, it will take at least a full week before any of them are conscious enough to speak. Asking them to let the victims rest, he promises to update them the moment they wake up. But as they step outside, Hyeonseok suddenly orders Sanga to follow him so they can start training this very second, leaving her completely stunned. No days off for this master, apparently. Standing in a ruined wasteland, Hyeonseok grips his spear and asks her a single question. Before they begin, he asks if she thinks she could dodge his spear if he swung it with absolute force. Sanga breaks into a cold sweat, thinking the answer is pretty obvious given the massive gap between them. Yet Hyeonseok confidently tells her she absolutely can dodge it. He stresses that if she learns to push all her physical senses to their absolute limit, making that dodge is completely within her reach. He begins teaching her the secret arts of combat. Look with your eyes, listen with your ears, smell the air, and feel with your very skin. Hyeonseok commands her to master every single sense to fight in a state of absolute awareness. Instead of relying on raw subconscious instinct, he smirks and asks, "Let us see how fast you learn." The second those words leave his mouth, Hyeonseok completely vanishes. Honestly, look at this insane speed. He moves so fast he does not even leave a trace before his voice can fade. Sanga frantically scans the area, trying to trace him by sound, but he is already right behind her, coldly declaring she is dead wrong. The cold blade of his spear presses against her neck as he mocks her way too slow. "You basically teleported and then stood there talking trash." Hyeonseok teaches her that in real combat there is never time to stop and think. Senses must lead and action must follow. He demands she accept every sensation and move instantly, warning her that unmastered senses will only end up tricking her. He coldly declares that is enough theory, and now it is time for practice. Suddenly, a massive explosion rocks the entire area, causing the nearby guards to panic and look around for their squad mates. A police officer grumbles about why they did not call sooner, only to freeze in sheer horror as he witnesses an unbelievable sight unfold right before his eyes. Thick dust swirls around amidst the deafening clangs of clashing metal. At the center of this chaos, Sang-ah is frantically swinging her sword, while Chan-sik just blocks her attacks while yawning with pure boredom. His eyes are sharp, hyper-focused on her every single movement. Each heavy clash sends shockwaves tearing through the air, completely shattering the stone floor beneath their feet. Sang-ah grits her teeth, pouring every ounce of strength into her sword, but she is utterly overwhelmed. Staring at his lightning-fast attack, she realizes in total despair that there is no way she can dodge this. Just as the spear tip is about to strike, a shout from afar cuts the sparring match short. Officer Chank rushes over, breathing heavily to report that one of the survivors has finally woken up, urging him to come along right away. Chan-ok stops immediately, muttering casually to himself, is it already that time? Seeing Sang-ah gasping for breath from pure exhaustion, he notes she has learned to block pretty well, meaning training is over so they can go inside. Sang-ah stands frozen, utterly shocked, beaten to a pulp, and that was just the appetizer. When asked if she is okay, she can only offer a tired nod in response. Inside the hospital room, the man on the bed trembles as he recalls his nightmare. Unless I was hallucinating, he tells them a truck arrived at the place where they held me captive, and several people got out. Chan-ok and Sang-ah exchange stunned looks, wondering if those people were other hostages. But the survivor's reply is far worse than anything they could have imagined. He insists those guys were incredibly calm. Even the monsters showed zero hostility, acting as if they were actually helping them do. Monsters nowadays have to hit monthly quotas or something. They picked out a few hostages and drove them off to some mysterious location. Chan-ok silently realizes why there were only 7 prisoners left at the shrine, while the man believes an escapee is the only reason they were saved. Sang-ah's jaw drops, no escape. The villains let that survivor go on purpose. Chan-ok confirms it, an ordinary civilian could never escape a stronghold that 2 veteran hunters struggled to break into. Unless the mastermind allowed it, he concludes, that person would have to be some kind of instant genius hunter. Sang-ah grits her teeth in absolute fury as she realizes this entire mission is a sick, cruel trap. How could anyone use human lives for such a disgusting, twisted game? Chan-ok radiates a bone-chilling aura, his eyes burning with quiet rage at their sheer shamelessness. Sang-ah wonders if he's furious about being played, or simply disgusted by their treatment of the hostages. Chan-ok turns to the survivor, asking if there's anything else he can remember. The man whispers a cat. The man remembers a cat-shaped mascot on the belt of the leader who stepped down. Looking it up, Chan-ok tracks the logo to Tsushima Airport. Sang-ah immediately roasts his awful tech skills, asking if he literally lives in a cave. Who doesn't use their phone for basic searches these days? Soon they stand in the middle of the deserted airport, completely quiet, with not a single soul in sight. Sang-ah is about to suggest turning back, but Chan-ok senses something. Look up, there he is. Perched high on the airport ruins, a green-haired freak covered in piercings is looking down with absolute mockery-filled arrogance. Chan-ok sneers, thinking the guy looks like he was stitched together by a sewing machine, yet he can feel a heavy, suffocating pressure radiating off this freak. Talk about a horror movie fashion disaster. The stranger crosses his arms, flashing a sinister, crooked grin as he throws out a highly provocative greeting. Hey kids, call me Kim Ji-on, I think I'll capture you alive as pets. Mocking their shocked expressions, he casually grabs an unconscious hostage by the hair, declaring it might be better to show them the alternative first. Without hesitation, he hurls the poor man into the pitch-black abyss. Sang-ah watches in absolute horror. Is he really throwing a human into an active rift? Do that, and they are trapped until the core breaks. Suddenly, a decaying hand claws from the dark, with 2 blood-red eyes glowing inside. She is paralyzed by the terrifying truth. Can a human actually mutate into an erosion creature? The hostage from earlier has already transformed into a grotesque zombie with a mangled, decaying body. Kim Ji-on stares at his creation, sighing in disappointment. Too weak. Trash materials like this will never make a top-tier specimen. He then delivers a brutal kick, shattering the creature like a broken toy. Chan-ok and Sang-ah freeze. You have to wonder, are these psychopaths planning to do the same to them, and how can anyone be this sanely cruel? Ji-on smirks, explaining that basic humans just don't make satisfying erosion monsters anymore. Chan-ok grits his teeth as the sick truth hits him. They don't want ransom. They're using the hostages as lab rats. Behind him, a horde of grotesque zombies rises, all innocent civilians who were mutated. Ji-on casually mentions that by his elder's orders, he'll gladly explain the great mission of the descendants of Dangun. He claims their entire squad is moving solely for this single goal. They want to secure South Korea's dominant global position so nobody will ever dare to threaten them. With a manic grin, he vows to elevate this country into an unstoppable global superpower. Stomping his foot with insane power, he triggers a massive shockwave that flings nearby cars into the air like toys, smashing one right into the terminal and triggering a massive, fiery explosion. Standing in the smoke, Chan-ok sighs, man, what a headache. Another delusional idiot suffering from a massive god complex. Gripping his spear amidst the wreckage, he throws back a mocking question. Did I hear that right? He asks. I thought this country was already a superpower. Kim Ji-on roars fanatically that this is nowhere near enough. He wants to elevate this proud nation so high that no outsider will ever look down on them again. Unleashing rapid-fire kicks, He screams about their painful history, the dark eras of bowing down to foreign rulers, paying forced tributes, and ultimately having their sovereignty stolen. Leave it to the villain to lecture us on history mid-combat. Turns out, these guys are holding on to some massive, deep-seated grudges against their neighboring countries. Hyeonseok analyzes his opponent even without a weapon. This taekwondo black belt is moving at a speed that's way faster than he expected. Eyes burning with pure hatred, Jian vows to repay every single bit of historical humiliation. Hyeonseok notes that while the guy is insanely fast, his raw power is still manageable. If the rifts disappear, their grip on power crumbles. So Hyeonseok asks coldly, "You never had any intention of saving this world?" Jian casually admits it, then drops a massive bombshell: his group has found a way to control the erosion rifts. The claim forces Hyeonseok to pause. If that is actually true, humanity is saved. Hyeonseok presses for details on this control, but when Jian admits they've only had minor success, he exposes the truth. So you guys haven't actually mastered it at all. Staring him down, Hyeonseok mocks the guy. Scammers are always all talk with zero actual proof to back it up. He declares that thugs playing hero could never pull off something so complex. Furious, Jian roars to shut up, unleashing a devastating kick that shatters the concrete. Hyeonseok barely blocks it, realizing he pushed his buttons too hard. Checking his gauntlet, he admits he was only trying to stall to recover his mana, but the enemy is not giving him another second to breathe. With low mana, Hyeonseok cannot activate his Paradox Flame, forcing him into a desperate defense. Just as Jian lunges for the kill, Sangha unleashes a massive slash that shakes the entire airport. Jian clicks his tongue, annoyed. He thought she was frozen in fear, but she was actually charging up a lightning-fast counterattack. He looks at Sangha with a mocking grin. "Pretty face, but you fight hard," he jeers. "Be my wife instead." Ignoring him, Sangha erupts in blue electricity, ready to fight to the death. Hyeonseok quickly yells for her to step back. "Sangha, you can't handle this guy, get behind me." But she stands her ground, noting she saw the gauge on his glove running completely empty. "You need more time, right?" Hyeonseok freezes, stunned by her sharp eyes. Sangha pulls out a glowing blue elixir. "How much time do you need?" Hyeonseok thoughtfully replies that they only have about 5 minutes. Instantly, Sangha downs the premium elixir and decisively tosses the empty bottle away. Her entire body erupts with incredible spiritual energy as blue electricity wraps around her. "Leave it to me," she declares. Witnessing her recklessness, Hyeonseok screams in panic. "Just how much of that elixir did you refine?" "You are going to overload." Sangha coldly replies that this is an extreme emergency, leaving them with only one shot. Reading his partner's determination, Hyeonseok grips his spear with a sharp gaze. "All right, you have got exactly 5 minutes. Don't let him ruin my airport." Sangha silently prays, begging him not to lose. Meanwhile, under the dark sky of Tsushima Island, Kim Ji-yeon wears a sinister grin, casually dodging lightning-fast attacks while throwing out arrogant taunts. "Calm down, beautiful. You might accidentally kill him," he sneers. Ignoring the threat, Sangha charges forward. Lightning slashes explode, lighting up the entire night sky. Her blade strikes straight down, zero time to defend. Sangha pants heavily, her eyes locked onto the thick cloud of dust. Did he survive that? Out of the smoke, Kim Ji-yeon strides, a smear of blood on his lip. But he is still grinning. He mocks her strike as nothing special. Sangha freezes in terror. Kim Ji-yeon unleashes a devastating blow. Sangha is sent flying, coughing up blood. Her life hangs by a thread, but right before she hits the ground, a hand catches her. And right on cue, Hyeonseok steps back into the spotlight with a freezing cold glare. Staring directly at the enemy, he mockingly asks if he is ready to die, while his own mana begins surging at an absolutely insane rate. He cannot believe how anyone could gather this much energy in mere seconds, leaving him wondering if Hyeonseok has been hiding his true monstrous power all along. Shielding his teammate, Hyeonseok casually asks why he is so shocked, comparing the mana flow to the logic behind the metal piercings on his face. Jian stands frozen in absolute terror. Stunned, Jian wonders how his secret could have been exposed. Hyeonseok coldly responds that only a complete idiot wouldn't notice. The surrounding air is overflowing with pure leaking mana because Jian is recklessly forcing power way beyond his control. By absorbing that massive overflow of leaking mana, Hyeonseok fully restores his Paradox Flame. As his opponent panics, frantically yelling that there is no possible way to absorb wasted mana, Hyeonseok ruthlessly cuts him off. "You don't need to know," he declares, "because today is your funeral." Instantly, he unleashes his absolute ultimate skill, Blue Orbit. A rapid-fire chain of 16 devastating blows explodes forward with impossible speed. Kim Ji-yeon's body is completely wrecked, leaving him desperately gasping out that he cannot even breathe. Hyeonseok coldly stares down at his defeated foe, who is desperately clinging to his last drop of mana just to protect his remaining pride. He casually points out that Jian is still desperately clinging to his pride, even though the Paradox Flame has entirely burned away his muscle mass. In his final, agonizing moments, Jian can only beg for help. "Help me, Captain," he gasps. Instantly, a blinding beam of light shoots down with terrifying speed, but Hyeonseok barely manages to dodge it in the nick of time. Standing firm amidst the smoking rubble, his sharp eyes peer upward, wondering who else is trying to play the villain here. Suddenly, a gloved hand tightly gripping a traditional bow emerges from the darkness. Staring up at the cloaked figure towering on the roof, Chan-sik wonders if this is the captain Jian begged for. The raw power radiating from this mysterious figure is so intense that Chan-sik must admit he lives up to the title. He quickly estimates this newcomer must be at least twice as strong as Lee Se-yoon. No, his actual skill is easily 3 or 4 times greater. The mysterious figure speaks, his deep voice dripping with bloodlust. "You are pretty brave, aren't you afraid of death?" the stranger asks. Staring back up at the shadow atop the building, Chan-suk casually replies, "If you wanted me dead, you would have pulled the trigger long ago." Realizing the opponent has no intention of attacking right away, he smirks, letting the purple paradox flame flare across his face, and asks mockingly, "Are you actually interested in this loser?" The violet flame blazes hotter, forcing Kim Ji-yeon to scream in absolute agony, begging for help. From his high perch, the cloaked leader coldly commands him to extinguish the fire on Kim Ji-yeon first. "I won't say it twice," he warns. Observing quietly, Chan-suk realizes Ji-yeon's own mana is completely dried up, and the cloaked leader is actively using his own energy to keep his subordinate alive. He shudders, realizing that if that earlier arrow had targeted his head instead of his wrist, he might not be standing here. The man deliberately held back. As soon as the flames die out, Kim Ji-yeon can only groan in agonizing pain. With terrifying speed, the cloaked master closes the distance instantly, catching his fallen soldier and praising him. Chan-suk is stunned by that instantaneous movement speed. He demands to know if the leader realizes what he has done to his own subordinate. With his muscles completely incinerated, Kim Ji-yeon will be confined to a wheelchair, relying entirely on mana to survive. The cloaked leader calls Chan-suk by name, stating that capturing him alive is their priority. His glowing red eyes flash with pressurized blue lightning. "As long as you are still breathing, it is enough." Undeterred, Chan-sik boldly challenges him to bring it on, declaring he would rather die of a sudden heart attack than ever become their puppet. Surprisingly, the cloaked boss pauses, deciding to retreat since he still doesn't understand the principles of that dark purple flame. Before departing, he boasts that when the rifts first appeared, nobody believed they could be controlled, and yet he has successfully done it. The mysterious leader leaves behind a chilling threat, warning Chan-suk that one day he will inevitably end up kneeling at his feet as a matter of course. With that, his dark silhouette vanishes completely in a sudden gust of wind, leaving Chan-suk standing alone amidst the ruined airport rubble. Chan-sik grits his teeth, realizing he has just crossed paths with someone who has an incredibly terrible personality. Enduring her pain, Hyeonseok limps over and asks if their actual target is his unique, game-changing ability. Hyeonseok confirms this, though he admits he doesn't know their ultimate goal yet. Sang-ah reasons that if his power was indeed their only objective, they easily could have taken her hostage while she lay unconscious. This suggests they might already know everything about his past. Chan-suk brushes it off, arguing that simple terrorists wouldn't care about such details, and urges her to think deeper about what they are truly after. This is where the plot really thickens. Sang-ah suddenly realizes a terrifying possibility. Could the Korean government itself be involved? Chan-suk coldly adds that they might even be receiving direct assistance from high-ranking officials. This realization leaves Sang-ah highly anxious, realizing that if they can truly control the corrosion rifts as claimed, destroying the rift right now might actually be a massive mistake. Chan-suk casually advises her to just play dumb, though she admits she is a terrible liar. Pushing the messy political headache aside for now, he decides to focus purely on the immediate problem at hand. He firmly tells Sang-ah to stay behind while he ventures inside completely alone. Although she is deeply worried about what terrifying horrors might be waiting behind those heavy gates, Chan-suk remains absolutely resolute, telling her to sit tight and recover her strength. With that, he dashes off, leaving Sang-ah alone amidst the ruins. Chan-suk lands safely in front of a massive ancient temple that radiates an incredibly eerie blue spiritual energy. This is the absolute epicenter of the Grade 2 corrosion rift on Tsushima Island, harboring terrifying dangers far beyond normal human imagination. Standing before the massive structure shrouded in darkness, he quietly observes the eerie surroundings. So this is what a Grade 2 corrosion rift looks like. For a massive castle built by a bunch of squishy undead, this fortress is actually frighteningly solid. Honestly, are zombies working as professional architects these days? He can clearly feel the icy negative energy piercing his lungs with every single breath, causing him to swallow hard. Even without being told, he knows that the core of the corrosion rift lies right behind those doors. While he absolutely hates having negative thoughts right before a major battle, he knows that a single second of distraction could easily cost him his life. The heavy ancient doors slowly creak open, revealing a pitch-black abyss. Stepping inside, Chan-suk freezes in shock as he spots a strange object radiating a faint hazy green mist. Is that a massive cauldron? He seriously doubts this is the core of a level 2 erosion rift because everything going on is completely different from what he imagined. But before he can think, a hand reaches out from the pitch black and grabs his leg, giving Chan-suk a massive fright. Down on the floor, a severely injured man is desperately trying to crawl to safety. "Save me," he gasps out. But before our main character can even react, a bizarre creature suddenly drags the poor victim back into the dark. The man screams in agony. His cries are cut short as he gets tossed straight into a boiling cauldron. Horror. Chan-suk stands completely frozen as a monstrous hand suddenly grips the edge of the cauldron. Out of that bubbling, boiling liquid, a hideous creature with a half-rotted face slowly crawls right into view. And get this, Chan-suk realizes a truly horrifying truth. This cauldron is actually used to manufacture zombies by using living, breathing humans as the raw materials. How could anyone be so incredibly cruel? He wonders in absolute shock. Nausea hits him hard, forcing him to cover his mouth. He feels pure disgust for the scum who created this living hell. Suddenly, a deep, raspy voice echoes nearby. Looks like another piece of cargo has walked right into the trap. Chan-suk shivers as a freezing wave of killing intent creeps up right behind him. Heavy footsteps echo through the room, and then he sees them, a pair of feet burning with a spooky, supernatural blue flame. The mysterious figure notes that this sacrifice is pretty special, completely different from the usual weaklings. He mutters about a wild power that somehow feels strangely familiar. Out of the darkness emerges a warrior with long hair draping over his face, his entire body wrapped in a glowing aura of blue spiritual energy. Grasping his katana, the warrior glares at Chan-suk with hollow, lifeless eyes and makes a grim promise. This is the aura of a true fighter. Draw your weapon, because I am going to temper my blade with your blood. The enemy slowly unsheathes his katana. Chan-suk grits his teeth, genuinely questioning if this is a level 2 rift because the sheer pressure radiating from this guy is enough to make his hair stand on end. Captured while still alive? He is shocked to realize the hooded man might actually be controlling a terrifying monster like this. Chan-suk realizes that even the hooded man wasn't on this level, meaning there's a much stronger mastermind pulling the strings. A single mistake against this opponent will definitely lead to his death. The creature closes in with unbelievable speed, leaving Chan-suk completely shocked by its agility, but he quickly regains his composure. He knows that the way to deal with a powerful opponent is actually very simple. Before they can figure out his weakness, he has to end this fight with a single blow. Gripping his spear tightly, he channels all his strength to prepare for one decisive, finishing strike. A thunderous clash erupts as spear meets katana, sending blinding sparks flying and shaking the entire temple floor. The monster is left completely stunned to see that its absolute full-power strike has been fully and utterly blocked. But what shocks him even more than being blocked is the overwhelming power surging from the other side. Chan-suk is horrified to realize he couldn't even see the enemy's defensive movement. The samurai coldly points out that a truly fast strike shouldn't be seen in the first place. Before Chan-suk can even react, a blade slashes deep into his shoulder. Chan-suk grits his teeth in agony, unable to believe someone could move that fast. The monster mockingly praises him. Lucky guess, you are pretty good at dodging. Well then, try blocking this one. Another thunderous strike rains down, leaving Chan-suk heavily wounded. He never expected he would have to rely on his paradox flame this early in the fight. But there's a massive catch. Since his opponent isn't a living being, the paradox flame is completely useless for a direct attack. Standing in the middle of this suffocating pressure, Chan-suk grits his teeth, frantically trying to figure out his next move. The monster is quite amused by the constant surprises the kid is throwing at him. He wonders aloud, what should I do to break this tough nut even faster? In a flash, another slash cuts deep, leaving Chan-suk severely wounded. Chan-suk realizes with horror that his muscles have been completely shredded by the enemy's brutal slashes. For a brief second, he almost blackouts as the pain shoots way past his limit. Even so, he forces himself up, gripping his spear with eyes full of sheer rage. Fortunately, the samurai missed the muscles above his shoulders, so Chan-suk immediately triggers the paradox flame to rapidly heal his broken body. He slips behind the enemy, a quick, decisive strike, but his spark of hope is instantly crushed by a cold, freezing voice. I told you not to show off when you move in slow motion, the voice mocks. Another sharp slash cuts into his flesh, sending hot blood dripping onto the floor. Chan-suk collapses, gasping heavily for air. With the deadly blade resting right against his neck, he can only stare in sheer terror. The monster casually sheathes his sword, noting that the kid was pretty lucky his last strike missed. Chan-suk coldly calls him out, pointing out that the samurai has been holding back on purpose this entire time just to keep him alive. Angrily, he demands to know if this is just some cruel pity game, or if there is a darker scheme behind it. The samurai sighs, admitting a bitter truth indeed. I could have killed you, if only I were my old self. Now here is a massive plot twist none of us saw coming. The samurai admits he cannot even remember his own name anymore, and that most of his memories from when he was alive have completely vanished. The massive gaps in his sword technique caused by amnesia became his fatal weakness, leading to his defeat by an unknown foe who locked him up in these humiliating chains. Watching his opponent, Chan-suk realizes that while the body is still intact, the muscle memory and memories are totally wiped out. His situation is the exact opposite of Chan-suk's. And that chain? It must be the control mechanism they mentioned. Pain and resentment wash over the samurai's face. I have forgotten my name and even the reason I hold a sword, he mutters. So, grabbing the heavy chain around his neck with a trembling, furious voice. All that remains is an ocean of grief and hatred. Suddenly, the pressure of the spiritual energy spikes, causing Chan-suk to break into a cold sweat. He grits his teeth in sheer stress. Damn it, what should I do now? The samurai, with black tears streaming from his eyes, steps forward as his blade radiates suffocating, killing intent. He asks bitterly, "Don't I look just like a monster to you now?" Staring at the bizarre, eye-covered outfit of his enemy, Hyeonseok can clearly feel that the samurai's resentment has grown incredibly heavy and thick by this point. But since the guy's memories are faded, he's lost a huge portion of his technical combat experience. This is Hyeonseok's only opening to turn the tables. He steels his resolve: if this monster can't kill me in one shot, I still have a chance. To defeat a high-level opponent like this, Hyeonseok knows he can't hold back even a tiny bit. He roars in his mind, "I have to pour absolutely everything into this next strike." A pitch-black flame suddenly erupts, completely wrapping around Hyeonseok's body. Instantly, every single one of his wounds vanishes and his energy is fully restored in a split second. The samurai watches this strange aura in disbelief, noting you possess a bizarre ability. That black flame looks like it is burning something else entirely. Hyeonseok smirks, "Sharp eyes you got there." This flame burns concepts themselves. It might look like it has limitless destructive power, but actually, the larger the concept is, the more mana and mastery it drains out of me. He recalls fighting Kim Ji-on, where he had to be extremely careful not to accidentally burn away his own muscular strength due to the severe backlash. If he were still at his peak back in the other world, he would never have to worry about such strict control. Talk about a massive downgrade. Back in the other world, he was as powerful as a legendary greatsword. Now, he's barely a tiny fruit knife. But this is no time to be picky or play it safe. Hyeonseok coldly declares, "From this moment on, I am going to burn away the durability of this entire place." The samurai asks blankly, "What on earth is durability? Your language is so bizarre." Hyeonseok casually waves his hand in response, "I have explained enough already, so I will skip the details this time around." A sudden terrifying shockwave blasts the samurai backward, sending him flying as he groans in absolute agony. Chance camply adjusts his gloves, a smug grin plastered across his face. You can try to figure it out right after you are finished taking this brutal beating. He calculates that, because he already knows his opponent's limits, the current plan is moving forward perfectly. The samurai stands there as blue spiritual energy flares in his eyes before he suddenly lets out a deafening roar. "Let's fight somewhere else because it's too cramped." Instantly, an earth-shattering explosion completely destroys the temple. Both of them clash at terrifying speed, creating brilliant streaks of light across the sky. The samurai swings his sword with terrifying speed. Hyeonseok grits his teeth, using all his strength to block the heavy katana slashing down. Bright sparks fly in every direction as their weapons collide in a brutal clash. Hyeonseok looks completely stunned by the overwhelming heavy pressure of his opponent. The enemy fires off a non-stop barrage of lightning-fast slashes, forcing him to flip and dodge narrowly through falling debris. A cold voice rings out, "Got slashed." The surrounding space literally splits apart under a wave of powerful blue spiritual energy, leaving shattered remnants floating in the air. Using the falling rubble as a foothold, Hyeonseok channels all his power into the tip of his spear, diving straight down like a brilliant arrow of light. He roars, unleashing a devastating, piercing thrust that shakes the entire sky. Down below, the samurai looks up with a cautious glare as the massive wave of energy comes crashing down on him. The dive strikes with earth-shattering force, sending out violent shockwaves that completely shatter the ground beneath their feet. The samurai stumbles back in absolute shock, muttering to himself, "What is this? I have never faced anything like this, even on the bloodiest battlefields of my past." Looking at the absurd level of power surrounding his opponent, he trembles as he asks, "Are you even human, or are you some kind of monster?" His eyes open wide with pure terror as he realizes he has completely lost control of this fight. Diving from high above, Hyeonseok delivers his final, decisive strike with a glowing cross flashing on his spear. A barrage of sharp energy cuts slash across the space in the blink of an eye. The samurai is completely swallowed up by the blinding blue light madly tearing through the arena. He roars in pure agonizing pain as his entire body gets ripped apart by thousands of sharp icy energy cuts. Desperate agonizing screams echo through the air as Hyeonseok's raw power completely crushes his last bit of resistance. Looking down from above, Hyeonseok coldly watches his opponent desperately struggle inside a dense storm of energy blades that are slowly swallowing him whole. He suddenly lunges forward with terrifying speed, clashing head-on with the enemy's katana in a brilliant explosion of sparks. And here's where it gets crazy: they are locked in a speed clash that normal eyes cannot even track. A thrilled, wild grin spreads across both of their faces, signaling that this battle is finally reaching its end. Suddenly, a memory flashes back to the other world. Hero Hyeonseok looks at his comrade and thoughtfully asks, "What would you do if you faced an enemy you absolutely cannot defeat?" Seeing his comrade look totally confused, he just chuckles softly and asks, "I'm just curious. How would you handle a life-or-death duel against a warrior whose raw power is equal to your own? I know you probably don't care, but what if a rival with equal strength actually shows up?" If someone like that appears, he stares into the empty space and answers firmly, "It is simple. One of us lives, and the other gets deleted." Back in reality, Hyeonseok is kneeling amidst the shattered ruins, catching his breath with heavy, exhausted gasps. Yet that arrogant, smug smile slowly creeps right back onto his face. He looks straight at his enemy and coldly declares, "One thing is for sure, just as I predicted, I am the strongest one here." After the monster fully dissolves into nothingness, a strange object begins to take shape from the swirling blue mana. Hyeonseok slowly walks over and chuckles. This reward is exactly what a loot addict like me dreams of. A brilliant blue treasure chest materializes amidst the wreckage, letting him finally breathe a quiet sigh of relief. Luckily, the way it appeared is exactly like it was in the other world. A soft click echoes through the ruins as he opens the chest to claim his spoils from this life-and-death battle. Looking at the item inside, he stares in surprise. A spear. Lifting the weapon, Hyeonseok feels confused because it's way too short to be a spear. But feeling the energy vibrating inside the handle, he thinks, "Don't tell me." The moment he channels his mana into it, the weapon suddenly shoots out, extending just like Sun Wukong's magic staff. Hyeonseok smiles with satisfaction. Its length can be adjusted with mana. This is going to be incredibly useful. As he walks away, he ponders the rules of the erosion zone. Rumor has it that the drops are scaled based on how many people actually enter the rift. He instantly regrets missing a perfect chance to maximize his gains. He really should have brought Song-ah in here with him and kept her somewhere completely safe, just to trigger a much better reward tier. Suddenly remembering his teammate's situation, his expression darkens as he wonders if Sang-ah's sword is even still intact after those intense clashes. When he arrives back at their meeting point, he finds Sang-ah deeply asleep, completely drained and exhausted from her own brutal fights. He tosses a sword down right next to her. She jolts awake, startled, and softly mutters Hyeonseok. Her jaw drops as she looks at the sleek, glossy black katana now resting in her hands. "What a gorgeous sword. Is this real, or some cheap knockoff? I found it on the way back. It's a solid blade, so keep it." Sang-ah gently admires the incredibly sharp edge and gasps, "This sword is amazing, and it is in practically perfect condition. Thank you so much." She cannot help but wonder how on earth he managed to stumble across a weapon like this out here. Then she notices Hyeonseok's battered, sweat-drenched appearance. "Don't tell me you just cleared an entire erosion rift by yourself. You okay?" Hyeonseok just dismisses her concerns, teasing that she has rested plenty while he was out doing all the heavy lifting. He weakly mumbles, "I need to rest a bit," and instantly collapses flat on the floor. Watching him drop, Sang-ah can only stare in disbelief. Wow, so even a total superhuman gets exhausted. There is normally an absolute insurmountable wall dividing Tier 3 and Tier 2 rifts. That is why, when news breaks that Hyeonseok cleared a Tier 2 rift entirely on his own, everyone realizes his achievement is on a whole different level. Get this all over the streets. People are whispering in absolute shock. "Did you hear the news? A rookie hunter cleared a Tier 2 erosion rift completely on his own." Nobody can believe it, because even elite hunter teams admit that pulling off a solo clear is absolutely impossible. Hyeonseok's face is plastered all over the giant screens in the city center, leaving every single passerby wondering who this mysterious new hunter actually is. At the same time, his phone is buzzing nonstop with a massive flood of notifications, making it impossible to find any important messages. Looking at the massive crowd gathered outside his hospital window, he sighs deeply. Being famous is exhausting. "I cannot even get fresh air." Right then, a knock sounds and a woman with braided purple hair walks inside. "Hello, Hyeonseok. I am Soo-jung from the secretary office of Bago Tower." Hyeonseok politely invites her inside, offering a quick word of thanks for covering his massive hospital bill. Even though he frankly admits he has never heard of their organization, Soo-jung explains that Bago Tower is not well known to the general public, since they primarily focus on high-tech information and communication systems. Soo-jung gently advises him to speak up if he feels any discomfort during his recovery, but Hyeonseok bluntly cuts to the chase, telling her he is fine but has one big question. This VIP hospital room and medical treatment certainly do not look cheap. "You must want something from me in return, right?" He demands that she skip the pleasantries and get straight to the point instead of wasting precious time. Unfazed by his serious glare, Soo-jung just offers him a gift box with a warm smile, asking if he happens to like cake. She then reveals a device called a protective shield generator, a tool designed to deploy massive defensive barriers against aggressive erosion monsters. Sounds like some pretty sweet technology, right? Meanwhile, Hyeonseok is already happily stuffing his face with a delicious slice of strawberry cake. Soo-jung explains that his real mission is to transport a special mana-powered shield generator. It is a highly advanced prototype brought in from America, with the hope that mass-producing it will save vulnerable regions where regular hunters cannot easily reach. Realizing the massive weight of a mission that could literally reshape the fate of humanity, Hyeonseok looks thoughtful and asks, "So this is a pretty massive request, is it not?" Hyeoswang confirms this and mentions they are recruiting other hunters. When Hyeonseok hears even the Janabi Guild agreed to help, he is completely shocked. Even Janabi? It seems this situation is much bigger than he originally thought. The route goes from Vladivostok to the Netherlands by train, then by helicopter to Dover in the United Kingdom for a trial run. When asked why they chose such a distant location, Hyeoswang explains that the restaurant organization in Italy is expanding its reach across Europe and North Africa, leaving the United Kingdom as the only safe haven because it is surrounded by sea. Europe is in total anarchy right now with paralyzed governments and hunter corporations acting like warlords. Since the train also carries these crucial relief supplies, Chan-sik quickly realizes just how dangerous this trip is going to be. I get it, he says this train is just a juicy target for those guys. Jia-swang admits that brutal truth and asks if he has ever been abroad. Chan-suk admits this will be his very first time in Europe. Jia-swang smiles and confirms she will join him to personally monitor and analyze data for the Embargo Tower. Seeing her act like his participation is already a done deal, Chan-sik clicks his tongue but still sets one condition. I want Hunter Han Sang-ah to come with us, he says, calling her a reliable friend he promised to bring along. Jia-swang happily agrees, noting that if it is someone he trusts, she is more than willing to invite her along. Thinking this is not a bad deal at all, Chan-suk smiles and extends his hand, declaring they should rock this mission together. Later on, watching a helicopter touch down, he cannot help but express his surprise, saying he never expected them to mobilize a whole chopper just for a civilian assignment. Looks like clearing a rank 2 Rift solo is a completely different ballgame compared to a rank 3, right? That is the power of being an A rank star. Chairman Mun calmly confirms that of course it is different. That was the moment his expectations turned into absolute certainty, and he promises the association will do everything to make sure Chan-suk has a smooth ride. Well, that is great to hear. Proving his actual worth certainly makes things a whole lot easier, but a lingering question still bothers him. Does this chairman actually know about those mysterious guys? How would he even react to that? Does he want this nightmare to end, or does he secretly want to keep it going? Distracted, he slides the door open and wait. Look who is waiting for him. Sia is sitting right there waiting for him, offering a soft smile. Long time no see, she says, teasing that rumors about him have already spread all the way to world. He can only give a dry laugh. Well, it seems there is pretty much no one left who does not know me now, he chuckles. But where are we headed? A military base. Surprised he asks why, only to learn the Korean military is also joining this request. He quietly deduces that once the protective shield generator succeeds, national defense will not rely as heavily on hunters, and the military is definitely not going to be happy about that. Suddenly remembering something, he asks Sia if she knows of an organization called the Descendants of Daegun. She confirms she knows all about that extremist terrorist group, visibly surprised that he is bringing them up. Sia reveals that the Descendants of Daegun are popping up everywhere, specializing in crashing the party and interfering whenever hunters are busy clearing out rifts. While he kind of gets their logic, he just nods quietly. Out of nowhere, Sia tosses a small object at him. He stares blankly at the package in his hand. Pumpkin candy? What? Is she trying to treat him like a princess? Instead of answering, she asks if he has ever been out of the country. He wonders why both Jia-swang and now Sia keep asking about his foreign experience, considering this really is his first time traveling so far. Sia looks at him with a knowing gaze. Right, she says, then I guess you can look at it that way, but this mission is definitely going to open your eyes to a lot of things. The helicopter glides through the brilliant sunset, leaving the city behind as new challenges loom. The strategic meeting at the military base officially begins, with Major General An declaring in a booming voice. All right, let us begin the meeting, he says. Please look over the provided documents. With that, he starts briefing everyone on this massive transportation campaign. The massive train they must protect has 80 cars in total, with 65 designated for cargo and other uses. The remaining 15 cars are reserved entirely for the participating hunters and to provide resting quarters for the Korean military. Looking at the schematic, Chan-suk is amazed to see Sia has her own private train car. Wow, talk about the premium treatment you get for being a top 10 hunter in the world. Major General An goes on to explain that Embargo Tower has assigned the shield generator protection to a small group of hunters, including the Janabi Guild. However, considering the long journey and inevitable exhaustion, he suggests letting other personnel, including the Korean military, share the defensive burden. Instantly, Sia coldly cuts him off, snapping back with a sharp, "No thanks. Do it yourself." Before the stunned general can even speak, she argues that Janabi taking charge of the shield generator means a ton of rival factions are actively targeting it, and he cannot ignore that massive threat. Sia firmly declares that absolutely no one except Janabi is allowed near it. Her uncompromising stance instantly spikes the tension in the room. The military officers can only exchange uneasy, anxious looks with each other. Major General An clears his throat to break the silence, suggesting they move on. Sia smirks, telling him to go right ahead. Returning to the route map from Vladivostok through the Netherlands to Dover in the UK, the general warns them about the dangers ahead. The train has to pass through multiple erosion zones, with 7 specific locations where rifts are close enough to pose a massive life-threatening danger. On top of that, bandits roaming the Siberian wilderness are another massive headache. Hearing this, Chan-suk inwardly mocks the situation, thinking that fighting off train robbers feels like starring in a Wild West movie in the 21st century. Major General An notes that although they sent official letters to the 8 warlords established in Europe, only 3 replied cordially. Everyone in the room instantly realizes this means the remaining 5 are guaranteed to be enemies. An officer nervously pipes up, asking just how many foes they will have to face during this 2-week-long mission. We are talking erosion creatures, bandits, and local warlords. Is a crazy run like this even possible? The entire room is completely panicking now, convinced they are all doomed. But look at Sia, she just flashes a smirk, completely unfazed. Just chill out, rookies with me here, we can handle anything. The day of the operation finally arrives at Vladivostok Station, Russia. Amidst swirling white snow, the colossal train stands heavily guarded by elite security forces. The loudspeakers blare, urging second-class passengers to hurry and board before departure. Hyeonseok strolls along, silently complaining that this massive train stretches over 1 kilometer long, making his long walk to the first-class cabin quite a painful workout. Getting a free workout right on the train. How convenient. Suddenly, a very familiar voice echoes behind him, telling him not to forget his old promise. Han Sang-ah had arrived early, looking incredibly sharp in her tactical combat gear. She promises to hand over all the Elysia she owes him the second they wrap up this mission. Finding Sang-ah wondering where he was hiding, Hyeonseok casually replies that he was relaxing in his luxurious first-class suite, so it makes total sense that she missed him. Glancing over at Sia relaxing inside her own VIP cabin, Sang-ah can only sigh at the massive gap between a normal hunter and a global superstar. Right then, Jia Swang appears to welcome him, smiling as she asks if he has checked out this heavy armored train yet. Hyeonseok acknowledges the mind-blowing investment made by the tower, but also worries that being this flashy will only turn the train into an easy target for enemies. Swang reassures him that the hull is made of depleted uranium, a highly durable material used in armored military vehicles, making it perfectly safe. Hyeonseok nods, thinking that with Sia on board it is hard to imagine this failing. Yet absolute disaster strikes far sooner than anyone could have ever predicted. Less than 10 minutes after their departure, a massive swarm of winged, glowing red-eyed erosion monsters launches a furious, savage assault on the train. Over the radio, desperate screams call for urgent backup at Car 57, reporting that their soldiers are heavily injured and completely defenseless. Without a single moment of hesitation, Hyeonseok charges straight outside with his sword blazing with a vibrant blue spiritual energy. He gritted his teeth in sheer rage upon realizing the monsters had ambushed them instantly, unleashing a devastating sweep of his blade that completely tears apart the bloodthirsty horde surrounding him. But the monsters keep pouring in like a relentless flood, forcing him to sigh in deep exhaustion, because their numbers never seem to go down. He cannot help but think that if Siwoo were here with him, this fight would be so much easier. Right now, the Trans-Siberian Railway is heavily damaged, which means operating the train and repairing the tracks have to be done at the exact same time. Since the ordinary construction workers are completely defenseless against those corrosive creatures, a hunter must stay by their side to shield them, and quite ironically, Siwoo is the one who has been assigned this heavy responsibility. Keeping their strongest warrior pinned down in one spot instead of letting her loose makes Hyeonseok absolutely furious. If I were the commander, I would literally blow their heads off. Who on earth came up with this garbage plan? Well, probably the author of this series, my friend. Sending another beast to its grave with a swift slash, Hyeonseok clicks his tongue in annoyance, muttering that this day is dragging on forever. Meanwhile, over in Khabarovsk, Russia, a completely different scene of utter terror is unfolding against the pure white snow. A massive monster shaped like a giant shark is being dragged along, leaving a horrific trail of blood and destruction on the ground. The one keeping it pinned down is a giant bald hunter wearing a set of incredibly powerful heavy armor. The massive hunter narrows his eyes, peering into the distance and whispering, "What on earth is that?" Through the blinding snowstorm, a man wearing a traditional hanbok is calmly standing next to a tiny campfire. Recognizing the visitor, the bald hunter scowls in pure annoyance. Why does it have to be him again? After ripping the shark monster apart with his mechanical arm, the giant hunter looks at the man and grumbles about him showing up without saying a single word. What an absolute pain he is. But the man named Lee-hoon only flashes a calm smile and softly speaks up in return. "Hello, my good brother. Have you been eating well lately?" Lee-hoon chuckles, mentioning he only came to deliver some work, but accidentally caught quite an entertaining show the moment he arrived. He addresses the giant hunter as Nikolai Baranov, the ruler of Khabarovsk. Nikolai grumbles that he just caught a giant shark for dinner, but the damn thing woke up right after getting knocked out. Seeing his dirty state, Lee-hoon casually tells him to clean off that blood first. Nikolai sarcastically asks if Koreans eat this kind of trash too, while muttering about how people from Korea have absolutely zero manners. Cutting straight to the point, Nikolai asks about the job, making it clear he is not hurting for cash. Lee-hoon nonchalantly replies that he knows, promising that this particular task will be an incredibly fun challenge. He reveals that a train from Vladivostok will pass through here in a day or two. Nikolai scoffs, thinking it is some cheap joke since the Trans-Siberian Railway was destroyed a long time ago. Lee-hoon explains that some awakened hunters possess rapid repair skills as long as they have the materials. Realizing the train is being rebuilt on the go, Nikolai gets curious and asks what exactly they are carrying. Lee Hun states that the cargo does not matter nearly as much as the person guarding it. When Nikolai presses for a name, Lee Hun coldly replies she is the sweet lady of Janabi. Hearing Siwoo's name, Nikolai freezes in sheer shock. Lee Hun asks if he has a plan to deal with her yet. Nikolai grins, saying that hijacking a train protected by Siwoo sounds like an absolute blast. Lee Hun clarifies it is not exactly a robbery since Janabi is only guarding one specific compartment. Nikolai loudly declares that he will just blow the whole thing to pieces then. But Lee Hun shakes his head, explaining that he definitely does not want that compartment destroyed. He hands over a terminal device, ordering Nikolai to break into that carriage and connect it to the machinery inside. The giant asks if he can smash everything to pieces once the connection is done. Lee Hun smiles wickedly, telling Nikolai he would actually be quite grateful for that. Nikolai's eyes burn with pure madness as he vows to not only trash the cargo, but slaughter every hunter right in front of Siwoo. Check this out back on the train. Hyeonseok is still completely soloing the entire horde with his spear. Seeing this insane display of power, the other hunters are left speechless, wondering how this guy is just a rookie. He has cleared out hundreds of monsters completely by himself, with one shivering hunter even murmuring that Hyeonseok looks way more like a monster than the beasts themselves do. Slamming his spear firmly into the frozen ground, Hyeonseok casually mutters that things seem to have settled down for now. Looking at the other hunters collapsed in pure exhaustion, he sighs in disappointment. The journey has barely started, and they are already this pathetic. He figures he might as well treat this as a solo mission to save his back from carrying them. Right then, Sanga stands up to motivate the group, urging everyone to get up since the mission is not over and they cannot let their guard down. Chan smirks, quietly noting that she is indeed the only useful person on this entire train. Suddenly, he freezes completely as an exceptionally unusual wave of murderous intent washes over him. Hyeonseok anxiously wonders if an avalanche is heading their way. While the control room carelessly plans to keep going despite detecting an obstacle, Siwoo instantly roars into her radio, commanding them to stop the train immediately. The enemy has arrived. Standing firmly on the roof of the carriage, her sharp eyes lock onto the incoming danger. Without warning, a massive blazing drill comes crashing down from above. Siwoo instantly swings her massive greatsword. From the distance, a beam of crimson energy shoots right at them, but she deflects it away with her blade to protect the train. Through the rising dust, Nikolai Baranov rushes forward like a rocket in his heavy mechanical armor. Sanga is completely stunned to see the enemies close in so suddenly, wondering who they are and how they got here so fast. Hyeonseok calmly tells her to relax, asking if she even bothered reading the briefing files. Near Khabarovsk, there is only one person capable of pulling this off, the armed gang led by Nikolai himself. At that exact moment, Siwoo realizes she has walked right into a trap. Another trap where they waiting just to welcome her. Strange talismans suddenly float all around her, emitting a bright purple spiritual energy. Siwoo gasps in horror as her body gets completely trapped by lightning and magical seals. Witnessing this, Sanga asks in a panic if Siwoo is okay and what is happening. Trapped in the glowing magic circle, Siwoo grits her teeth and admits that she has indeed been sealed. A glowing hexagonal barrier completely envelops her, isolating their strongest commander from the active battlefield. This terrible news is quickly broadcast to all the hunters on board. Attention, everyone. We are currently under heavy attack from the flank. With their strongest commander, Siwoo, completely out of commission, the hunters immediately descend into total panic. And things get even worse. The enemy forces have swollen to over 500 men, which is literally 10 times their own numbers. But watch how Hyeonseok reacts to this utter despair. He boldly steps up, declaring that even without their leader they have nowhere left to run. They must protect this train, and Siwoo coldly orders them to start the hunt. Instantly, Hyeonseok leaps off the moving train, telling Sanga to jump down and start fighting already. His reckless move leaves the other hunters staring in complete disbelief, screaming out in shock. Did that crazy bastard really just jump down there? Are 50 of us seriously about to fight 500 enemies? Inspired by the raw courage of the two rookies, the other hunters steel their resolve and dive in. Damn it, fine, we cannot let a bunch of rookies fight our battle alone. Inside her magical seal, Siwoo grips her sword tightly, silently swearing that she will break this barrier and get back to the front lines. As Siwoo tries to shatter the barrier, the mysterious man in the hanbok speaks up coldly from outside, saying it won't be that easy. Narrowing her eyes, she demands to know if he is the one who cast this seal. He only smiles, introducing himself as Lee Hun of the Dongan descendants. He then reveals a shocking truth: both of them belong to the royal lineage of Prince Yong, which makes him her cousin several generations removed. Lee Hun falsely sighs, remarking how wonderful it is to meet family in a distant foreign land. But a loud explosion echoes as Siwoo's massive greatsword strikes the barrier with full force, only to shatter into pieces. She gasps in disbelief, wondering if her sword really just broke. Lee Hun smugly declares that this seal is not so easily destroyed, advising her to surrender now that she is weaponless. Yet Siwoo remains eerily calm. Gripping the broken hilt, she asks why he is making such a big deal over a single broken blade. Instantly, A brilliant blue mana erupts from Siwoo's hand, fully reforming a brand new blade in her palm, forcing Li-hoon to click his tongue in shock at her secret weapon. As it turns out, she possesses the legendary Mirror Ring. It is a high-grade item from a Tier 1 Erosion rift, capable of instantly replicating and recovering destroyed weapons right back to their owner. Seeing her persistence, Hun mocks her, calling her incredibly stupid for even trying to break the seal. Siwoo just smirks. "Oh, stupid, is it?" She coldly snaps back, telling him a trash mouth like his will keep him single in his next life too. Gathering all her strength, Siwoo swings her brand new blade. Meanwhile, look at this, the enemies in the distance are watching a massive light column pierce the sky. Their bald giant leader, Nikolai, hovers in his jet armor, laughing and asking if they really think they can fight with so few people. He declares that he alone decides who leaves this place alive, demanding they surrender their weapons for a chance at mercy. Hearing this, Hyeonseok looks up at the flying giant with pure curiosity. He notices that the flying giant is not releasing any mana at all. Is this guy using cheat codes? Sanga explains that the suit is a Predator Project prototype from 10 years ago, built to fight without mana and translate languages. Hyeonseok secretly wonders how a cancelled Korean military prototype, abandoned long ago due to a lack of resources, ended up in the hands of a Russian alpha faction leader. Facing human enemies for the first time, Sanga is visibly anxious. She struggles with the dark thought of having to take another human life. Sensing her hesitation, Hyeonseok speaks up with a cold tone. "Is this your first time fighting humans? If you cannot handle the weight of it, then go back now." Sanga wonders if he has ever fought humans himself, but Hyeonseok leaps into action, asserting that since these thugs are actively trying to kill them, they are no different from the usual erosion beasts. Metal clashes and bodies drop as Hyeonseok and Sanga begin their sweep. They rapidly tear through anyone blocking their path with clean, powerful, and decisive blows. He tells Sanga to just keep moving and not let guilt eat her alive. With a freezing stare, Hyeonseok adds that the heavy feeling will pass in a few days, or, at most, a single month. Screams and agonizing cries echo across the snow-covered battlefield. Weapons clash brutally, leaving a trail of severe wounds and utter chaos in the freezing wind. Watching the bloodbath, Hyeonseok frowns with deep disgust, muttering that it is truly sickening, yet he jokes to himself that he somehow feels right at home in this bloody mess. Through the constant screech of steel, Hyeonseok stays sharp. He realizes that despite their superior skills, the sheer volume of enemies is starting to weigh them down. The Russian criminals launch a frenzied assault, pushing back the hunters with overwhelming force. Hyeonseok knows there is only one way to shift the tide, take out their commander. Just ahead, the massive Nikolai laughs maniacally as his mechanical hand crushes a hunter's neck. Spotting Hyeonseok, the giant grins, recognizing him as the new rising star from South Korea. He mockingly greets him. Hyeonseok inwardly sneers, realizing his reputation has spread so quickly that even Russian thugs know his name. Without warning, Nikolai swings a flaming blade with devastating power, forcing Hyeonseok to block. Nikolai sneers in disappointment, asking if that is all he has and if Korea is really that low on actual talent. "Celebrating too early, aren't we?" Hyeonseok notes his opponent is incredibly fast and strong, wearing armor so tough he cannot even leave a scratch. He quietly admits this is going to be a pretty difficult battle. But you see, that is only if he had not survived the brutal, hellish training on Tsushima Island. Suddenly bursting with incredible speed, Hyeonseok delivers an explosive blow that sends the giant flying. Nikolai grinds his teeth in rage, cursing Hyeonseok. He frantically activates his thrusters and charges forward like a fiery projectile. He vows to end the kid with this strike. Hyeonseok stays perfectly calm, looking for openings. He notices a weird contradiction despite threatening to kill him. Nikolai is actively holding back his firepower. Why is that? Is he worried about damaging the shield generator? So the attack earlier was just a ploy to stop the train. Hyeonseok pieces the clues together. If Siwoo had not been here, everything would have shattered into pieces. Does this mean they knew exactly who would be on this mission? Too many questions flood his mind. From a Russian boss wearing a Korean uniform to the ceiling master appearing at the exact right moment. As they collide, a dark purple flame eats through the metal armor, throwing Nikolai into a panic. "What is this?" Hyeonseok replies coldly, saying he will end this quickly by burning away the armor's durability. Suppressed by the dark flames, Nikolai roars in helpless fury. Calling Hyeonseok a coward who leaves no room to fight back, Nikolai struggles. Hyeonseok gathers his spiritual energy, unleashing his ultimate 16-hit blue orbit technique. The explosive collision sends shockwaves through the air. Nikolai gasps in horror as deep cracks split his supposedly indestructible armor wide open. Desperate to buy time, he panics and tries to negotiate, screaming out, "Wait, do you not want to break the seal for that sweet candy girl? If you stop now, I can help you do it." But his desperate plea is cut short by a cold slash that cleaves him in two, ending his cowardice. Hyeonseok looks at the wreckage, muttering that he can do it alone without outdated help. At that exact moment, loud cracking sounds echo from the train car as a foot stomps heavily onto the snowy ground. Nikolai's henchmen freeze in absolute terror, feeling an overwhelming pressure burst forth. Hyeonseok just smirks, fully confident that she can easily handle things on her own. Inside the shattering magic circle, Siwoo emerges like a literal goddess of war. Her cold eyes are locked onto the final chains as she shatters them. The train powers through the snowy mountains, leaving a bloody battlefield of defeated enemies scattered on the cold ground. Chan-seok stands calmly among the other hunters, watching the train stabilize. Free from her seal, Siwoo approaches with a bright smile. Excellent work. Chan-seok, she says. This outcome completely exceeded my expectations. She casually hands him a pink candy as a little reward. Taking it, he wonders if it is candy again, then asks if the sealing master from earlier was from the Dangan descendants. Siwoo confirms he fled the moment she broke the barrier, expressing regret for losing his trail. Chan-seok simply nods, unwrapping the pink candy and getting ready to eat it. Seeing this, the surrounding hunters scream in absolute panic. "Do not eat that, you will die." The crowd of hunters yells out in complete disbelief. "Have you lost your mind?" Chan-seok looks at their dramatic reaction, asking if they expect him to play house with it instead of eating it. Siwoo giggles, explaining that other hunters usually collect her candies like medals to show off. Chan-seok is left completely speechless, thinking everyone is overreacting. Suddenly, his gaze sharpens as he watches Korean soldiers collecting the debris of Nikolai's predator armor. He wonders if they are cleaning up trash or destroying evidence. For a Russian criminal to own and operate highly specialized Korean military hardware is incredibly suspicious and unnatural. To pull this off, he must have backing from a force powerful enough to ignore the government, or the military itself is secretly aiding them. Watching the soldiers clear the bloody battlefield, he cannot help but wonder if he can truly trust anyone riding along on this train. Meanwhile, deep inside the ancient base of the Dongun descendants, Hun stumbles forward, looking utterly drained and exhausted. He grinds his teeth, furious at wasting so much mana on a seal that ultimately failed. Seeing his captain arrive, Hun bows his head in deep apology. "Captain, I am sorry I failed you." But despite the tense atmosphere, the captain calmly brushes it off. He reassures him that this is just a minor setback, and stumbling is completely normal when you are aiming for much bigger and grander goals. He tells Yun to focus on recovering his health instead of shaking like a scared little mouse after one defeat. He then firmly reminds his subordinates that they must never, under any circumstance, lose their pride. Yet the moment the elevator doors close, the captain lets loose his long-hidden, boiling rage. His chest burns with humiliation. He feels utterly sickened that his two most trusted subordinates, Kim Ji-yeon and Loon, both got absolutely crushed by some random, nobody rookie. Gritting his teeth, he mutters that if he had deciphered the mana flow of Chanseo's paradox fire sooner, he would have personally slaughtered the kid on the spot. The elevator stops at basement B3. The captain walks into a high-tech room packed with endless computer screens and calls out to Dr. Sun-woo. Spotting the uninvited guest, the chubby doctor pauses mid-bite of his fried chicken, looking up to ask what this visit is all about. The captain cuts straight to the chase, demanding an update on that secret project they discussed. Dr. Sun-woo assures him it is impossible, but warns that it is going to require a massive budget and a hell of a lot of time. The captain coldly shoots back money is not an issue. "I'm just worried you will end up failing me." Dr. Sun-woo clicks his tongue, wishing these protective shield generator to speed up the project. Standing in the shadows, the captain's eyes glow a menacing crimson. He smirks, telling the doctor there is absolutely nothing to worry about. With that ominous warning, our focus shifts. Meanwhile, the train barrels through a freezing, blinding snowstorm. But inside the locomotive, you can practically feel the heavy tension suffocating the crew. An exhausted soldier delivers a grim damage report after their brutal encounter. He reveals that they have lost 5 lives and 10 other hunters are currently wounded. That means they have already lost 1/3 of their forces in the very first clash. Staring out the window, Sia is deeply anxious. The body count is just too high and their journey has barely even begun. She immediately orders the crew to focus on basic first aid. Proper medical treatment will have to wait until they reach Poland. She demands they establish contact with them right away. A military officer asks who actually holds the power over in Poland, and the grim answer comes back it is Mazuka. Hearing this, Sia commands them to contact the local guild that is currently under contract with Mazuka. She wants to demand their full cooperation and expects them to comply. But the officer hesitates, deeply skeptical about whether those proud lords in Poland would ever play nice and cooperate with total strangers. Sia's eyes narrow sharply as a confident smirk plays on her lips. She boldly declares that they have no other choice. That is, if they ever want help from her and the Janabi Guild in the future. Simply put, they will help whether they want to or not, so don't worry. Meanwhile, over at the Hunter Guild headquarters in Poland, things are getting incredibly heated. Robert Diner, a partner hunter of the guild, is absolutely furious after receiving the request from Korea. He roars with pure disgust, asking what kind of joke this is. A request from the Janabi Guild? Tell them to screw off. Who do they think they are, trying to boss us around? A subordinate quickly tries to calm him down, reminding him this isn't some random request. It comes directly from the sweet candy lady Lee Sia, who single-handedly cleared 5 first-class erosion cores. He warns that rejecting her request without a damn good reason could trigger disastrous consequences. But Robert doesn't back down for a second. Instead, he just snaps back with sheer aggressive arrogance. She is still just a hunter. If that woman told you to jump straight into a roaring fire, would you idiots actually do it? A blonde hunter standing nearby immediately speaks up, stating that if it comes down to it, he would gladly jump. Boiling with rage, Robert calls his men complete fools, insisting that Lee Sia is just another partner hunter working for a paycheck. He storms right into the main meeting room, only to freeze in utter shock. Practically every single hunter in the guild has already gathered there, waiting for him. A red-haired hunter steps forward with fierce determination. She boldly warns him that if he rejects the sweet candy lady's request, she will gladly pay the termination fee and quit Resit on the spot. So make your choice, help her or lose every single member. Robert is absolutely losing his mind, gritting his teeth as he glares at his rebellious crew. That woman is still just a hunter, he yells. No matter how famous she is no different from any of us. But his desperate rant is instantly drowned out by angry protests from the crowd. One hunter speaks up, declaring that the sweet candy lady is on a whole different level. Others chime in with endless gratitude, explaining how Lee Sia basically saved their lives. One admits that without her foundation, he never would have become a hunter. Thanks to her, my mother got life-saving surgery in Korea, and when I got brutally injured inside an erosion core, she was the one who pulled me out. I would be dead without her. Seeing this undeniable loyalty, a close ally whispers a warning to Robert. He warns that if everyone resigns right now, the entire company will instantly collapse. Under this massive pressure from his own men, Robert starts breaking into a cold sweat. He curses furiously under his breath. Damn it, is Lee Sia's influence really this massive? Meanwhile, back on the train, the locomotive continues hurtling through the desolate, ruined wasteland. Sia sits quietly by the window, her expression clouded with heavy worry. She thinks about their injured comrades. Their condition is far worse than she expected, and they are still at least 5 days away from their destination. Will they even survive? She quietly prays there are no more delays. But of course, the universe has other plans, brace yourselves, because sirens suddenly start blasting through the halls. Panic spreads as an emergency announcement blares through the intercom. All hunters on alert, erosion creatures spotted. A massive swarm of slimes is closing in fast. Repeat, we are being pursued by slimes. Peering through the windows, they see giant, glowing blue spheres leaping after the train at terrifying speeds. A commanding shout echoes, everyone prepare for combat. The hunters erupt into utter chaos, screams echoing everywhere. Slimes? No way! Get to the roof right now, they are right on our tails. Hearing the panic, Sia quickly grips the hilt of her sword. Why are slimes even out here? Damn it. Everyone stay calm and get ready to fight. Seeing her dead serious expression, Chanseo asks in total confusion, wait, what exactly is a slime? Cease explains they are level 1 erosion beasts from Brass, a frozen wasteland known as the Refrigerator. Chanseo's jaw drops, level 1. He can't believe it, since Brass is over 600 kilometers away. How on earth did they track them down from that far? Leaping onto the roof, Sia coldly replies that the erosion zone must have expanded recently. She draws her weapon, ready to face the oncoming danger. Dealing with first-class monsters in this state is going to be an absolute nightmare. Watching the blue slime swarm closer, one terrified hunter nervously asks if they are really that dangerous. Sia warns them that these monsters have a body temperature comparable to liquid nitrogen. Just a single touch is enough to instantly freeze and shatter a hunter's gear into a million pieces. But the real horror is just beginning. The archer squad shouts to take aim, unleashing a massive volley of glowing magic arrows. Yet, what happens next leaves everyone completely speechless. The magic arrows bounce right off the slimes, clanking uselessly as if hitting solid boulders. Sia quickly realizes that several of these slimes possess a massive resistance to magical attacks. Chanseo quietly analyzes the grim situation. If magic has zero effect and regular physical arrows can't pierce these liquid-like erosion beasts, it basically means they have absolutely no way of killing them. Terror spreads through the ranks like wildfire. They scream in absolute despair, seeing their magical strikes fail completely. If they can't escape this erosion zone before the train is fully surrounded, this entire mission is doomed to fail. Right when they hit a total dead end, Chanseo suddenly steps forward. He casually taps an archer on the shoulder, asking to borrow his bow so he can take a shot himself. Even as the panicked hunter tries to lecture him on channeling mana and calculating the trajectory, Chanseo just shrugs it off. He already has his own plan. Sia can only watch his back in sheer disbelief, wondering what on earth he is about to pull off. Chano grips his bow, channeling his spiritual energy until the arrow erupts into a dark, mesmerizing purple firestorm of paradox flame. He figures if their magic resistance is an obstacle, he can simply use this flame to burn away the very concept of resistance itself. Right on cue, the beast's absolute defense gets completely devoured by the dark flames, dissolving into absolutely nothing. The hunters around him literally can't believe their eyes. And honestly, we would all scream too, seeing that terrifying magic immunity get shattered in a single split second. Chan Oak notes that even though covering the entire battlefield with his paradox flame would be way more efficient, he's still pretty worried about losing control of its devastating power here. So, he decides to strike precise, lethal targets to clear a path for the train. With a calm face, Chan-ok tells the hunter next to him to attack the second the black flames settle, since the monsters will end up panicking and throwing themselves into total chaos anyway. Watching from behind, Seol shudders as she recalls that terrifying attack she once thought was completely impossible to dodge. She wonders in shock if the slime's magic resistance was just completely crushed. Seol realizes this is the exact same skill from before, making her wonder if Chan-ok's real power is literally erasing things that are meant to be untouchable. To her, this man is an absolute mystery, but pushing her shock aside, Seol leaps into action the moment she spots an opening. Now that their magic resistance is gone, a flash of her sword slices the giant slime clean in half midair. The hunters cheer in pure excitement. This is awesome. We can actually kill this thing now. Seol quickly warns them that there are still a few more lingering around. Just as another hunter screams a warning about the final beast charging straight at the train at terrifying speed. The massive slime suddenly leaps high into the air, blocking out the sky right above the train cars. Screams echo everywhere it is right above us. Run for cover before we all get crushed to death. Seol grits her teeth, worrying about her options. She can slash it, but its sheer size is too massive, and the freezing temperature will shatter her gear to pieces before she can save anyone. In absolute desperation, she wonders if a single ultimate move could actually save them all. Right then, completely calm, Chan-ok steps up and tightly grips his weapon. With its massive size and freezing temperature, taking this colossal monster down seems pretty much impossible for any hunter on this train. I mean, its sheer weight alone is enough to crush the whole train, yet Chan-ok stays entirely unfazed, acting like the answer is actually quite simple. He raises his glowing spear, delivering a simple truth: don't worry about how strong it is. Once it is turned to ash, it's over anyway. Seol stands frozen, watching this magnificent sight unfold. The beast that brought pure terror is reduced to nothing but falling stardust in the air. This legendary sight, turning the absolute impossible into reality, plays out right before their eyes. It only lasts a split second, but everyone can feel the terrifying godlike pressure radiating from Chan-ok. Shards of frozen slime rain down, making one hunter groan from the biting cold. Chan-ok touches the leftover slime goo and casually tastes it. Tastes like cola, though I prefer cola candy. Yeah, that is a bit gross, man. You really shouldn't be eating random monster slime. The Trans-Siberian train under Seol's command continues its harsh journey, pushing past countless attacks from corrupted entities as they make their way towards Poland. Inside the control car, the mood turns heavy as a military officer announces their next stop. To treat the wounded and distribute aid, they will be stopping in this city for 3 days. The officer adds that Lord Mazuka and his partner hunter agency promise their full support. Hearing this, Seol lets out a soft sigh of relief, thinking that is great, at least for now. But she is still quite worried about getting other factions to cooperate, asking if there is any word on transport coordination from the other lords besides Lord Mazuka. The officer shakes his head helplessly, explaining they haven't received a single reply from the others. Seol quietly commands them to keep trying to establish contact, since they have no other choice. Since they are staying here for a few days, the massive train slowly rolls into Poland's central station. Chan-ok steps off, looking around with high hopes, having heard that Poland actually has some of the best living conditions in Europe. He wanted to see how fancy Europe really looks. But guys, the reality waiting for him is a complete nightmare beyond anything you could imagine. Chan-ok stands frozen, wondering what on earth this place is. Before him, the station looks like an absolute war zone, littered with corpses rotting away amidst piles of burning rubble. To make matters worse, the surrounding land is completely dead, without a single patch of green in sight. He bitterly realizes they probably ate every edible thing they could find and burned the rest just to stay warm. Glancing over at Seol and the veteran hunters, he is shocked to see them looking totally unfazed by this literal hell. Chan-ok wonders if this kind of horror has simply become their normal. While he is looking around, a middle-aged officer in a neat military uniform approaches and asks if he is Chan-ok. Chan-ok flinches slightly, completely caught off guard that this foreigner speaks fluent Korean. The officer introduces himself as Warrant Officer Joseph Polanski from the Mazuka faction, offering to show him to his quarters. Soon, a luxury car picks them up, gliding through the ruined streets of the city. Staring out at the ruins from the car window, Chan-ok notices people moving in completely separate directions. He figures they are sorting everyone's lodging based entirely on their rank and power. The more valuable you are to them, the more lavish and comfortable your room gets. Warrant Officer Joseph Polanski starts his recruiting pitch, knowing Chan-ok is a free agent and suggesting he should consider working in Poland permanently instead of going back to Korea. He promises that although the local infrastructure cannot match the modern comfort of his homeland, Chan-ok will gain something far more valuable here, and that is absolute, unmatched power. Staring at the expensive champagne on the table and then at the dead bodies lining the streets outside, Chan-ok feels pure disgust. He wonders if this so-called power is just the ability to enjoy luxury while surrounded by absolute hell. Josep keeps trying to play mind games, arguing that back in Korea, Chan-ok is constantly restricted by strict moral rules and public opinion. Soon, his corrupt nature shows as he makes a disgusting offer. He says if Chan-ok works for them, they can provide absolutely anything he wants, even people to abuse just for his amusement. Hearing this, Chan-ok's face instantly darkens with pure absolute disgust. With a bone-chilling stare, he glares at the warrant officer, seriously wondering if he should just punch this absolute trash of a human being right then and there. The car pulls up to a rundown building as the sun sets, ending the disgusting conversation with Lord Mazuka's minion. Stepping into his assigned quarters, Chan-ok is quite disappointed by their cheap and lazy hospitality. He thought his reputation would earn him a decent place, but this room looks like a cheap roadside motel. He sluggishly walks over to check the bathroom, telling himself that at least it is not completely filthy in there. But when he notices a couple of instant noodle cups sitting on the table as his dinner, he just sighs at the Mazuka faction's incredibly cheap hospitality. Just as he reaches for the noodles, a knock shatters the silence, and a familiar voice calls out, asking if Chan-ok is inside. The door opens, revealing Jia Shuang standing there with blushing cheeks and a shy look. She softly greets him, saying she just wanted to check on how he was doing after their journey. Her purple hair is still damp, and under the dim room lights, she looks quite beautiful. Turns out she just wanted to use Chan-ok's shower. The warm water quickly washes away the dirt and fatigue of battle, and soon Jia Shuang's shy voice calls out from inside the bathroom. She apologizes because her dorm is in pretty terrible shape, complete with rusty running water, forcing her to crash in his room. Chan-ok casually replies that he does not mind at all, adding that it is actually a great chance for them to get to know each other better. But his eyes narrow when he spots the pile of food in her room. He asks a suspicious question: why on earth are all these daily necessities imported straight from Korea? Shuang sighs softly, revealing that this is the direct result of Korea's current trade policies. She explains that everything produced abroad, from minerals and fuel to basic food supplies, has to be shipped over to Korea first. It is a domestic priority policy, meaning Korean citizens get first dibs on all imported goods, using up as much as they want. Only the leftovers are ever sold back to other countries. Chan-ok is completely stunned. How could other countries actually agree to such incredibly unfair demands? Hyeonseok bitterly explains that if they anger the Korean government, they will lose all hunter support. After all, the government completely controls all hunter visas. In a dark world where farming or mining is totally impossible without hunter protection, other nations have absolutely no choice but to submit to these crazy demands just to survive. Talk about using sheer wealth and power to bully everyone else. Shipping goods from Europe to Korea and back is a terrible cycle. The result? Pure garbage like expired canned food, unsellable grains, and green potatoes that are already sprouting. Staring at the instant ramen cups on the table, Chan-ok quietly asks about the relief goods they are currently transporting on this train. He worries if they are hauling the same kind of rotten garbage, like those sprouted potatoes. Hyeonseok steps out of the bathroom in her robe. Adjusting her glasses, she reveals an even darker truth. The relief food on this train is officially called recycled powder mix 65. She explains it is actually food waste dried at over 390 degrees Celsius and ground into powder. The name 65 means it contains up to 65% recycled organic materials, like fish bones and banana peels. Chan-ok stands frozen. The sheer cruelty of this reality is too much. He knows Korea has more than enough to send decent food. Why go this far? How could his own country do something so disgusting? But she quickly drops a hard truth on him. If they sent actually valuable food, it would never even reach the people who are genuinely starving. In shock, he asks what she means. Hyeonseok continues exposing the bitter truth: if they sent high-quality food, whose mouths would it actually feed? She explains that if they provide good food as relief aid, the absolute best-case scenario is it gets seized by local warlords. Even worse, those warlords will just sell the food to buy more weapons. His heart grows heavy, realizing how messed up this world truly is. Staring at the long scar on his hand, he finally understands what Lee Siwoo meant back then. She had asked if he had ever been abroad, warning him that he would soon learn. Chan-ok bitterly realizes he was way too naive. This world is somehow even more corrupt than the other world he survived. It is absolutely ridiculous. We are literally watching the world end. Yet these greedy fools are still plotting to control the cores just to keep the chaos running forever. Rage boiling over, Chan-ok crushes the instant ramen cup in his bare hand. He finally knows exactly how he has to deal with these parasites from now on. Turning to Hyeonseok, he coldly asks her a single question. His sudden approach makes her flinch in surprise. Chan-ok's gaze turns razor-sharp as he gets straight to the point, demanding to know where the nearest uncooperative warlord is located. Hamburg, Germany. In broad daylight, absolute chaos is breaking out right in the middle of the Kaiser military base. Daniel Lewis, the leader of the German warlords, screams in total disbelief as he watches his men get completely obliterated. He demands to know what on earth is happening. A panicked soldier rushes over, reporting that a Korean bastard named Yu Chan-ok is wrecking the place, demanding to know why they will not cooperate with the train. Meanwhile, Chan-ok is absolutely destroying them, sending armed guards flying with single punches. Their men are dropping like flies. Seeing this, Daniel Lewis screams at him to stop this madness immediately. He threatens to file a formal complaint with the Korean Hunter Association, but Chanok completely ignores him. Instead, he just delivers another devastating blow straight into a soldier's face. Fuming, Daniel screams, asking if he wants to die. Chanok just stares back with ice-cold eyes, calmly telling the leader that if he plans to kill him, he better do it right. Chanok drops a cold truth, warning Daniel that trying to kill him is actually the only way they survive this. His overwhelming pressure makes the tension in Hamburg turn absolutely suffocating. Rewind 3 hours. Chanok had demanded the location of the nearest rebel warlord, which led him right to Wola Royal Castle. With sharp, echoing footsteps, he marches right into the palace office, offering a brief apology for barging in. Inside, Lee Soo-woo is buried under a mountain of paperwork, looking completely exhausted. She coldly tells him to keep it short since she is super busy, but get ready for this bombshell. Chanok reveals that the descendants of Dongan are plotting to control the corrosion. Lee Si-woo asks in utter disbelief, and he confirms that he heard this directly from one of their own members back on Tsushima Island. When she asks why he kept this quiet until now, Chanok remains calm and thoughtful. Staring at his unwavering eyes, Lee Si-woo realizes he has finally made up his mind. Never. Chanok promises he will never side with those lunatics, bringing a satisfied smile to her face since he is no fool. Just then, an announcement details Han Song-a's arrival. Lee Si-woo notes how they fought together on Tsushima, guessing that she probably shares his exact same thoughts right now. Han Song-a walks in, looking completely weighed down. She bitterly admits that the tragic state of Wola is hard to believe even after seeing it herself. She asks if Koreans are truly blind to foreign suffering. Lee Soo-woo gives her a meaningful look, pointing out that as the young lady of the massive Jum Y group, she should understand this better than anyone. Han Sang-a bitterly realizes that if she had not become a hunter, she would have lived in total darkness forever. Desperate, she asks if they can change anything, but Lee Si-woo coldly replies with one word. No, she says. She states that while this is a major tragedy, it is completely outside their actual mission parameters, and Si-woo tiredly complains they have zero backup from HQ. Focus. She advises Chanok to just focus on the task at hand since things are pretty grim, but he suddenly speaks up. Lee Si-woo is stunned when he offers to personally negotiate with those stubborn German warlords. Chanok firmly states that he will deal with them in his own unique way. Han Song-a gets incredibly worried about his custom method, especially when he casually asks if he can just use physical force to beat those stubborn bastards to a pulp. Clearly, they prefer the hard way anyway. Sang-a quickly warns him that he has to maintain his public image, and Lee Si-woo agrees that diplomacy is a pain, but Chanok has already made his move. As a solo hunter with zero faction ties, he is the perfect guy to handle the dirty work. He tells them to stay in Poland for now while he goes to settle this once and for all. Although his method is quite extreme, Song-a admits there is no other way to save the situation, though she still asks if he will really be safe alone. Chanok confidently states he will finish before the relief aid is even fully distributed, telling her to just come clean up the mess afterward. She worriedly asks if it is too dangerous, offering to tag along if he needs backup, but Chan-suk completely brushes her off. He tells her to stay focused on her training, even threatening that she will be in big trouble if he does not see any progress next time. He turns around and demands a helicopter, estimating it will only take about 1 hour to reach his destination. Exuding absolute confidence, Chan-suk steps out the door, throwing a casual goodbye over his shoulder. Promising to see everyone in Germany, he is ready to show those fools what real action-based diplomacy looks like. Meanwhile, the Kaiser lords back in Germany are still foolishly underestimating Chan-suk, thinking his mana reserves are nothing special. They truly believe that because a human's mana always has limits, their overwhelming numbers and top-tier military gear will easily allow them to crush even a highly famous hunter from South Korea. From their arrogant perspective, this logic seems completely flawless, but they have absolutely no idea that they are about to stand face-to-face with a real nightmare. Suddenly, an earth-shattering energy blast erupts right in the middle of their formation, sending the heavily armed Kaiser soldiers flying through the air like dry leaves caught in a massive storm. Right at the center of the destruction, Chan-sik stands tall, completely dominating the battlefield. Every single theory they had about the mana limits of an ordinary hunter is instantly shattered to pieces. Because Chan-suk has never been just an ordinary hunter, his freezing cold eyes lock onto his enemies as he calmly delivers a final ultimatum: make your choice right now. Do we settle this with words, or do we fight until there is nothing left? If he keeps fighting, there will not even be anyone left to talk to. Just look at his face. Cold sweat is pouring down in absolute terror. Daniel Lewis, the Kaiser leader, is completely paralyzed. He cannot believe his own eyes. What kind of monster is this? His mana should have run out ages ago. How is he still moving like this? In a complete panic, Daniel screams wildly at his men, calling them useless fools and commanding them to open fire immediately. Dozens of guns fire at the target all at once, but Chan-suk vanishes in a flash. Daniel only has time to gasp at how fast he is before a hand of steel tightly grips his throat. Daniel shakes violently in absolute terror, his brain completely unable to process how his opponent closed the distance so fast. He desperately tries to use his last shred of authority to threaten him. He stutters out, "How do you plan on handling the consequences of this?" Chan-suk's eyes narrow with pure contempt as he repeats the word like a joke. Consequences? Giving a piercing glare cold enough to freeze anyone's blood, he calmly delivers his response. I do not care. Realizing his opponent's absolute resolve and overwhelming power, Daniel Lewis completely breaks down, raising his trembling hands to surrender. Fine. Let us talk this out properly. The scene shifts inside a military tent where Hyeonseok is resting the sweep. He takes a huge gulp of a dark murky drink but instantly grimaces at the bizarre flavor. What on earth is this? You told me this is cola, but it tastes completely different. Daniel awkwardly explains that in this wasteland they only drink it because it looks similar and is the easiest thing to find. Hyeonseok stares at his cup with deep disappointment, realizing things in Europe are so bad that real cola is now a luxury. With a bitter sigh, Daniel wonders how many years it has been since he last tasted real cola. He admits that everything here is actually worse than it was in Poland. Even with translation tech helping them out, the harsh reality is that the people still live in ragged tents. Power and running water are constantly cutting out. This base was built in the early days of the disaster, but when government aid dried up, it turned into an eyesore. Daniel cannot hide the sheer helplessness in his eyes. He feels deeply humiliated knowing just how weak his country has truly become. Sipping the black liquid, Hyeonseok coldly cuts to the chase. Why did you refuse to cooperate with the train? Daniel sets his cup down, his expression turning tense and resentful. He snaps that they need that shield generator more than the United Kingdom does, blaming it all on the cursed restaurant faction. Hearing that name, Hyeonseok recalls what he knows about restaurant, one of the 8 great rifts. Based in Naples, its massive influence stretches across all of Europe and North Africa. Daniel growls that the erosion zones in England are nothing compared to the pressure restaurant is pushing north from Italy. They are fighting desperately every single second to halt the invasion, making it impossible for them to let the shield generator pass. Hyeonseok remains completely unbothered. He explains that the shield generator is still in its experimental phase, and they need a stable area like this to collect accurate data. He delivers a stark warning: if you do not cooperate now, will you ever get another chance to receive it? Daniel clicks his tongue in annoyance, muttering that this does not feel like a negotiation at all. Hyeonseok fires back bluntly: if you want it, stop talking nonsense and cooperate. Seeing him still act so arrogant, Daniel mockingly asks if he even has any other options. In response, Hyeonseok slowly squeezes the glass in his hand, his sharp gaze reminding the Lord that he already witnessed his other option firsthand during their little fight. Then crack! The glass shatters completely in his palm, shards slicing into his flesh as blood drips onto the floor. Honestly, this guy is on a whole different level of crazy. He coldly declares that he does not recommend trying that option. Witnessing this terrifying display of pure insanity and power, Daniel's resolve completely collapses. Trembling, he asks what kind of cooperation he wants. Hyeonseok casually replies that it is none of his business and he is just a middleman setting up a meeting. Daniel looks at him suspiciously, asking if Lee's ordered him to do this. With a completely blank stare, Hyeonseok coldly states that things were simply moving too slowly, so he decided to step in and speed up the process himself. He is right. Lee's would never act this recklessly. Daniel Lewis stands up, adjusting his clothes with a highly skeptical expression, bitterly accepting the fact that he has been backed into a corner. Fine, I will contact Lee's, now get lost. But Hyeonseok just sits there completely unfazed, coldly firing back with an incredibly defiant smirk, asking what on earth he is talking about. He bluntly announces that he is staying right here. This bold move leaves Daniel completely dumbfounded. Hyeonseok looks at him with a freezing glare, firmly explaining his reasoning. If he just leaves after getting a cheap verbal promise, who is to say the Lord will not change his mind later? Does he look like an idiot? The old Lord growls, completely irritated by the young man's stubbornness. He asks if Hyeonseok plans on staying here for free. Without a word, Hyeonseok opens his hand to reveal a tiny, glittering object, calling it his lodging fee. Daniel stares blankly at the strange item. When asked what it is, Hyeonseok tells him it is cola-flavored candy, bragging about how hard he worked to get it from a slime. Hearing this casual explanation, Daniel's face suddenly drops with bitter irony. He mutters that South Koreans must be pretty happy living so carefree. Daniel bitterly admits the brutal, harsh reality that the people of Europe are currently forced to endure. Out here, they do not even know if they will survive until tomorrow. Staring into the old lord's exhausted eyes, Hyeonseok falls silent, deeply sensing the profound decay of this ruined world. His gaze turns incredibly deep and resolute. He quietly tells himself that he now fully understands just how shattered this world has truly become. Whether it is the level 1 erosion cores or the 8 great rifts choking humanity, everything is already part of his master plan. Parting the curtain, Hyeonseok glances back at the lonely lord with a confident smirk. He thinks Daniel will end up thanking him soon. Driven by the ironclad resolve of a world-saving hero, he vows to crush every single threat and restore peace once and for all. Vowing to sweep every single one of them away and save this world, he is going to make sure that in just a few years the old lord will finally taste real cola again instead of that dirty black water. At the square in front of the WGO Royal Castle, a massive crowd lines up endlessly in absolute despair, waiting for the meager relief food. Cold shouts from the distribution staff echo through the crowd, telling them to move along. When they finally reach the front, all they get is a bowl of watery soup, the recycled mixture number 65 that Gujong talked about. Murky brown liquid. It looks exactly like sewage. Holding the bowl in his hands, a middle-aged man cannot hold back his growing rage. He stares at the muddy water in his bowl and screams in absolute anger. Are you people kidding me? This soup is basically plain water. How am I supposed to eat this junk? Instantly, armed soldiers step forward with aggressive looks, telling him to stop making trouble and back off. But the man refuses to back down, shouting right in their faces, I expected a lot more when I heard the Koreans were coming. Is this really all we get? Seeing the tension rise, the cold commander barks an order through his radio to suppress the civilians and authorize the use of force. A dark gun barrel points directly at the poor man as he bitterly yells, you guys are just thugs. No different from this corrupt government. He is cornered, starving and out of options, making it a tragic sight. Before he can even finish his sentence, a gunshot rings out. The man collapses to the ground as the shocked crowd erupts in panic, with terrified screams echoing across the entire square. You monsters, did you really just kill him for that? Through the drifting gun smoke, the soldier calmly lowers his weapon and announces that the man is still very much alive. It was only a salt bullet. The officer steps up, staring at the crowd with cold eyes to declare, I know times are tough, but to make sure everyone gets a share, we cannot give out larger portions. He warns that anyone starting a riot will face salt bullets without hesitation, but instead of fear, his threat backfires on a massive scale as the desperate crowd begins to whisper. And here is where things get completely out of hand. Realizing salt bullets mean the guards won't actually kill them, their deep hunger completely overpowers all fear. The entire square suddenly erupts into absolute chaos as desperate people madly storm the relief crates to steal food. Screams and heavy stomping echo everywhere. Out of my way. I haven't eaten in 3 days. The guards struggle helplessly to hold back the tide of desperate people, frantically shouting into their radios for immediate reinforcements. Meanwhile, back inside the WGO Royal office, Sia is absolutely drowning in reports about the chaos outside. Casualties keep piling up, with reports confirming 37 minor injuries and 8 severe ones. On top of that, another staff member reports that rampant fraud is breaking out everywhere. This is already the 24th fake ration card they have found. Staring at the massive pile of documents, Sang-ah sighs to herself that everything is a total mess and they are severely understaffed. While she is buried in paperwork at the WGO office, an unexpected announcement from her staff startles her, telling her that they just received a message from the Kaiser Lords. Unable to hide her shock, Sia quickly orders them to patch it through. Grabbing the receiver, she confidently introduces herself as Lee Sia from the Janabi Guild of South Korea. The moment she hears the voice on the other end, a victorious smile spreads across her face. Sia whispers to herself that Hyeonseok actually pulled it off after his brutal fist-based negotiation. Those arrogant Kaiser lords have finally backed down and accepted the Janabi Guild's partnership. The scene quickly shifts to Hamburg, Germany, the headquarters of the Kaiser faction. There, a stern and visibly cautious Daniel Lewis comes out in person to greet their arrival. Welcome to Hamburg. You certainly sent quite a strange fellow to deal with us. Even now, Daniel seems completely shaken up thinking about Hyeonseok and his terrifying display of power. Lee Sia calmly offers a polite smile and replies that it is a pleasure to meet him, thanking Daniel for agreeing to cooperate with them. While the top leaders head inside to begin their official conference, Hyeonseok decides to keep his distance, perched high up on a towering rafter in the train station to quietly scan the surroundings. Seeing him sitting all alone in the biting German cold, Han Sang-ah flies up to find out what he is doing way up there. Hyeonseok glances at her and calmly replies that he is just keeping watch. When she asks if something is wrong, Sang-ah mentions that Lady Sia is looking for him. Hyeonseok nods and promises to head down immediately, but his voice suddenly trails off as his sharp eyes narrow, focusing entirely on an ancient, imposing clock tower that rises up in the far distance. Wait, check this out. A mysterious blue light suddenly flashes on top of the tower before vanishing, leaving a tiny trace of mana that his sharp senses instantly detect. Without saying a single word of explanation, Hyeonseok leaps off the beam. Han Sang-ah can only scream out in total shock, where on earth are you going? Landing directly on the balcony where the light just flashed, he stares into the empty air, his expression turning dead serious. Even though the trail was wiped clean in an instant, Hyeonseok is absolutely positive that his target was standing right here. Realizing he was spotted, the mysterious figure used his mana to mask his presence and flee, but no matter how faint the trail is, it simply cannot escape Hyeonseok's sharp eyes. He realizes that even though the signature is incredibly weak, he can still track the path of the mana. By following it, he is confident he will locate his target soon. Suddenly, Hyeonseok looks up with deep suspicion. Is he on the ceiling? Before he can even finish that thought, a sword strike plunges down directly from above, but with his lightning-fast reflexes, he effortlessly blocks the sudden ambush. Hyeonseok narrows his eyes, genuinely surprised by his opponent's technique. Spatial power? Well, he thinks to himself, this is certainly a refreshing move to go up against. Stepping majestically out of a tier in space, a bearded man wearing a traditional hanbok and a bamboo hat appears. He mutters in disbelief that Hyeonseok found him so quickly. This mysterious attacker is Seok Ju-hyun, a member of the Tang clan's descendants. He coldly declares that he must eliminate Hyeonseok right now to avoid any future trouble. Staring at his opponent's rather bizarre outfit and weapon, Hyeonseok cannot help but mock him. A hanbok and a sword hidden inside a walking cane? He asks what kind of style the guy is even going for. His pride wounded, Seok Ju-hyun snaps back that it is not a mere sword cane, proudly declaring it a masterwork blade. Instantly, Seok Ju-hyun charges forward with terrifying speed. Loud metallic clashes ring out continuously as Hyeonseok struggles to block a flurry of heavy strikes coming from above him. The immense pressure from his opponent's blade forces him to grit his teeth. It is an incredibly fierce, high-speed battle with both of them constantly swapping positions amidst blinding flashes of light. Seok Ju-hyun is shocked to realize that Hyeonseok's movements are extremely bizarre. He thinks to himself that those last strikes should have easily hit their mark. Yet somehow Hyeonseok managed to dodge every single one of them with absolute mastery. Seeing his opponent struggle, Seok Ju-hyun throws out a taunt, telling him he will have to try much harder than that. Meanwhile, Hyeonseok keeps his focus at an all-time high. He senses something off about the flow of the battle and wonders if this is actually some kind of visual illusion, humorously questioning if this guy secretly studied magic tricks. Suddenly, a massive wave of deep purple energy erupts from Hyeonseok's legs, releasing a crushing pressure that leaves Seok Ju-hyun frozen in pure shock. Without giving his enemy even a split second to react, he dives down from above like a spear of light, putting his entire strength into a decisive strike. Just as the spear tip is about to strike home, an unbelievable sight unfolds. Seok Ju-hyun suddenly splits into two, leaving Hyeonseok completely shocked as he wonders how he divided himself like that. He arrogantly boasts with supreme confidence, saying that Hyeonseok will never be able to lay a single finger on him. Facing this magical cloning technique, Hyeonseok can only gasp in shock as he realizes he missed by a fraction of an inch, now forced to fight two opponents at once. But within moments, he sees right through the secret, realizing two things. First, he is using real clones, and when those duplicates merge back together, his speed and power will multiply exponentially. Even though he is currently on the defensive, Hyeonseok calmly analyzes his enemy's combat style to pinpoint a fatal weakness. It looks like Hyeonseok has finally met his match. Seo Jo-hum stands tall under his conical hat, loudly making his second declaration, "You can't do anything to hurt me." With his superior speed and shadow clones, Jo-hum is entirely sure of his victory. But a sharp, cold thought flashes through Hyeonseok's mind: this guy is dead wrong. Injured? Yes. Facing a freak? Also yes. But Hyeonseok is already plotting a counterattack. He will crush this arrogant bastard's ego on his next strike. Hyeonseok narrows his eyes, tracking the sudden, insane spike in Seo Jo-hum's speed after his clones fused. It's clearly a high-level innate ability, pumping his physical stats to the absolute max. But speed isn't the real nightmare here. It's his phasing technique. It lets every single attack pass right through his body like he's made of thin air. Gripping his hilt beneath his conical hat, Seo Jo-hum radiates a freezing, murderous intent. He calmly warns that his very next move will end Hyeonseok's life. Staring at that smug face, Hyeonseok realizes this phase-shifting trick has probably never been countered before. But a smirk plays on our hero's lips. The guy's luck has just run out. Out of everyone in the world, he had to pick me, and trust me, old memories of fighting in another world are starting to flood back. Back when he was the legendary hero Hyeonseok, he fought monsters with this exact same power. On those brutal otherworldly battlefields, those creepy little pests used to drive his entire army insane. A heavily armored knight on his squad once screamed out in pure desperation, "Damn it, Hyeonseok, how do we even kill these things? Our attacks just phase right through them." But watching their movements closely, Hyeonseok quickly figured out their little trick. They aren't just phasing, they are using mana to shift their physical bodies into another dimension at the exact split second. Talk about a dirty, unfair cheat code. His panicked teammate could only ask how on earth they were supposed to counter a broken skill like that. Hyeonseok calmly explained that these skills only trigger the exact millisecond they are about to be hit. They automatically match the speed of the incoming attack to slip away. So to catch that timing, you just have to adjust your own attacking speed. Back in the present, Hyeonseok hyper-focuses, exploding forward with insane speed. He drives his spear deep into his airborne opponent, completely shattering the smug arrogance of this so-called Danoon descendant. Seo Jo-hum freezes in absolute shock. Sweat pours beneath his hat as he feels the sheer weight of Hyeonseok's overwhelming power. He collapses, driving his sword into the ground to stay upright, gasping for air. His mind screams with unanswered questions. How is this even possible? He simply cannot believe that with that level of speed, his opponent caught his timing and shut down his perfect defense so effortlessly. Shaking, Seo Jo-hum wonders what kind of monster he's fighting. Suddenly, a massive explosion rips through the city buildings. Both fighters freeze, their deathmatch instantly cut short by this unexpected disaster. Hyeonseok stares at the rising smoke in disbelief. Seizing the chaos, Seo Jo-hum smirks with dry sarcasm. Looks like luck is finally on my side. Right then, Hyeonseok's earpiece screeches with his commander's voice, "Stop the chase and get back here immediately. Things are going south." The sarin gas bomb was just dropped on the northern outskirts of Hyeonseok. Hyeonseok yells out in horror, "What?" Sarin is a deadly nerve agent, paralyzing people with a tiny dose. It's a banned weapon of mass terror. Once it starts spreading, that entire region will instantly turn into a literal living hell. Who could be so evil? Shaking off his shock, Hyeonseok barks into his radio, "On my way." He turns his back on the assassin, sprinting across rooftops at full power. Yet a nagging question keeps spinning in his mind. Something about their strategy doesn't add up. Why hit the outskirts instead of Hamburg's city center? What kind of twisted plot are they hiding behind this brutal strike? Calculating the wind direction, the military estimates the lethal sarin gas will blanket the entire city of Hamburg in just 15 minutes. If they don't move fast, the vital relief cargo on the train will be completely contaminated. The train has to leave for Holland in 5 minutes. Speeding back to the rendezvous, Hyeonseok feels an eerie chill. He asks if there are other enemies lurking around, only to receive a report that a single opponent is currently keeping Sia tied up in a brutal solo fight. Hyeonseok immediately sees through the plan. To his team's shock, he explains the enemy triggered this chaos specifically to lure Sia away from the train. Because without their strongest hunter protecting it, seizing the train, carrying the shield generators will be a complete walk in the park for them. And you'll never guess who Sia is facing off against right now. It's that creepy, mysterious archer we ran into back on Tsushima Island. Glancing toward the battlefield torn apart by terrifying waves of energy, Hyeonseok grits his teeth. What an absolute mess. Ahead of him, Sia is locked in a fierce struggle. Her eyes burn with determination as she refuses to let the killer get anywhere near the train. But the archer from the Danun descendants is ready to unleash pure destruction, channeling a massive wave of mana into blinding blue lightning. He fires a single arrow of devastating light. Confronted by this sudden, lightning-fast strike, Sia's eyes widen in pure shock. Yet as a top 10 hunter in the world, she stands firm in the energy storm. Her sharp gaze focuses, looking for a way to neutralize this deadly force. She won't back down. Behind her, a panicked soldier yells that the relief goods are loaded. With smoke choking the air, the train has to leave right now to escape the incoming toxic gas. Urgent shouts echo, "Get on the train, hurry." The last remaining hunters scramble inside just before the doors hiss shut with heavy pressure. The automated system confirms all personnel are safely on board. As the train starts rolling, everyone inside is drenched in sweat and visibly tense. Staring out the windows of the speeding train, the soldiers are totally shaken. One of them stammers out, "Who even was that archer?" It looks like even Sia was getting pushed to her absolute limits. If a top 10 hunter gets dominated like that, we are just ants to them. Pure dread fills the cabin as a soldier whispers, "Is she actually going to lose?" Suddenly, a loud clack on the ceiling makes everyone look up in panic. The roof hatch flies open and Hyeonseok drops in, hanging upside down. He casually mutters that he almost missed his ride. Looking at the stunned crowd, he casually asks what they are all doing. The soldiers just freeze, stuttering his name in complete disbelief. Hyeonseok looks straight at the panicked crowd of hunters, making it clear that Lise isn't out there risking her life just so they can sit back and do nothing. He warns them that the enemy separating a rank M hunter from the train is a bad sign of absolute chaos coming right now. He urges everyone to get on board immediately to prepare for the absolute worst. Instantly, a hunter barks orders over the radio to fix their formation. Move fast or the enemy will hit them with everything they've got. An emergency order goes out to everyone, directing all hunters to the shield generator right now. Meanwhile, amid the thick smoke, Seo Woo fights alone, blocking deadly enemy arrows with her single sword. She's quietly shocked by her opponent's flawless skills, wondering if this hooded figure before her is the supreme leader of the Dangan descendants. The archer praises Seo Woo's strength, impressed that she blocked every single one of his strikes. Quite a feat for a top 10 world-ranked hunter. Even under pressure, a confident smirk plays on her lips. "Sorry for ruining your little plan," but behind that mask, the archer's glowing red eyes curl into a chilling, sinister look. He casually replies, "Don't worry, the moment we separated you from the train, our victory was already decided." It turns out keeping her here was just a clever distraction, giving other Dangan members a chance to slip inside and seize the train as it speeds through the wasteland. This is bad, they've got spies right in their base, and who knows if the train is safe. The train rattles violently down the tracks, completely unaware that death is already on board. In a critical carriage, a woman with long braided black hair and a gentle, dangerous smile stands waiting in the dark. She quietly welcomes her allies, "So you finally arrived." This is Seo Jeondu, a high-ranking Dangun member who now holds the fate of the shield generator and everyone on board in her hands. Suddenly, an alarm blares in their earpieces. A suspicious group has gathered on the bridge ahead. Shinnok taps his earpiece immediately, his sharp gaze locking onto the situation unfolding ahead. On the bridge, a squad in creepy red masks waits, radiating pure killer intent. A battle order rings out all hunters. "Prepare for combat." Instantly, hunters leap from the carriages to meet the enemy head-on. Leading them is a woman in a strange outfit, carrying a massive wrapped object on her back. The clash explodes. The masked enemies strike with brutal fury, overwhelming the hunters with precise, ruthless attacks. Amid the chaotic dust and clashing steel, that mysterious woman casually strolls forward, looking completely relaxed as if walking in a park. Smirk on her face and sharp eyes locked on him, she politely greets our main character. "Nice to meet you, Chanok," she says. He narrows his eyes, fully on guard, and asks how she knows him. She just sneers, revealing her dark motive. "Yes, my bosses ordered me to take you alive, but I'm honestly not great at keeping prisoners. Besides, those old men aren't here right now, so if I accidentally end you, well, too bad." Her eyes turn icy cold. Talk about deadly beauty. Staring at the massive object she lowers to the ground, Chanok freezes as he recognizes her weapon. A Gaiagium? Before he can process it, she strikes with terrifying speed, blasting a shockwave of sound directly at Chanok, catching him completely off guard. He barely manages to raise his arms to block, but the crushing acoustic pressure pushes him back. This opponent has a truly bizarre and formidable power, so her attacks are sound waves. Gritting his teeth, he tells himself that although this is quite annoying, if this is all she's got, she won't be defeating him today. But the tables turn instantly when a strange man with narrow eyes, wearing traditional robes, suddenly materializes on the battlefield. Holding a massive blade adorned with bronze bells, he mutters about their power and begins a bizarre ritual dance, unleashing a dark red spiritual energy. Great, another creepy occultist joining the fight. This squinty-eyed guy's dance is no joke, sending out continuous sonic vibrations. The echoing bells carry a crushing invisible pressure, warping the very space around them. Watching this strange ritual, Chanok realizes with a shock that this dance isn't just for show. There's a terrifying secret behind it. It's a massive buff skill. Hold on, a sudden sonic explosion rocks the entire train, leaving Hyeonseok watching from afar in absolute shock. Terrified, she wonders if that was a sonic shockwave. She panics, knowing if the sound is this loud from far away, Chanok must be taking a devastating amount of pressure at the epicenter. The scene, Chanok struggles to hold his ground as blood trickles from his mouth under the crushing weight. Ears ringing, he forces himself up, glaring at his enemy with a cold, mocking sneer. "Your music is absolute garbage." Seo Jeondu sneers maliciously, claiming sound is something he can never block, telling him to struggle in despair until his very last breath. Hearing that, a dark purple column of paradoxical flame begins to ignite fiercely around his hands. He replies coldly in his mind, "You think I can't block it?" The paradoxical fire erupts, swallowing the entire area in a terrifying dark purple spiritual energy. Horrified by this sheer overwhelming power, Seo Jeondu tries to scream a warning to Lee Hyun to brace for the next attack. But pure terror freezes her face. Her eyes widen, her mouth gasps open, but absolutely nothing comes out. She panics, realizing her voice has completely vanished. In the eerie silence, Chanok calmly mutters his success. He literally burned away the very concept of sound, turning the battlefield dead silent. If his own ears are ringing, he might as well mute them forever. Watching her panic, Chanok coldly sneers, "Looks like you guys aren't used to a quiet battlefield." Instantly, he vanishes in flashes of purple light, leaving Seo Jeondu looking around frantically, wondering where he went. Though she acts like it's a cheap trick, internally, Seo Jeondu is sweating bullets. She reassures herself that they still have a 2-on-1 advantage. Even if he launches a surprise attack, her partner will finish him off in time. To her, anyone who slips up in this game is betting their life. But wait, she spots a bizarre look on Lee Hoon's face and freezes. Why does he look so terrified? A terrifying realization hits her. What if she is the one who got ambushed? Exactly as expected, Chanok is already behind her, landing a devastating slash. Their plan was to sacrifice one of them to capture Chanok, but reality is brutal. Still, the other enemy seizes the chance to act. Shrouded in dust, Seo Jeondu grits her teeth, snapping at her ally for using the sealing talisman before actually beating him. But Lee Hoon can only gasp. He whispers that there was no other choice. A giant magic circle engulfs them. Smiling through the pain, he proudly declares he's caught him, stating his seal can stop anyone, even Lai Se. Keeping someone like Hyeonseok pinned down should be more than enough. Lee Hun smiles smugly, convinced that victory is already in his grasp. But his smirk completely vanishes as a massive shadow walks right out of the shattering energy. The assassin starts trembling in absolute shock. Wait, what is that? Did he actually break the seal? Was I just too stressed to notice? We thought a 2-on-1 fight would crush him. Terrified, he screams out, "Wake up, Jeondu! We need to grab the shield generator and fall back right now." But before he can even move, Hyeonseok's spear tears through him. Lee Hun coughs up blood, completely paralyzed by shock. How is this possible? There is no way he broke free. Hyeonseok stands tall, radiating pure pressure as he coldly asks who gave you permission to leave. Are you guys completely out of your minds? Hyeonseok sneers, looking down at them with pure contempt. Go ahead, try running, leave the shield generator, and just try to run. His gaze is cold enough to freeze their desperate escape plans right here at Hamguk Central Station. Basically, coming here was easy, but you only leave when he says so. Meanwhile, the brutal battle between Seo Yoon and that mysterious, highly skilled archer reaches an unexpected finish. She is gasping for air with bleeding wounds all over her face. Out of nowhere, the archer stops his assault, casually declaring that they are done for the day. He leaves her with some bizarre fanatical rant about her existence, proving the superiority of the Korean race. Seo Yoon just stares at his disappearing shadow and clicks her tongue in pure disgust. The Hwanguk theory. Do you actually believe in that absolute garbage? For context, the Hwanguk theory is a wild fake history claim that an ancient Korean kingdom ruled all of Eurasia 60,000 years before Christ. They even claim people had highly advanced technology like submarines and cell phones back then. This is the brainwashing tool the descendants of Dangun used to gather followers and spread toxic extremist ideas. It is a total joke to the outside world. Staring at this fanatic with her blood-stained face, Seo Kyun can only respond with cold, pure contempt. You have to be completely out of your mind to believe that garbage. She cannot fathom why a fighter as strong as him would worship such a ridiculous, baseless myth. Maybe his life was just too stressful and boring, and he desperately clung to this fantasy for meaning. Even so, the archer keeps his calm completely unbothered. He shares a sinister philosophical response. Does it even matter if I personally believe it or not? To him, historical truth is irrelevant. The only thing that actually matters is that countless desperate people out there are willing to believe it. Because of that blind faith, they will follow him anywhere to build a grand dream. For a manipulator like him, belief is the ultimate weapon to control the masses, completely bypassing any need for actual facts. Belief does not require evidence, you just have to believe. Right after that arrogant statement, the archer completely vanishes into thin air, leaving behind an incredibly eerie, quiet atmosphere. Seo Yoon stands completely silent in the ruined battlefield, surrounded by nothing but heaps of rubble and broken debris. She leans her massive sword against the ground, her body totally exhausted after the intense fight. The enemy is gone, but his words continue to haunt her like a ghost. It is a dark warning that the plot against this train is only the beginning of a massive, brutal storm. Let's face it, getting this shield generator to safety is going to be an impossibly long and painful quest from here on out. Watching that squinty-eyed assassin flee after literally slicing his own flesh to escape, Chan-suk knows he won't get far. Injuries that severe are going to slow anyone down. He debates whether to chase him down when his radio suddenly crackles to life, cutting off his thoughts. Control delivers some terrible news: they have completely lost all contact with Commander Seo Yoon. With their strongest hunter suddenly missing in action at this critical moment, temporary command of the entire relief train is officially handed over to Chan-seok. Instantly, the red-masked minions of Dangun charge forward with bloodlust, surrounding him from all sides. One angry grunt swings his blade down, screaming for Chan-suk to die, but Chan-suk simply slips past the lightning-fast attack in the blink of an eye. Before they can even react, he unleashes a devastating spin kick to clear some space, then follows up with a heavy punch straight to an enemy's face, shattering his mask with a sickening bone-crushing sound. The fight gets wild. Chan-suk catches a falling sword right out of the air, unleashing a brutal sweep to clear out the path ahead. The entire group of assassins is wiped out in an instant. Standing among the pile of bodies, Chan-sik grabs his radio, announcing that he is taking temporary command. He orders the crew to start the train immediately, but this call gets massive angry pushback from the Janabi Guild members. They desperately insist on staying behind to search for and protect Seo Yoon first. But Chan-suk remains absolutely iron-willed. He knows this might ruin future diplomatic relations and carries a ton of risk, but he does not regret this decision for a second. After all, this train is carrying vital relief supplies. Millions of lives are waiting on this cargo. He silently hopes she will make it back safe. You better survive this, Seo Yoon. In the quiet cabin, Chan-suk looks down, completely lost in his thoughts. He wonders if forcing the train to leave right away was too cruel, especially since they still have no idea where Seo Yoon is. Her fate remains a massive question mark. Suddenly, a dark thought crosses his mind, making him shudder. Wait, if she hasn't made it back yet, could she actually be dead? Right as his anxiety peaks, a panicked soldier rushes down the hallway, gasping for breath and shouting for Chan-suk. Chan-suk turns around, narrowing his eyes as he asks what is going on. Barely able to breathe, the soldier gasps out some absolutely shocking news: Commander Seo Yoon is back. She has actually returned. Hearing those words, a confident, highly relieved smile immediately creeps onto Chan-suk's face. Chan-suk mutters to himself that he knew she would make it. Someone of her caliber would never go down over something so trivial. Behind him, the proud 10th-ranked hunter in the world appears. Her face is still covered in brutal wounds from her life or death battle, but she made it back. Now resting in the medical bay, Seo Yoon lies on a bed with an IV running. Seeing Chan-suk walk in, she smirks playfully, asking if he is pouting because they left him behind earlier. Chan-suk calmly replies that she did a great job out there. She looks at him with deep suspicion, wondering why he would say that instead of asking how she is feeling. Her eyes turn distant and frustrated as she admits she is still processing her fight with that archer. She bitterly admits to herself that she cannot see any path forward. If that dangerous archer had not intentionally held back, she probably would not even be alive to have this conversation right now. Staring blankly into empty space, Seo Yoon desperately wonders if she has finally hit her absolute limit. She realizes that sudden, magical breakthroughs, like in the movies, simply do not exist in reality. Did one brutal fight really crush her confidence like that? Chan-suk just listens in silence before smoothly changing the subject. He asks how the relief distribution is going, and she confirms as him everything is moving smoothly. Chan-suk nods with approval, but his calm reaction makes her ask if things are actually going as well as he claims. He casually explains the next phase of the plan. Once they finish moving the cargo to the UK port, the protective shield generator will be shipped out right behind it. He tells her to make absolutely sure she brings it along. Seo-yoon is shocked, asking if he plans to stay behind in the UK. He warns her in a low voice that the descendants of Dangan will definitely not give up so easily. When she asks about his specific plan, he declares that he is staying in the UK to train his skills. Once he is stronger, he will wipe them out for good. No playing around with these guys. Right in the hospital room, Chan-sik suddenly makes a shocking decision. Instant tension. The whole room goes dead silent. I will challenge that rift we just walked past. The grade 1 corrosion rift inside the basic refrigerator, I'm clearing it. Hearing this, Sehee is utterly stunned. She completely loses her voice and cannot utter a single word. In her mind, she is screaming. Pure terror. How can he challenge a grade 1 rift so easily? She is the world's rank 10 hunter. She knows firsthand that even her first grade 1 conquest was an absolute and brutal nightmare. Even for Chan-suk, going solo is absolute suicide. Complete madness. Seeing Sehee's intense anxiety, he just shrugs and casually adds another important detail to the plan. I figured you'd say that. Sang-ah and I are going together. I already told her. See silently curses these absolute lunatics. 1 or 2 people? Doesn't matter. The extreme difficulty is still exactly the same. No way she abandons her team. She firmly speaks up, I am staying, I will help as much as possible. After all, more hands on deck means we get this done much faster, guys. Brasic is known as one of the weakest grade 1 rifts. Still, Sehee warns them, be careful. At the end of the day, a grade 1 is still a grade 1. She looks at Chan-sik, deeply hopeful. She remembers his proud promise. He swore to crush every single rift on Earth to save this entire world. Sehee whispers, even after experiencing the rift at Brasic, I hope you can keep that burning will alive. Hearing her words, Chan-suk just smirks with absolute confidence and replies, in that case, I have a small favor to ask of you. Next, a huge modern villa. This is their temporary base. Chan-suk looks around, deeply satisfied. He grins. This place we are guarding the shield generator from is very awesome, isn't it? It is incredibly spacious and perfect for our training. But Sang-ah, walking right beside him, is still pretty worried. Is this really fine, she asks, since we are quite far from the shield generator's actual location. Chan-suk reassures her that the living conditions here are way better, and since their job is to strike the moment a threat appears, this spot is completely fine. He explains that as long as they check in over the radio once every hour, the association won't interfere with them at all. Sang-ah nods, thinking it over, and pulls out a bucket packed with glowing elixir bottles. Anyway, here is what you requested. I managed to bring them. Stock in the vault is running pretty low lately, but what are you planning to do with a whole bucket of elixirs? Staring at the elixirs, Chan-suk's eyes light up as he says this is more than enough. Without hesitating for a second, he grabs the bottles and starts chugging them down like a madman, leaving Sang-ah frozen in pure shock. Do you really have to drink them like that? Chan-suk keeps swallowing, gasping out an explanation with his face twisted from the horrible bitterness. It's so bitter. Drinking them, one by one, is absolute torture. Once he is fully charged up, he wipes his mouth and announces, all right, now that I have the goods, let's get started. Sang-ah looks at where he is pointing and asks in confusion, wait, are those just raw eggs? Chan-suk smirks, picking up a single egg and confidently claiming that no training tool is more visual and effective than this. In my left hand is a regular egg, but into my right hand I will inject my mana. He kicks off the lesson with a physical demonstration, making Sang-ah lean in with extreme curiosity to see the final result. While the normal egg still has its yolk and white completely separated, the mana-infused egg is fully blended inside without even cracking the shell. Chan-suk turns to her and asks, can you see the difference here? How about you guys, can you guess his secret? Sang-ah stares at it intently, quickly grasping her master's genius intent. I see, she says, so this is a drill to master precise mana control. Chan-suk nods, deeply impressed by how fast she catches on. He bluntly tells her that she still lacks delicate control over her energy, so practicing this egg trick whenever she has a free moment will make a massive difference for her skills. Seeing Chan-suk turn to leave, Sang-ah calls out in a panic, begging him for some real battle training right now. But Chan-suk coldly retorts, didn't you hear me say to do that in your free time? This is your homework. Seeing her slump in disappointment, he asks her what the absolute most important lesson of day 1 is. Real training always starts with an actual life or death fight. Just as he says those words, the door swings open to reveal the world's rank 10 hunter, Sehee, holding a massive greatsword. She grins excitedly and asks if everyone is ready. While Chan-suk casually nods, Sang-ah is completely frozen, cold sweat pouring down in absolute dread of this insanely overpowered opponent standing before her. Meanwhile, deep inside a dark basement covered in thick spiderwebs, a chilling and bizarre humming echo fills the air. I mean, seriously, running into something like this in broad daylight would make you lose your mind, let alone at night. Trapped in a web of complex cables and machinery, Jian, who recently suffered a brutal beatdown by Hyeonseok, is chained down on a freezing table with an oxygen mask on. His eyes slowly flutter open, staring at the dark ceiling and the sinister face of the obese Dr. Seo leaning right over him. He weakly asks where he is, only for the doctor to smugly reply that this is his private laboratory. Dr. Seo smirks, admitting that secretly moving him out of the hospital ward was a real pain. Jian is completely shocked, wondering why the doctor would do something so insanely crazy to him. Dr. Seo casually explains that since Jian is basically a walking corpse right now, he figured the guy would get bored out of his mind staring at a hospital ceiling all day. Jian grits his teeth and growls, "Are you trying to die?" But the doctor just laughs because he knows the guy can't even breathe without his mana respirator. Leaning in close, Dr. Seo looks at him with a wicked grin and whispers that he just completed a highly successful little experiment. He stares directly into Jian's hate-filled eyes and throws out a highly tempting offer. "Come on, Kim Jian, don't you want your revenge?" And just like that, a dark conspiracy takes root, fueled by a loser's bitter rage. The doctor has him hooked, hook, line, and sinker. A month into their extreme training regime in the United Kingdom, Sang-ah is still working hard, testing her delicate mana control on fragile raw eggs. She gently cracks a shell, but the yolk and white are still completely separate. Looking down, Sang-ah sighs to herself in disappointment. I still can't do it like Hyeonseok does." Despite her absolute best efforts, controlling mana with enough precision to blend the inside of a delicate egg without cracking it is just too tough. Right then, Hyeonseok's sharp voice cuts in from behind, telling her that her 5-minute break is officially over. Time to train. Seeing Hyeonseok already geared up in his battlesuit with a massive greatsword, Sang-ah can only groan in exhaustion. Wait, is it already over? But she quickly fires herself up, tossing the eggshell aside as she responds, "I will be right there." She is ready to jump straight back into the endless, brutal training loop. I bet you're wondering if she's made any real progress yet. The official sparring session kicks off with an incredibly fierce 2-on-1 battle against the world's rank 10 hunter, Si-hee. Hyeonseok has clearly defined 2 core goals for this intense training. Right as the duel begins, Si-hee unleashes a mind-blowing wave of spiritual power, creating thunderous shockwaves that shake the ground and send debris flying everywhere. This forces both Hyeonseok and Sang-ah to rely on every single trick up their sleeves just to survive. Their first goal is simply to get stronger. Si-hee charges ahead at blinding speed, executing rapid flashing sword attacks that put Sang-ah completely on the defensive. Sang-ah's eyes widen in absolute panic as she feels the insane gap in their raw power levels. She grits her teeth, trying to endure as her body is pushed back relentlessly, gasping out in despair that she can't even touch the ground. Even with a month of tough training behind her, facing a real high-tier expert shows her how incredibly far she still has to go. Right in the middle of this intense combat, DC swings her blade with heavy, overwhelming force, leaving Sang-ah utterly defenseless. In a split second of carelessness, Sia is shocked to realize her massive greatsword, her ultimate pride and joy, has been knocked clean out of her hands. As she stands frozen in disbelief, Hyeonseok's sharp, decisive voice suddenly rings out. "Don't give up!" He urges her to immediately find a way to strike back against the world's top 10 commanders. Meanwhile, their second training goal is officially triggered. It is time to improve the combat teamwork between Sang-ah and Hyeonseok. Trusting his guidance, Sang-ah ignores the intense pain and flips into the air, her body crackling with blue electricity. She channels a whole month of accumulated mana into one singular devastating plunge. Boom! A colossal explosion of raw spiritual energy shakes the entire ground and blasts everything away in a massive cloud of swirling dust. It seems all those days of brutal training actually paid off. As the thick dust slowly begins to clear, Sia wears a highly intrigued smile. She admits she truly did not expect these 2 rookies to disarm her with such a clever, coordinated trick. Sia is genuinely generous with her praise, completely acknowledging their massive growth over the past month of hellish training. But she also drops a subtle, playful warning that she still needs to teach them how to actually hold on to their weapons properly. Before they can even enjoy the relaxed atmosphere, a sudden, frantic emergency signal blares from the radio, completely shattering the silence. On the other end, a panicked, screaming voice from Dover warns them about an absolute catastrophe. The shocking news hits them like a truck. The notorious organization known as the Descendants of Dangan has officially launched a massive, full-scale assault. Even worse, a mysterious, heavy black fog has completely blanketed the area around the shield generator, pushing the entire situation into a state of absolute, extreme crisis. Hearing the desperate plea for immediate backup, the eyes of all 3 hunters instantly turn ice cold and filled with raw killing intent. Without wasting a single second, they leap into their vehicle and tear toward the battlefield to stop the enemy's vile plot. "Hurry up, go smash them to pieces." Inside the speeding car, Sia can only scream in absolute pure terror at her teammates' wildly reckless and terrifying driving style. "Damn it. Why are you the one behind the wheel again?" Sang-ah calmly floors the gas pedal, firing back that she is literally the only person here who actually has a driver's license. With the speed spiraling out of control, Sia can only hold on for dear life and beg, Can't you drive a little safer, she pleads. But check this out, Chanseok's eyes suddenly narrow in extreme vigilance as he senses a massive, overwhelming wave of killing intent closing in on them. Before they can even react, a dark violet shadow slams directly into the windshield, shaking the entire car violently. A sickening metallic crash echoes as the vehicle plows into the target, leaving burning skid marks on the road while the glass completely shatters. Sang-ah slams on the brakes in a panic, her voice trembling in absolute horror as she begs them to tell her she didn't just hit a real person. Thick white smoke pours from the hood, completely blinding everyone inside the chaotic car. Chanseok coldly stares through the shattered window to size up the situation, replying in a low, grim voice that it's a no. Staring at the pale purple corpse with strange tubes protruding from its back lying motionless on the pavement, he confidently declares that it's definitely not human. But right then, a series of dry, sickening, bone-cracking sounds echo from the wreckage. The creature begins to twist its mangled body, standing up in a deeply disturbing, unnatural way as it rasps that it finally found him. Chanseok freezes as he clearly recognizes the enemy's face, unable to believe his own eyes. What? Wait, that guy is Kim Ji-on. The very same bastard he had previously humiliated and defeated has now returned as a grotesque biological monster, complete with purple skin and eyes glowing with raw, corrupted mana. Ji-on growls Chanseok's name, spitting out a deeply chilling and ominous threat. There is no way Chanseok could have anticipated this return, let alone this fully modified bioweapon body, signaling a blood-soaked revenge that Dr. Seo prepared specifically to crush him. Every single step he takes now carries immense, crushing weight, literally fracturing the concrete beneath his feet as he snarls through gritted teeth, asking how much he had to sacrifice just to get close to a pathetic loser. Do you have any idea how much I had to sacrifice? His entire body is now a mass of grotesque purple muscle, his eyes burning with a wild, crazed pink aura of raw energy. With one incredibly powerful stomp of his foot, he unleashes a shockwave so devastating that the surrounding buildings literally crumble and collapse into a massive cloud of swirling dust. Standing right in front of the ruins, Chanseok maintains a strangely calm expression, quietly analyzing his opponent and realizing there was no way the guy would go down that easily. He literally burned away all his muscle power, so how is he still moving? Even though this monstrous version of Ji-on is completely unexpected, Chanseok quickly makes a decisive choice. This definitely messes with his schedule, but he is going to end things right here before they head out. He turns to order his teammates to split up right here. Sang-ah, you head to the harbor, and I will go straight to the headquarters, dividing their forces so they can handle everything as fast as possible. Sia gracefully slips out from the pile of debris. She glances at the mutated monster and warns Chanseok that the thing seems absolutely furious with him, so he better make sure to completely finish it off. She doesn't forget to urge Sang-ah, who is still dazed inside the ruined car, to get out and start running immediately since the vehicle is totally trashed. Sang-ah quickly nods, agreeing to go right away. Witnessing this scene, Ji-on sneers with absolute, sickening contempt, mocking how pathetic it is to see the great Sia running away with her tail tucked between her legs like a coward. His glowing purple eyes lock onto Chanseok as he growls a bloodthirsty, venomous oath. I will hunt down every single one of you and rip you all to shreds, starting with you, Chanseok. Facing this deadly threat, Chanseok simply smirks and fires back with a cold, mocking question. Kill me? You? He looks straight into the monster's horribly deformed face, dripping with pure disgust. Just looking at you, he sneers. I can tell you're still nothing but a low-level, pathetic insect. The brutal insult hits Ji-on right where it hurts, driving him absolutely insane. He gnashes his teeth and roars that he's sick of his pathetic jokes, screaming that from the moment he was crippled, he was no longer the man he used to be. I swore to myself every single day that I would make you suffer that exact same agonizing pain, he screams. I will literally tear your body into pieces. Ji-on howls in pure, unbridled madness, the tubes on his back pulsing violently with every heavy, ragged breath he takes. Staring at his former rival, who has completely transformed into a repulsive bioweapon with rotting purple skin, Chanseok narrows his eyes, his face becoming incredibly serious. He silently notes that this guy might actually be a little dangerous, and while this battle is about to explode, let's head over to the foggy harbor where Sang-ah just landed. Staring at the unusually quiet and completely devastated surroundings, she can't help but whisper to herself in total shock, muttering that this entire situation makes absolutely no sense. Is it possible that every single hunter at this harbor has already been taken out? Slipping between the towering cargo containers, Sang-ah cautiously scans for the slightest movement. Suddenly, a red-masked assassin from the descendants of Dangan steps out, chuckling sinisterly. He sneers that he really thought some lucky survivors would still be kicking around. He glares intently at Sang-ah, his eyes behind the mask gleaming with pure greed as he realizes exactly who she is. Well, aren't you the precious little daughter of the massive Case White Corporation? Two more of his masked accomplices slowly emerge from the dark shadows, completely surrounding her from all sides. The leader smugly boasts that they are definitely going to extract an absolutely massive ransom payment for her safe return. Sang-cha stands frozen in place, internally horrified by the grim reality that just 3 of these guys completely wiped out the entire harbor. But instead of trembling in fear like they expect, Sang-ah delivers a bizarre critique that completely leaves the assassins speechless. You know, she calmly explains, using the term daughter already implies that I'm a young lady, so you're just making it sound super awkward and redundant. You should probably just call me the case-white heiress, or even that case-white brat instead. Her complete innocence and hilariously weird logic leave the three killers in dead silence, staring blankly at each other for a second, before the leader suddenly bursts out into loud, hysterical laughter. Well, look at that. I thought you were some proud, high and mighty princess, but it turns out you're just the local village idiot. Sang-ah can only blink in confusion, wondering if he really just called her an idiot, but the killer's face quickly turns deadly serious. He unsheaths his blade and loudly declares that he originally planned to keep her alive for the ransom, but seeing how completely useless she is, he doubts they'll get a good price anyway. Besides, he sneers they were getting pretty bored. We are going to take our time playing with you before we end this. Surrounded by three assassins from the Hares of Dangan at the harbor, Ganga faces a brutal reality. Every single one of them possesses more than twice her own mana reserves. Caught in a life-or-death situation, sweat dripping down her face, Ganga exhales deeply. In this precise moment, her mind suddenly flashes back to the harsh, uncompromising advice from Hyeonseok. In a real fight, raw mana capacity is never the most important factor. The absolute key is keeping your cool so you can read the natural flow of the battle. The image of her strict master rises in her mind, serving as a solid mental anchor. She tells herself to trust his training and everything will work out. Swallowing her rising panic, Ganga forces herself to stay absolutely calm. As the three assassins charge at once with flashing blades, Ganga steals her resolve. She has to hold out at all costs until Hyeonseok can arrive to back her up. After all, she survived a whole month of intense training designed to push her body under 7.6 times normal atmospheric pressure. She will not break that easily. Meanwhile, the scene shifts back in time to a dark, hidden laboratory where the mad scientist Ji-Woo holds up a test tube filled with a glowing, mystical purple serum. He looks down at Ji-Hoon, who has been reduced to a soulless husk after a humiliating defeat. The mad doctor declares that this serum will pump an entirely new kind of power directly into his empty body. Ji-Woo confidently promises that with this massive influx of mana, Ji-Hoon will never have to depend on a ventilator to breathe again. But the doctor also warns of the terrifying side effects. His bones will shatter, his organs will twist, and his eyes will burn dry as if scorched by hellfire. It is a price so high he will barely even remain human. Terrified of the extreme cost, Ji-Hoon stammers in absolute horror, but Ji-Woo only stares down with cold, pure contempt, asking him flat out if he is actually afraid of the pain. Are you really more afraid of some temporary pain than living the rest of your life as a worthless cripple? Facing the loser's desperate silence, the obese doctor leans in close, his malicious eyes shining with his final offer. He tells him that this is his only chance. A dark, twisted scheme to transform Ji-Hoon into a literal monster and exact revenge on Hyeonseok is finally reaching its completion. This is his big shot to make Hyeonseok suffer a fate infinitely worse than what he went through. Back in the present, Ji-Hoon realizes he is done staring up at that miserable, sterile hospital ceiling. The only thing he wants to see now is his enemy's pathetic, broken corpse. Ji-Hoon roars inside his own mind with absolute consuming hatred. His face is completely deformed now, sporting a strange purple crystal right in his forehead and glowing, unnatural pupils. Having thrown away his humanity for pure, unadulterated revenge, he has unlocked an insane power. Instantly, the battle explodes in absolute raw violence. Ji-Hoon dives down from above like a rabid beast, completely ignoring his own defense. He unleashes a relentless barrage of heavy punches at a dizzying speed, the impact echoing like thunder across the battlefield. Facing this absolute, mindless aggression, Hyeonseok stays incredibly focused and calm. His eyes narrow to a sharp slit, tracking the erratic, blinding trajectories of his opponent's completely out-of-control movements. A barrage of steel-hard punches rains down on him, but Hyeonseok skillfully deflects each blow, using his spear shaft to easily absorb the massive, crushing impact. Spotting an immediate opening while his opponent is overextended, Hyeonseok channels pure spiritual energy right into his spear. With a devastating high-velocity upward sweep, he launches the monster Ji-Hoon flying into the sky, leaving him in utter shock. Blasted into the air, Ji-Hoon grits his teeth against the pain in his body. He curses his enemy for launching him, swearing that the moment his feet touch the ground, he will unleash everything to end Hyeonseok. But as he looks back down to the ground, Ji-Hoon suddenly freezes in confusion. What on earth is that guy planning? Down below, Hyeonseok is not about to stand around and wait. He drops into a low stance, preparing an even more devastating follow-up strike. Watch closely right here. He is about to end this entire fight once and for all. While Ji-Hoon is still floating high in mid-air, confident that he is safely out of his opponent's reach, a terrifying sight unfolds right before his eyes. The spear in Hyeonseok's grip suddenly extends at a blinding speed, piercing straight through the clouds to impale him. Ji-Hoon is utterly shell-shocked, his glowing purple eyes wide with absolute terror as he realizes the absurd reality. How on earth can that spear extend that far? There is absolutely no way to escape, especially when Hyeonseok suddenly materializes right above him. Gripping his spear, Hyeonseok smirks, offering a highly sarcastic compliment. Honestly, he says, I am actually pretty surprised. Kim Ji-hoon, your punches are indeed a lot stronger than they used to be, but suddenly Hyeonseok's killing intent spikes to a terrifying degree. Channeling all his mana into his next strike, he asks if his durability can match his new destructive power. Ji-hoon can barely even squeak out a confused what before a massive storm of bright blue energy from Hyeonseok's spinning spear completely swallows him up. Without giving his opponent even a single second to catch his breath, Hyeonseok decides to unleash his ultimate skill, the infinite looping double orbit spear technique. Tens of thousands of blinding blue light beams explode from the tip. The attack violently tears through space, triggering an earth-shattering explosion that completely levels the entire surrounding area. Under the sheer destructive power of our hero, everything is instantly reduced to nothing but ash. As the dust slowly clears over the ruined city, it reveals a single broken figure collapsed among the rubble. Lying in the middle of the debris, Ji-hoon is barely holding onto life, weakly whispering in absolute, agonizing pain. He begs Hyeonseok to just kill him. Walking over slowly, Hyeonseok shows zero pity, his mind filled only with deep suspicion. No matter how he looks at it, something about this feels incredibly off. Hyeonseok notices that raw mana is actually flowing through Ji-hoon's veins instead of blood. This is an incredibly high-level spell, the kind that would require dozens of archmages working together back in the other world. Why on earth did they not filter out the impurities in such a precise process? Moreover, the dark fluid flowing inside his body is no longer human blood at all. Memories of his previous world return to Hyeonseok, a place where humanity spent thousands of years solely studying the core nature of mana. From his perspective, as someone who survived the brutal otherworld, human understanding of mana right now is laughably primitive. You can clearly see it, they are just like cavemen who stumbled on fire, clumsy, reckless, and extremely dangerous. Hyeonseok inwardly sneers at the absolute absurdity. It is like a primitive caveman finding a sharp kitchen knife and trying to cut meat with the dull back of the blade. Hires of Dongan can brag all they want about inventing this new power, but with his hard-won experience, Hyeonseok knows the real truth behind that purple crystal. This is no great scientific breakthrough. It is a ticking landmine intentionally planted in this world by some mysterious entity. Standing over his defeated foe, Hyeonseok is absolutely certain that this is not human work. He starts to wonder if Ji-hoon signed some kind of twisted contract using raw mana. Some powerful entity extracted its own mana, materialized it into physical crystals, and embedded it into human bodies. By eagerly accepting that foreign unnatural power, in essence, they agreed to a transaction that trades away their very soul. Hyeonseok looks down at the pathetic Ji-hoon and realizes this is not just a puppy eating chocolate by mistake. He actually signed a blank check without having any idea of the cost. Staring coldly at the crystal on Ji-hoon's forehead, he demands to know if he ever actually had any idea what the hell he was doing from the start. Right after, a sharp cracking sound rings out as the crystal on his forehead begins to shatter. A blinding flash of light suddenly erupts from the impact point, forcing Hyeonseok to narrow his eyes against the immense, overwhelming pressure. An earth-shattering explosion erupts, completely swallowing the entire area in a blinding white flash. Standing right in the epicenter, Hyeonseok is shocked to realize that this is not just some ordinary mana blast. It is total destruction, a literal erasure of reality. When the dust finally settles, the once bustling district of the city is completely gone, reduced to a perfectly flat, deep black crater. Everything has vanished without a single trace, leaving our hero standing completely alone in a chillingly desolate wasteland. Staring at the ruins, Hyeonseok silently realizes a deeply concerning and dangerous truth. This is a method he knows all too well from the other world. A contract with the devil. He has no idea who Kim Ji-hoon made a deal with, but the lingering mana proves this entity possesses an absolutely terrifying power. Hyeonseok clicks his tongue in annoyance. He thought he had completely wiped out the demons in the other world, but have they actually managed to crawl all the way here too? But with everything going on, he has to put this worry aside for now. There are far more pressing matters to handle. Meanwhile, down at the harbor, Han Sang-ah is still in absolute shock over her own newfound strength. To her, the whole thing feels completely unreal. She simply focused on countering her opponents just like Hyeonseok taught her, yet the end result is that the entire squad of assassins has been cleanly wiped out. Han Sang-ah lets out a small smile, feeling deep admiration for Hyeonseok's guidance. She actually won the fight exactly as he predicted, leaving both of her attackers collapsed dead on the cold ground. The last assassin realizes he is completely outmatched and tries to run, but Han Sang-ah is way faster. She draws her blade and sends him straight to the afterlife. She smoothly sheathes her sword, silently noting that her focus was solid and she did not waste an ounce of energy. She wonders if this counts as a flawless finish. Right at that moment, Hyeonseok's voice suddenly echoes from right behind her, catching her completely off guard. He remarks that while her finishing blow was quite clean, she is still thinking way too much during battle. On the battlefield, Hyeonseok warns, the only thing that matters is focusing entirely on taking down the enemy instead of overanalyzing. Seriously, when did this guy even get here? Han Sang-ah can only ask him in frustration how long he has been standing there watching, especially since he always starts nagging the exact second he shows up. Hyeonseok casually replies that he just arrived. Putting her annoyance aside, they both look up at the sky, where a massive ring of energy is glowing brilliantly, completely enveloping the entire Doverport area. Hyeonseok gazes at the radiant light and quietly asks, "Is this really the barrier generator?" Standing before the glowing giant circle of energy, Han Sang-ah is completely awestruck by its sheer scale. She mutters under her breath that it truly is the peak of mana technology, condensing an insane amount of energy. The brilliant glow from the barrier generator looks ready to swallow the sky, a testament to humanity's extraordinary efforts. As the two stare in awe, a familiar voice suddenly calls out from behind, "So this is where everyone is gathering?" Lee Seol walks over slowly, carrying a giant greatsword on her shoulder that radiates spiritual power. Seeing their commander safe and sound, both Han Sang-ah and Hyeonseok breathe a sigh of relief. "Lee Seol, is everyone okay?" Lee Seol stands amidst the rubble, surrounding herself with the corpses of the enemies she just defeated. Meanwhile, Hyeonseok is lost in his own thoughts, deeply worried about how on earth he should explain Kim Ji-yeon's strange transformation. Hyeonseok tells himself that making up an excuse is easy, but if he actually tells them the whole truth about going to another world, saving it, and then returning to Earth to work as a hunter because he was unemployed, absolutely no one will believe him. He imagines himself eagerly sharing his heroic past, only to receive doubtful and pathetic looks from Han Sang-ah and Lee Se-yul. There is no way they would buy a wild story like that, he thinks, clicking his tongue in defeat. Suddenly, a brilliant idea flashes in Hyeonseok's mind. He recalls the absolute nonsense that otherworld priests used to preach as sacred prophecy. He decides to piece those memories together to construct the ultimate lie. Hyeonseok begins his tale during my battle with Kim Ji-yeon. A pitch-black smoke suddenly enveloped me from all sides, and then I heard a voice, intrigued. Han Sang-ah cuts him off. "A voice. What did it say?" "Hey, stay calm and just listen, beautiful." To make it convincing, Hyeonseok weaves this incredibly mysterious, epic tale about an almighty entity. "Doom is close. Know that we exist beyond the shroud of darkness." He wore robes woven from hellfire, holding a dark, golden goblet filled with bitter wormwood. Talk about setting a mood. He feels quite smug, patching together whatever random thoughts pop into his head. As long as it sounds deeply mystical and terrifying, it will successfully distract them from the descendants of Donggun organization. To his complete surprise, both Han Sang-ah and Lee Seol seem to buy it hook, line, and sinker. Han Sang-ah mutters thoughtfully, "So that is it? Do they really exist?" Lee Seol nods along in agreement, believing that in a world already filled with dimensional rifts and corrosive monsters, the existence of powerful, godlike beings actually sounds pretty convincing. Hyeonseok smirks, laughing silently because he can't believe his clumsy lie actually worked so well. But he better watch out, because if these two fierce tigresses ever find out the truth, they will absolutely rip him to shreds. Still, the threat of the descendants of Donggun is something they cannot afford to take lightly. The three of them quickly agree that they cannot just write them off as a minor group of extreme nationalists. Han Sang-ah's gaze grows incredibly sharp as she looks toward the horizon, sensing a terrible storm brewing from their dark conspiracies. Their ongoing mission to protect the barrier generator is undoubtedly going to be a long, rough road ahead. The transfer window is about to open. Han Sang-ah suddenly drops this massive piece of news, catching Hyeonseok completely off guard. She explains that this is the only period where hunters are legally allowed to change guilds, but more importantly, it is where high-profile representatives gather to trade all kinds of intelligence. If so, we can use this event to bring up the story you just told. If an influential hunter like you speaks up, the others will not be able to ignore it. Hearing her praise his soaring reputation, Hyeonseok can only blush in pure embarrassment. Seriously, all this fame is becoming such a massive pain. Life is dragging him into the spotlight, so he just has to deal with it. He even jokes about whether that giant Yoon Seong-hyeon will fly all the way to England just to beg for a meeting. Let's see if that actually happens. Shaking off the humor, Hyeonseok's face hardens. Either way, it is fine. This is his battle to fight. Meanwhile, at the grand headquarters of the T-Bike Guild, a dark and oppressive atmosphere hangs heavy in the air. A powerful shadow looms high above, casting a threatening, deep voice across the room. "Surely you have something to say to me, Yoon Seong-hyun." That menacing voice belongs to Song Si-hun, the absolute ruler of the Taebake Guild. He possesses terrifying telekinetic powers, a massive muscular frame, and bright crimson hair. Before him, the giant Yoon Song-hyeon is on his knees in complete humiliation, barely whispering out a desperate apology. "I am sorry." Song Si-hun's eyes turn as sharp as a razor as he growls. "You are sorry. Doing a terrible job and just coming back to apologize is a one-way ticket to a beatdown." Showing zero mercy, he activates his telekinesis, lifting the giant's massive body up and squeezing his throat. Song Si-hun coldly declares that he is not here to listen to empty apologies. Choking in absolute agony, Yoon Song-hyun can only make excuses that his failure was due to that kid, Hyeonseok, becoming insanely famous. He has blown way past all their initial expectations, making recruitment completely impossible. Song Se-hun clenches his fist tightly, sending a surge of telekinetic energy radiating from his body that causes surrounding debris to float in midair. He growls with immense pressure, "If we cannot even handle a simple task like this, what will people think of the Taebek Guild? What will they think of me, its leader?" He makes it clear that he absolutely detests lame excuses from his subordinates. Instantly, a devastating telekinetic strike slams down, leaving Yoon Sung-hyun wide-eyed in absolute horror. The giant trembles, gasping out his final desperate words. He said he has absolutely no intention of joining the Taebek Guild. Does his intention even matter? Song Se-hun coldly cuts him off, his face shrouded in threatening shadows. He firmly declares that there will be absolutely no second chances for any further mistakes. An absolute order is handed down: make sure Chan-suk joins the Taebek Guild during this transfer window, no matter the cost. The scene then shifts to Chan-suk's modern mansion in England. Looking through the window, Chan-suk narrows his eyes suspiciously as he spots strange shadows lingering outside. What is up with those guys? Standing right next to him, Han Sang-a is equally surprised. Have they actually managed to track them all the way here? Outside the gate, Yoon Sung-hyun looms forward with two black-suited bodyguards, his face covered in scars and bandages, the brutal aftermath of Song Se-hun's rage. The meeting takes place right inside the villa living room under a suffocating atmosphere. Yoon Sung-hyun gets straight to the point. He is not going to beat around the bush here. Once the transfer market opens, go ahead and fulfill your promise by joining our grand guild. Even under all that intense pressure, Chan-suk remains incredibly calm, coldly shooting back that the current conditions have already changed quite a bit. Exactly. Dragging him over would require a pretty royal welcome anyway. Chan-suk casually flips through the file in his hands, clear contempt shining in his eyes as he barely even glances at the weak documents they handed him. It is pretty obvious they never intended to negotiate in good faith from the start. He then begins to analyze the massive differences between Taebek and other hunter guilds. Normally, these guilds do not have a real leader, so the partner hunters simply team up to work and split profits. But Taebek is different. They have a true master in Baek Seon-hyun, which is their greatest strength and also their fatal weakness. Yoon Sung-hyun confidently confirms that Representative Baek Seon-hyun is indeed the absolute supreme master of Taebek. However, Chan-suk secretly notes that no matter how powerful he is, Baek Seon-hyun currently has zero active combat experience, and the actions of a truly powerful master should carry way more weight than this. If a hunter stops fighting, are they even still a hunter, or does it just turn them into some wealthy, unemployed guy? That incredibly provocative question from Chan-suk has the Taebek subordinates completely stunned and staring in shock. Faced with the young man's arrogance, Yoon Sung-hyun narrows his eyes with pure killing intent. His heavily scarred face turns more terrifying than ever. Honestly, the vibe here is getting incredibly tense. He growls a warning: watch your mouth. Keep running that careless tongue of yours, and you will end up dead without leaving a single trace behind. Watching the subordinates react so violently, Chan-suk silently notes that at least Yoon Sung-hyun has absolute loyalty from his crew. Even after getting beaten to a bloody pulp in the past, not a single one of them complains. Despite the heavy threat, Chan-suk remains completely unbothered. He looks Yoon Sung-hyun straight in the eye. "I refuse." A dead silence blankets the room before the scarred man roars. "No way. You don't have a choice." Yoon Sung-hyun roars, immediately channeling raw power into his arms to flip a ton-heavy stone table right at Chan-suk. The heavy flip creates a screaming wind. He follows up with a devastating lightning-fast punch. Chan-suk barely manages to dodge, completely shocked by the pure terrifying physical strength of his opponent. Yoon Sung-hyun's missed punch slams directly into the solid wall, shattering it like glass and leaving a massive crater. Seriously, what on earth does this guy eat to pack that kind of power? This is not just a punch, it is a walking demolition wrecking ball. Chan-suk grits his teeth as he feels the heavy wind pressure from his opponent's wild swings. Sensing the danger, he quickly makes up his mind to end this. "Fine, if you want to play dirty, then I will play along." But just as he prepares to counter, Chan-suk suddenly freezes as a massive, overwhelming pressure slams down on his shoulders, pinning his body to the ground. He gasps, "What is this? What is this insane weight crushing down on me?" His eyes instantly glow with spiritual energy as he tries to read the flow of energy. Mana? Since when? He quickly looks back at the two massive subordinates standing completely still behind him. It turns out they never intended to join the close-range brawl. Chan-suk grits his teeth, realizing his huge mistake. These big hulking guys are not close combat warriors. At all, they are actually specialized mana manipulators. They are working together to cast a heavy gravity field, completely locking his movements and turning him into a sitting duck for Yoon Sung-hyun. And that is the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button to support the channel. Thank you so much, and goodbye everyone.